Chapter 81, Wood Human Technique. Child, don't be too impatient. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt his teaching career was challenged. He tried to calm himself down and explained, "This is the hand seal requirement for the wood release, wood human technique. Even if Danzo were to teach you, or even the first Hokage himself, you would still need to form 2 hand seals to release the wood release, wood human technique." As Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke, he adjusted his thoughts, trying to make Akihara Kagura understand why 2 hand seals were necessary. The more powerful the technique, the more hand seals are needed to avoid mistakes in guiding the flow of chakra within the body. At this point, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the ninjutsu professor, couldn't help but add, "For such a powerful technique to require only 2 seals is actually quite rare. If one were to be serious, a technique capable of contending with the Uchiha clan's Susanoo should avoid wasting time with complex hand seal gestures." Because the first Hokage, Hashirama's rival, was Uchiha Madara, and when the Uchiha clan released Susanoo, they didn't need any time to form hand seals. Sarutobi Hiruzen recalled that when Uchiha Shisui released Susanoo, it was almost instant, arriving at the location and then directly concentrating and releasing Susanoo. This is also why Sarutobi Hiruzen was willing to teach Akihara Kagura the wood release, wood human technique. At least, Akihara Kagura, this kid, had someone he wanted to protect in his heart. Apart from being somewhat extreme, his temperament was not particularly complex, and he would say whatever he thought, not hiding too much like others. Most importantly, Akihara Kagura might not be able to learn the wood release, wood human technique. When Sarutobi Hiruzen first observed the wood release techniques left by the first Hokage, he believed that Hashirama's wood release ninjutsu could not possibly be learned by a normal ninja. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought his teaching was likely ineffective, gently comforting Akihara Kagura. "Like the Uchiha clan's Susanoo, we have always believed this technique exists only in legends. Since the first Hokage passed away, no one has seen its true form. It's okay if you can't learn it. I'll practice the hand seals more." Akihara Kagura practiced the hand seals back and forth, his forehead wrinkling tighter and tighter. System prompt. Ninja Professor, trait activated. The host possesses the wood release Kekkei Genkai. Chakra level has reached SSS rank, learning the wood release. Wood human technique aligns with ninjutsu theory. Wood release, wood human technique learned successfully. System prompt. You have acquired a new skill, wood release. Wood human technique, wood release. Wood human technique, a secret technique of the wood release Kekkei Genkai. Forming the tiger seal rapidly channels chakra to make a tree grow swiftly. Forming the snake seal changes the tree into a giant wooden figure with immense power. The wood human technique is capable of both offense and defense. Its size and combat power can grow with chakra, even comparable to a complete Susanoo. The third Hokage's teaching approach had no issues. Whether it was the tiger seal or the snake seal, their effects were all as he said. And Akihara Kagura felt that to learn any technique, he really must thank the third Hokage for the trait bestowed upon him. Otherwise, learning ninjutsu would indeed be a big problem. "Child, don't be too hard on yourself. This isn't a problem that can be solved just by practicing hand seals." Sarutobi Hiruzen watched as Akihara Kagura tirelessly practiced forming hand seals, thinking that the kid had not yet mastered them and was desperately practicing. He leisurely put a smoking pipe back in his mouth, saying, "In fact, the wood release Kekkei Genkai does not need to be confined to formality. You can slowly develop your own techniques. There are already traces to follow, as the first Hokage has developed the wood release Kekkei Genkai to the pinnacle." Wood release, wood human technique. Akihara Kagura held up his fingers to form the tiger seal, then slowly brought his palms together to form the snake seal, suddenly shouting loudly. A tree root burst out of the ground. This root quickly grew into a large tree. The tree rapidly grew from the ground, and in everyone's stunned view, slowly transformed into a wooden figure over 10 meters tall. This wooden figure's size was nearly identical to the green Susanoo released by Uchiha Shisui, far from reaching the full potential of the wood human technique, yet it was still astonishing. "You're kidding me!" Hade Kakashi looked at this scene somewhat bewildered. "Is this a technique that can rival Susanoo?" Uchiha Itachi's eyes held some amazement, and his feelings became somewhat complicated. Uchiha Itachi recalled the Uchiha clan's internal excessive praise of Uchiha Shisui's Susanoo, thinking that no one in Konoha could match Susanoo. They didn't know that Akihara Kagura had mastered a technique capable of contending with Susanoo in just a few minutes. Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart rarely felt such a tremor. Sarutobi Hiruzen understood why Shimura Danzo was angry at himself for transferring this child to the Anbu and bringing him under his command. This child named Akihara Kagura had such a strong talent. Sarutobi Hiruzen always considered himself good at teaching, but didn't think he could teach this child the wood-human technique, yet the child had already learned it. Even if it was just a facade, it was enough. This was only Akihara Kagura's first release, and he hadn't even learned it for half a minute. The will of fire will once again burn brightly. The only problem is that Akihara Kagura was too deeply influenced by the dark will of the root. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes flickered slightly. Realizing he could no longer let this child be influenced by Danzo anymore, he must completely sever Danzo's contact with him. This child needs someone to guide him towards a normal life, needs to have more life bonds, should not act too extreme, and learn to protect Konoha. Can't control it. Just at this moment, the wooden man became extremely unstable. Leaves started to grow from the wooden man's body, and as if out of control, it collapsed rapidly, turning the more than 10 meters tall wooden figure back into a large tree. Third Hawkage! Akihara Kagura also jumped down from the tree, grumbling dissatisfied. This technique is too difficult to control. When Lord Danzo first taught me the advent of a world flowering trees, I mastered it completely after only one lesson. Ha ha ha! Sarutobi Hiruzen was in a great mood, shaking his head. Maybe the technique Danzo taught you was too simple. This is a technique powerful enough to counteract Susanoo. Sarutobi Hiruzen patted Akihara Kagura on the shoulder, continuing with a smile. With more practice in the future, you'll eventually master this technique completely. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Akihara Kagura with satisfaction, then turned to Uchiha Itachi nearby. Kagura Itachi, you two children are about the same age. You should get along well in the Anbu. The future of Konoha rests on the shoulders of you young people. Apart from killing, I really can't do anything. Akihara Kagura spread his hands, a hint of helplessness in his eyes. People from the root have no future. The only thing we can inherit is the will of the root. As Akihara Kagura said this, his gaze slowly shifted to Uchiha Itachi. Unfortunately, it seems Lord Danzo wants to pass the will of the root to Uchiha Itachi. How is he better than me? He's clearly so much weaker. Kagura-kun! Uchiha Itachi felt it difficult to refute. Wake up, you are Anbu now. Hade Kakashi raised an eyebrow, tapping Akihara Kagura on the forehead. The root is just a training class for the Anbu. Your life is actually progressing. Chapter 82. Flying Thunder God is convenient for shopping. Sarutobi Hiruzen had no time to accompany them in practicing ninjutsu. As for Uchiha Itachi, this child needed to report to his father, Uchiha Fugaku, that he would join the Anbu after the new year. The entire practice field number 3 was left with only Hade Kakashi and Akihara Kagura. Hade Kakashi leaned against a tree, reading a scroll on the art of the Flying Thunder God technique. Akihara Kagura symbolically practiced the wood-human technique for a while, and then noticed Hade Kakashi's brows were deeply furrowed, as if he had encountered some difficulty. Why the long face here? Akihara Kagura landed beside Hade Kakashi and asked softly, Is this technique very difficult? It seems more painful for you than killing. Very difficult. Hade Kakashi nodded, speaking softly. Initially, Teacher Minato wanted to teach me this technique, but I always thought the drawbacks of this technique were too obvious, and I lacked the talent and effort. The Flying Thunder God technique consumes a lot of chakra. Hade Kakashi transplanted a Sharingan but lacked the Uchiha clan's genetics. The Sharingan could not be deactivated, constantly causing his chakra to deplete. Furthermore, the sacrifices of Uchiha Obaido and Nohara Rin were significant reasons Hade Kakashi did not pursue learning. He lived as if he was a walking corpse. It wasn't until Uchiha Obaido was resurrected and demonstrated powerful space-time Dijutsu that Hade Kakashi wanted to bring Uchiha Obaido back to Konoha. To do that, he had to defeat Uchiha Obaido, reigniting his interest in learning the Flying Thunder God technique. What's so difficult about ninjutsu? Akihara Kagura shrugged, continuing nonchalantly, Isn't it enough to just form hand seals and know the name and effects of the technique? The Flying Thunder God technique doesn't require hand seals. Hade Kakashi sighed deeply, continuing, It's a seal-less ninjutsu only controlled by careful manipulation of one's chakra flow. Seal-less ninjutsu? Akihara Kagura immediately became interested, seemingly asking casually, How is this technique performed? What are its effects? First, you leave a mark of the Flying Thunder God technique with your chakra at the target location, then activate the technique to teleport to the mark's location instantly. Hade Kakashi didn't mind hiding these from Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura was a comrade, and these secrets were not unknown. They were not particularly big secrets in Konoha. After explaining, Hade Kakashi rubbed his brows and extended his hand. Right now, I can't even manage to form the mark of the Flying Thunder God technique. The art of the Flying Thunder God technique is indeed difficult. Actually, the most important part is just the first step, which is to condense a seal of the Flying Thunder God technique. This seal must contain spatial temporal coordinates that can be located. Once the first step is taken, the rest becomes much easier. Understood. Akihara Kagura patted Hade Kakashi on the shoulder. A tiny leaf seal quietly fell onto Kakashi's shoulder before he spoke. Continue your studies here. Do not wander off. I will go buy some things and come back. System prompt. Ninja Professor trait activated. Host possesses spatial temporal attributes. Chakra level has reached, or above, secretly learning the Flying Thunder God technique which conforms to ninjutsu theory. Flying Thunder God technique learning successful. System prompt. You have successfully learned the Flying Thunder God technique. Flying Thunder God technique, no need for hand seals, uses the seal of the Flying Thunder God technique for coordinate location. The caster performs instantaneous movement through space-time, moving so fast that enemies cannot perceive it. The caster can transport objects and people with the Flying Thunder God technique's instantaneity, and long-distance or large object teleportation will consume more chakra of the caster. 10 minutes later, while Hade Kakashi was still looking at the scroll, a figure suddenly appeared beside him, entering his peripheral vision. "Are you back already?" Kakashi looked up to see Akihara Kagura holding 2 cups of pear juice, suddenly realizing there was something odd about Kagura's appearance. This Flying Thunder God technique is quite simple. Akihara Kagura handed one of the pear juices to Kakashi, casually pointing to a leaf seal on his shoulder, explaining, "First, create a seal like this, then run to a far place, and just like that, teleport back. It does consume some chakra, but it's indeed very convenient for traveling to buy things." The Flying Thunder God technique is indeed quite convenient. After learning this technique, there's no need to hide it as a trump card, as the Flying Thunder God technique can bring great convenience to life in the future, and Akihara Kagura has plenty of trump cards already. Kakashi felt completely bewildered. Was this kid's learning method too abstract? He just briefly introduced the theory of the Flying Thunder God technique. How could he have learned it just like that? Kakashi held the Flying Thunder God technique study notes left by his teacher, still clueless about how to begin with the first step of condensing the Flying Thunder God seal. Moreover, this technique wasn't meant to make shopping more convenient. First, you start by condensing a seal like this. Akihara Kagura seemed to understand Hade Kakashi's confusion and raised his hand to form a leaf symbol, demonstrating it to Hade Kakashi. Wait a moment. Hade Kakashi rubbed his forehead and voiced his doubt. This symbol, how exactly is it formed? With chakra? No. Hade Kakashi felt he wasn't making himself clear and further inquired. How do you condense the spatial temporal coordinates within the symbol? What are spatial temporal coordinates? A hint of confusion momentarily flickered through Akihara Kagura's eyes. Really? Hade Kakashi let out a sigh of resignation, feeling a bit of a headache. You can learn the Flying Thunder God technique without understanding what spatial temporal coordinates mean. Just like that. Akihara Kagura continued demonstrating, hoping earnestly that Hade Kakashi would understand his point. As long as I create a symbol that allows me to teleport to it, even sensing this symbol feels like my body is being summoned by a force. Hade Kakashi's headache worsened. But if the symbol does not contain spatial temporal coordinates, how can it be used for teleportation's positioning? Hade Kakashi felt something was wrong with the world, being the one who doesn't know the Flying Thunder God technique. Yet here he was, trying hard to teach someone who had learned it in a blink of an eye to understand the technique. Hade Kakashi could only use the simplest technique as an example. Like the summoning technique's contract seal, it requires forming seals in the order of boar, dog, bird, monkey, ram to release a summoning circle, using this circle as the spatial temporal coordinates for the arrival of the summoned creature. Summoning. When Hade Kakashi reached this point, he suddenly understood something, and his eyes lit up. Essentially, the summoning circle of the summoning technique and the symbol of the Flying Thunder God technique both contain spatial temporal coordinates. I need to thoroughly study the summoning technique first. Akihara Kagura nodded reluctantly, addressing Hade Kakashi's final concern. However, this technique consumes a significant amount of chakra and initially feels a bit troublesome to use, requiring precise sensing of the symbol's location. Fortunately, my sensing ability is fairly decent. Chapter 83, Akihara Kagura Current Status. Akihara Kagura did his best. If Hadake Kakashi could learn the Flying Thunder God technique, it would not only help Kakashi, his current boss with whom he has a decent relationship, but also pose a threat to another boss, Uchiha Obaido, with whom his relationship is not so good and who does not value him much. It was unexpected. He had unexpected gains from teaching the key points to Hadake Kakashi. System prompt: Ninja Professor trait activated. The host possesses space-time attribute chakra with a quantity above C grade, is passively learning summoning jutsu, which aligns with ninja theory. Summoning jutsu successfully learned. System prompt: You have successfully learned summoning jutsu. Summoning jutsu, through the seals of boar, dog, bird, monkey, ram, summons a summoning beast from an unknown place to join the battle. The stronger the summoned beast, the more chakra is required. Note, a summoning contract must be signed with the summoning beast, which has its own will. The beast may not fully obey the summoner's commands and may even pose a danger to the summoner. This technique, Akihara Kagura really didn't intend to learn it secretly. It was Hadake Kakashi who spoke of it voluntarily, and he learned it passively. Hadake Kakashi was in a great mood, perhaps because Akihara Kagura helped him find a direction to learn the Flying Thunder God technique, and he brought up the technique he planned to teach to Akihara Kagura. My techniques mostly require hand seals. Hadake Kakashi said this with a bit of embarrassment. The only technique that might suit you is one considered forbidden in the village. Which technique? Akihara Kagura immediately became curious. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Hadake Kakashi mentioned a very familiar technique name. It is a highly dangerous forbidden jutsu. During your rest, I propose to the Hokage that your chakra is vast enough to use this technique. The Konoha has strict restrictions on ninja techniques and forbidden jutsus. For example, the Flying Thunder God technique is an S-grade technique, but is not listed as a forbidden jutsu. Like the multi-shadow clone jutsu and a grade ninja technique, it is listed as forbidden due to its extreme danger. If one wishes to learn or teach a forbidden jutsu to someone, Hokage's permission is required to prevent the jutsu from endangering the ninja's life. This technique only requires the rat seal. Hadake Kakashi raised his finger, forming the rat seal, and whispered, "Multi-shadow clone jutsu!" A group of Hadake Kakashi's clones instantly appeared around him. This technique implies that Hadake Kakashi has a substantial amount of chakra and precise control over the distribution of his chakra. Did you learn it? A group of Hadake Kakashis surrounded Akihara Kagura, posing as if you must have learned it by now. I don't know if I've learned it or not. Akihara Kagura observed the technique he had just learned with some helplessness. System prompt: Ninja Professor trait activated. The host's chakra level has reached a grade or above, passively learning the multi-shadow clone jutsu that conforms to the theory of ninjutsu. Multi-shadow clone jutsu successfully learned. System prompt: You have successfully learned the multi-shadow clone jutsu. System prompt: Detection of the wood release Kekkei Genkai within the host. Multi-shadow clone jutsu evolved into wood release. Multi-wood clone jutsu. Wood release. Multi-wood clone jutsu by forming the Rin seal, dividing the chakra within the body, and releasing multiple wood clones indistinguishable from the real thing. The wood clones can attack freely. Since the wood release chakra can serve as a source of life, the wood clones have stronger defenses than shadow clones, and when a wood clone is destroyed, it can transform into vines to entangle the enemy. Wood release, multi-wood clone jutsu. Akihara Kagura quickly formed hand seals with his fingers. Wood carvings rapidly emerged behind Akihara Kagura, slowly reviving into wood clones. 1, 2, 3. Akihara Kagura's expression was somewhat strange. There were only 3 wood clones, but their chakra was abundant, making each of them a formidable opponent even on their own. Hadake Kakashi slowly nodded and praised. It's okay. With more practice in the future with your chakra, you'll definitely be able to create more wood clones. Hadake Kakashi pondered for a moment, then mentioned the true purpose of teaching this technique to Akihara Kagura. This technique will make it easier for you to carry out reconnaissance missions, of course not in the unique way we conduct reconnaissance in the Mist Village. From the results, we indeed completed the reconnaissance mission, but your method of gathering intelligence was too unique. You did well, but don't do it again next time. Akihara Kagura was noncommittal about this. However, at this moment he received a notification sound. System prompt: Assisting Hadake Kakashi in investigating the Mist Village's intelligence. Completed reward: Earth release, Earth-style wall. Earth release, Earth-style wall by forming the serpent boar dog hand seals. Chakra is infused into the ground, raising a defensive earth wall. Note, the technique is from Hadake Kakashi, and one can freely create desired statues on the defensive earth wall. Let's go. Hade Kakashi packed up his belongings and said, "That's about it for today. Treat me to a bowl of ramen." Akihara Kagura really couldn't refuse. Just from Hade Kakashi alone, through stealth learning, passive learning being taught, and mission rewards, Akihara Kagura obtained 4 techniques, even one of them being the highly useful Flying Thunder God technique. It has to be said, if one wants to work, it's still necessary to enter an official ninja organization. Akihara Kagura calculated the gains he had made during his time in Konoha, and found them to be far more than what he had acquired during the years he spent with Orochimaru. Name: Akihara Kagura. Gender: male. Age: 11 years old. Date of birth: April 4, year 43 of the Konoha calendar. Chakra nature: fire, wind, lightning, earth, water, yang, yin. Chakra level: SSS. Skills: wood release, wood clone, wood release, wood replacement, wood release, wood transformation, wood release, piercing branch technique, wood release. Advent of a world of flowering trees, wood release. Wood dragon technique, wood release. Wood human technique, wood release. Multiple wood clone technique, wind release. Vacuum blade, Konoha style taijutsu, earth release. Earth flow wall, water release. Water mirror technique, flying thunder god technique, summoning technique, genetic modification techniques, traits markless healing, wood release. Kekkei Genkai enhanced. Science of the ninja world, ninja in the shadows, ninja professor, Manjikayo Sharingan superiors. Orochimaru, Shimura Danzo, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Hade Kakashi, Uchiha Abaido. Orochimaru's task: go to Konoha to find Orochimaru's ally Shimura Danzo, learn wood release techniques, and monitor the alliance between Orochimaru and Shimura Danzo. Uncompleted. Orochimaru's task: find an opportunity to bring Uchiha Itachi to Orochimaru. Uncompleted. Sarutobi Hiruzen's task: assist Hade Kakashi in gathering intelligence on the Konoha rogue ninja, Uchiha Abaido. Uncompleted. Shimura Danzo's task: assist Hade Kakashi in investigating Uchiha Abaido and report the findings to Shimura Danzo. Uncompleted. Shimura Danzo's task: invite Hade Kakashi to join the route. Uncompleted. Akihara Kagura rather likes all these superiors. The welcome packages from these superiors are excellent, though inevitably there are some disappointments with the tasks, such as Sarutobi Hiruzen not being his direct superior, making the tasks he assigns somewhat vague and even consistently failing to provide closure. The tasks assigned by Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen are strikingly similar, only requiring separate reports to them. Of course, Orochimaru does not count. This superior is truly difficult to contact. As for Uchiha Abaido, this superior has yet to re-establish contact with him, leaving it unclear whether it's due to inconvenience or still not taking his subordinates seriously. Perhaps this superior also busy. After all, Konoha has already issued a wanted notice for Uchiha Abaido, and it's likely the entire shinobi world is aware of Uchiha Abaido's preference for wearing masks. The Mist Village has also been trying to locate Uchiha Abaido, so it's likely he doesn't have much free time. Compared to that, Hade Kakashi is relatively free. Since the 4th Mizukage, Kartachi Yagura, had the most interactions with Uchiha Abaido, Hade Kakashi occasionally takes Akihara Kagura to visit Yagura, hoping the Mizukage might recall something more, using any overlooked clues to track down Uchiha Abaido's whereabouts. The 4th Mizukage, Yagura, couldn't provide much information, because he was controlled by Uchiha Abaido's genjutsu during their encounter. The only impression he had was that there seemed to be 2 people with Uchiha Abaido, one man with orange hair, one woman with light purple hair. Chapter 84, Good Subordinate. This is an extremely crucial piece of intelligence. Unfortunately, the 4th Mizukage did not see the specific appearances of the adversaries, only remembering that they all wore black robes embroidered with auspicious clouds, likely subordinates of Uchiha Abaido. Akihara Kagura furrowed his brows in thought. Akihara Kagura pondered deeply. Akihara Kagura racked his brains. Akihara Kagura knew who those 2 people were. The leaders of the future's strongest rogue ninja organization, Akatsuki the leader and the deputy, also knew that the Akatsuki organization was key to Uchiha Abaido's future plans. Akihara Kagura thought hard about the pros and cons, how he could quietly leak information about the Akatsuki organization to put some pressure on Uchiha Abaido when finally his superior Uchiha Abaido got back in touch with him from Konoha. The new year of the ninja world arrived. Uchiha Abaido came to Konoha. This was his hometown, where the people he loved the most were buried. Due to the leak of Uchiha Abaido's identity, his status within the Akatsuki organization was greatly reduced, from a pathfinder of Akatsuki to a partner. Uchiha Obaido could only rely on his Mangekyo Sharingan and unparalleled intelligence-gathering ability to avoid being excluded from the core circle of the plan. On the occasion of the new year, Uchiha Obaido, inevitably feeling a bit melancholic, planned to spend these difficult days in Konoha and also to meet Akihara Kagura, an important subordinate, to introduce him to future comrades. In the forest behind Konoha village, Uchiha Obaido insisted on meeting Akihara Kagura here. When Akihara Kagura met Uchiha Obaido, he also saw a half-black, half-white pitcher plant monster and a fierce white monster standing beside him. Both Uchiha Obaido and the pitcher plant monster wore black robes with red auspicious clouds. Only the white monster seemed not to need clothes. "This is Zetsu." Uchiha Obaido candidly introduced the half-black, half-white pitcher plant monster and then introduced the fierce white monster beside him. "This is White Zetsu, your future comrade. At least pair me with a person, right?" Akihara Kagura raised an eyebrow, continuing, "Being in league with such monsters, I always feel what we're going to do might not be anything humane." "Heh, this entity named White Zetsu, White Clone, said with a grin, 'Don't worry, we were never good people anyway. Then, here's to a pleasant collaboration.'" Akihara Kagura walked towards this white clone, seemingly wanting to shake hands with it to symbolize future amicable relation. Just as this white clone stretched out its hand, Akihara Kagura suddenly pulled its body at an angle with his right hand, and his palm seized its throat. "White Zetsu is going to die." This white clone struggled and stuck out its tongue. "What are you doing, kid?" Uchiha Obaido looked at Akihara Kagura furiously, hurriedly grabbing Akihara Kagura's arm. "Kid, do you know how useful it is, how much help it can bring you? The one who truly needs help is you, right?" Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Obaido and chuckled lightly. "Too bad, when I wanted to pass on the information, I couldn't find a way to contact you. That's why I sent it to help you." Uchiha Obaido's expression was especially grim as he continued, "Whatever information you have, you can tell it, and it can directly find me. White Zetsu is my clone." The pitcher plant monster's white half-face said, "We have telepathy within a certain distance. Whatever you want to say, you can tell it, and I will know its thoughts. Its disguise technique is so good, it can impersonate you and stay in Konoha on your behalf when you can't afford to be there. It won't disrupt your life. It can hide underground without eating or drinking, and you can summon it whenever you want it to do something. Isn't this just monitoring me?" Akihara Kagura frowned and said discontentedly, "What if one day I find you all to be worthless and don't want to play with you anymore? Then you'll know, won't you?" Uchiha Obaido's eyelid twitches. Even the pitcher plant monster felt somewhat speechless. How could this kid so brazenly speak of betraying them? "Our plan won't disappoint you." Pitcher plant monster's dark half-face didn't show anger, but instead gave a sinister smile. "If you really betray us, we will make sure you won't be disappointed then either." "Are you planning to kill me then?" Akihara Kagura raised an eyebrow, released the clone of White Zetsu, and instead grabbed Uchiha Obaido's wrist, a leaf mark quietly imprinting on him. "Why not try and see if you can kill me? Kid, don't get too cocky." Uchiha Obaido's Sharingan slowly transformed into a Mangekyo. Just as Uchiha Obaido was about to activate his Mangekyo Sharingan technique, a statement from Akihara Kagura made him stop his thoughts immediately. "Not long ago, I learned the Flying Thunder God technique from Kakashi." Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Obaido's Sharingan and continued, "I'm quite curious, which is stronger, your space-time jutsu or my newly mastered Flying Thunder God technique? How about we have another fight?" Uchiha Obaido was reminded of an unpleasant memory. That year, Uchiha Obaido, determined to become the shadowy figure behind the ninja world, relying on his Mangekyo Sharingan, single-handedly caused the Nine Tails incident, and even tried to kill his own teacher, Namikaze Minato, only to be defeated by Minato using the Flying Thunder God. "Wait," Uchiha Obaido suddenly thought of something, staring intently at Akihara Kagura, and asked, "Did that loser Kakashi learn the Flying Thunder God technique? Damn it! The Flying Thunder God technique could indeed compete with his own." Uchiha Obaido originally thought that with the Mangekyo Sharingan, he no longer needed to pay attention to Kakashi. However, to his surprise, Kakashi went on to learn the Flying Thunder God technique. Did he learn it specifically to counter him? Akihara Kagura recalled Hideki Kakashi's somewhat worrisome progress in learning, but deliberately blurred the answer to this question. "I learned the Flying Thunder God technique together with Captain Kakashi, and I have already mastered this technique." "HMPH?" Uchiha Obaido snorted coldly, extremely dissatisfied with Kakashi learning the Flying Thunder God technique, but could only vent his frustration here. "So what if he has learned the Flying Thunder God technique now? A failure will always be a failure." Given the chance, he would test Hadake Kakashi's mettle to see what changes learning the Flying Thunder God technique could bring. Having once confronted Minato, who was skilled in the Flying Thunder God technique, handling Hadake Kakashi would be easy. It seems Akihara Kagura understood his superior's thoughts and spoke slowly. Captain Kakashi is still covertly tracking your whereabouts. He recently received new intelligence that among your subordinates there is a man with bright orange hair and a woman with light blue-purple hair. Right! They wear the same clothes as you, those troublesome individuals. Uchiha Abaido gritted his teeth, remembering the woman with light blue-purple hair's attitude towards him. After discovering his true identity, she showed nothing but disdain and even doubted the plans he made for the Akatsuki organization. At the turn of the new year, why is it that all he hears are unhappy things? Akihara Kagura is a good subordinate, kindly suggesting, this time why not consider eliminating those two subordinates of yours to prevent Captain Kakashi from discovering anything else? Chapter 85, War. Akihara Kagura is a good subordinate. This is indeed taking into consideration the pros and cons for Uchiha Abaido. If at this time the man with orange hair and the woman with light purple hair are not killed, Hadake Kakashi and Konoha will definitely keep a close eye on their intelligence. Once they are willing to investigate further, there will definitely be astonishing discoveries, which will affect Uchiha Abaido's plan. Actually, what Akihara Kagura said makes a lot of sense. Killing those two people would minimize risks and allow one to vent the frustration accumulated over this period. However, Uchiha Abaido still believes that this matter should not be listened to by this youngster. The plan hasn't even started yet to kill the most important pieces first. This is too strange. Moreover, killing the man with orange hair is not going to be easy. Not now. Uchiha Abaido couldn't help frowning, saying in a deep voice, if we're speaking seriously, they are even more important than you. Akihara Kagura's expression was clearly a bit displeased. It may not be the case. The black half-face of the pitcher plant monster shook its head, saying hoarsely, if they were killed, Akihara Kagura could replace them. After saying this, the black half-face slowly continued. Of course, they are still useful at this time. Wait until they become disobedient, then think of a way to kill them. Actually, Akihara Kagura is more suitable than them to be the core of the plan. That works. Akihara Kagura's expression immediately improved a lot. Akihara Kagura couldn't help but take another look at that black half-face, thinking, this is the person who knows how to speak, more suitable to be a leader than Uchiha Abaido. Although Akihara Kagura knows this person has ill intentions, speaking so pleasantly and appearing capable, a bright future must be arranged for him in the future. HMPH! Uchiha Abaido disdained these superficial words, coldly saying, although I'm also not pleased with their attitude, the two of them have good strength, which is also very useful for the growth of the Akatsuki organization. Akatsuki! Akihara Kagura raised an eyebrow as if catching an opportunity and asked, is that the name of our organization? Correct. Uchiha Abaido nodded. When you officially join in the future, I will introduce you to the Akatsuki organization. For now, you are more important in Konoha than in Akatsuki. Uchiha Abaido recognized the importance of Akihara Kagura as a spy and coldly issued his order. You must find a way to change the direction of Kakashi's investigation. Don't let his focus stay on those two. Kakashi and Konoha must not set their sights on the Akatsuki organization. System prompt. New task. Change the direction of Hadake Kakashi's investigation to prevent Hadake Kakashi from uncovering the truth about the Akatsuki organization. This won't be easy. Akihara Kagura lowered his head, pondered for a moment, and then said, Captain Kakashi won't let this lead go unless he finds other clues about you. To use my information to attract his attention. Uchiha Abaido felt a headache coming on, somewhat dissatisfied. In that case, wouldn't Kakashi that waste be forever focused on me? We could think of it another way. Akihara Kagura gently persuaded his superior. This way, all of Captain Kakashi's future actions would be under your covert control. Let's do it that way. Uchiha Abaido immediately made a decision, his eyes revealing a hint of sinister intent. I might even turn the tables and use that idiot Kakashi to achieve my goals. When the time comes, the day the Eye of the Moon plan is realized, Hadake Kakashi would never have imagined that he was also a pawn in the Eye of the Moon plan. This person who opposed my plan also supported my actions. However, Akihara Kagura was very satisfied with his superior's wisdom, leisurely continuing. The incident you caused in the Mist Village was too significant. Captain Kakashi might not believe that you're interested in small targets. It would be best if you could do something in a major ninja village. This was secretly leading Uchiha Abaido. No matter if Uchiha Abaido appears in a major ninja village or beside a small creek, Hadate Kakashi would follow him. Akihara Kagura proactively suggested an idea. If you could stir up some trouble in the rock village, Captain Kakashi would definitely take me with him to investigate. At that time, I could do more in the rock village, provoking a war between Konoha and the rock village. Uchiha Abaido's expression suddenly became strange. Uchiha Abaido looked at Akihara Kagura, skepticism apparent on his face. Are you sure this plan is to draw the attention of that idiot Kakashi and not for you, the little devil, to ignite a great ninja war? This plan is a bit too extreme. Uchiha Abaido shook his head, wanting to reject the plan. Although a great ninja war suits our interests, the rock village and Konoha cannot go to war, due to the geographical reasons of the ninja world. If the rock village and the Konoha village were to start a war, it would inevitably turn the smaller countries nestled between the land of earth and the land of fire into battlefields, with the land of rain facing the direct brunt of the conflict between these major powers. Unfortunately, the base of the Akatsuki organization is located in the land of rain. Currently, the nominal leader of the Akatsuki is a ninja from the land of rain, who cannot simply watch two major ninja villages wage war within the land of rain. This will inevitably involve the Akatsuki in the conflict. This is completely contrary to the desire to keep the Akatsuki hidden. What about the Cloud Village? Following the logic of Akihara Kagura, Uchiha Abaido shared his idea. I'll go to the Cloud Village first to stir up some trouble. When Kakashi and you go to scout the Cloud Village, I can help you provoke a war between the Konoha and the Cloud. Geographically, if they instigate a war between the Cloud and the Konoha, it's unlikely that the land of rain would be dragged into it. Moreover, the Akatsuki might even receive mercenary work from other ninja villages. If he could incite a war between the Konoha and the Cloud, other villages would definitely not sit idly by, especially the Rock Village, which has already started contacting the Akatsuki, seeking to hire them for difficult tasks. In theory, it's possible. Akihara Kagura quickly nodded in agreement. To prevent his work from being insufficient and not leading to a war in the future, Akihara Kagura preemptively vaccinated Uchiha Abaido. However, the higher-ups in the Konoha seem to not wish for war with the Cloud. The Cloud's strength is too formidable. Years ago, to avoid conflict with the Cloud, the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, even betrayed the members of the Hyuga clan to the Cloud. Is that so? Uchiha Abaido couldn't help but tap his fingers. Uchiha Abaido didn't realize that causing trouble in the Cloud might not necessarily restart a war between the Konoha and the Cloud, but the Cloud would definitely target Uchiha Abaido, the rogue ninja from the Konoha. Fortunately, there was someone who understood beside him. But this understanding person also didn't consider Akihara Kagura's true purpose, which was to make Uchiha Abaido an enemy of the world. His line of thought was very clear. I have a question. The clone of White Zetsu named Oi, who had just been choked by Akihara Kagura, couldn't help but ask with a chuckle, why go to the trouble of starting a war? Why not find a way to kill Hadate Kakashi, who has been keeping an eye on Abaido? Everyone present looked at the White Zetsu named Oi. Even the pitcher plant monster didn't dare to speak. It must be said, this was a smart White Zetsu. Uchiha Abaido and Zetsu took a long time to decide that this White Zetsu named Oi was smart enough and would not make mistakes, capable of getting along well with Akihara Kagura. However, this smart White Zetsu had a flaw. It thought it was the smartest one present. Everyone there probably knew why Uchiha Abaido had not chosen to kill Hadate Kakashi. Perhaps he didn't care about Hadate Kakashi's life or death, but he definitely didn't want to see Hadate Kakashi die as part of his scheme. Too much talk, it might cause problems in the future. Uchiha Abaido reached out and grabbed the neck of the beast named Oi. Oi! Oi is going to die again. The beast named Oi was so frightened that it immediately struggled and stuck out its tongue. Actually, it makes some sense. Akihara Kagura grabbed Uchiha Abaido's wrist, saving his future companion. I can think of a way to kill Captain Kakashi. Uchiha Abaido fell silent. This creature named Oi should have died a long time ago. If possible, Uchiha Abaido wished he could go back a few minutes and not stop Akihara Kagura from killing the beast. If possible, Uchiha Abaido also wouldn't mind not going back a few minutes, but he wished Akihara Kagura wouldn't stop him from killing the beast. Uchiha Abaido's expression became colder, and he chose to strongly argue against the questions raised by his subordinate. That waste Kakashi doesn't deserve to go to the netherworld. That waste doesn't deserve to accompany Rin's soul to the netherworld. Uchiha Abaido felt this argument was unconvincing and added, "Moreover, even if that waste Kakashi dies, it won't change the situation. Konoha already knows about me and those two from the Akatsuki organization. Konoha will only become more cautious because of Kakashi's death. So that's how it is." Akihara Kagura slowly nodded. "All right, let's get back to our original topic." After thinking for a while, Akihara Kagura continued, "If Cloud Village and Konoha accidentally start a war, my body has the wood-release Kekkei Genkai, so there might not be a problem." Akihara Kagura changed the subject to Kakashi. "But my captain, Hachike Kakashi, might be forced to commit suicide, and his body would probably be sent to the Cloud Village to appease their anger." When appeasing the Cloud Village's anger back then, the Konoha higher-ups did this. The head of the Hyuga clan had his own brother forcibly take his place in suicide. The Sand Village might also be an option. Uchiha Abaido once again proposed his own idea. "The Sand Village's strength is weak. Konoha should never avoid a war with the Sand Village. Konoha and the Sand Village are allies." Akihara Kagura raised an eyebrow and spread one hand. "Moreover, I've heard that the Sand Village's strength is quite feeble, even weaker than the Mist Village. I wonder if they can withstand me and Captain Kakashi." Not to put it too rudely, Akihara Kagura could single-handedly suppress the entire Sand Village. "You guys are too extreme." The clone named Oi, a white Zetsu, came back to life, chirping, "Our goal isn't to plunge the ninja world into war, right? Since killing Hachike Kakashi won't solve the problem, then we should divert Hachike Kakashi's attention away from the Akatsuki. Isn't that enough?" Uchiha Abaido came to his senses. Uchiha Abaido felt that his thinking had been led astray by Akihara Kagura, tempted by this kid into wanting to start a great ninja war, forgetting his original purpose. "This guy talks too much." Akihara Kagura kicked the white Zetsu clone away. Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Abaido, his smile returning. "Just now, you suggested that it wouldn't matter if the Cloud Village, the Sand Village, and the Konoha Village went to war, but specifically not the Rock Village. Does that mean a war involving the Konoha and Rock Villages would definitely affect the Akatsuki? Let me guess." Akihara Kagura's smile grew wider. "The Akatsuki must be located within the area where war might break out in the Land of Earth, the Land of Grass, the Land of Waterfalls, the Land of Rain." Uchiha Abaido remained expressionless. "It seems it should be in the Land of Rain, then." Akihara Kagura seemed to have read the answer from Uchiha Abaido's expressionless face, smilingly said, "Then let's set our plan in the Rock Village. I can just take a detour through the Land of Rain to visit the Akatsuki's base." Uchiha Abaido's expression soured. "How did this kid always guess his thoughts? This isn't exactly a detour." The clone named Oi jumped out again, correcting Akihara Kagura's mistake. "I once studied the geography of the ninja world. If you want to go from the Konoha to the Rock Village in the Land of Earth, passing through the Land of Rain is the most troublesome. With too many mountainous roads, the weather is always heavy rain, the roads are muddy, plus there are wars within the Land of Rain. Safety cannot be guaranteed." This clone named Oi seemed really knowledgeable, offering advice. "Let me tell you the shortest and most convenient route, which is through the Land of Grass. Just pass through the most dangerous and complex bridge, and then it's smooth sailing ahead." Uchiha Abaido's expression darkened. Although this clone named Oi was hitting Akihara Kagura's face, mentioning the bridge clearly made Uchiha Abaido quite upset. Quite a broad range of knowledge. Akihara Kagura couldn't help but praise it, reaching out to shake hands with it, leaving a leaf mark on its wrist. "Let's wish us a pleasant cooperation in advance." "Oh." This creature named Oi, a white Zetsu, immediately appeared very honored, bowed, and grasped Akihara Kagura's hand, asking proactively, "Then may I plant some spores on you? To avoid any dangers I might face in the future, I want to set up some defensive measures in advance." "What are spores?" Akihara Kagura, feigning ignorance, continued with a smile. "Don't worry about facing dangers in the future. I just left a flying thunder god mark on you. As soon as I sense you're in danger, I'll immediately come to help you resolve it." If. This white Zetsu named Oi is too clever, even to a pitiable extent, and asked softly, "If you suddenly want to kill me, could you also use this flying thunder god mark to appear instantly by my side and kill me? So, we should let my true body plant spores on you. At least when you think of using chakra to kill me, the spores could grow and stop you from acting." This white Zetsu named Oi is very sincere, especially fond of telling the truth. "Young man, to me you are the biggest danger." "How could that be?" Young Akihara Kagura smiled and rebutted, treating it very sincerely. "We are companions after all. Killing you would be too wasteful." White Zetsu, all excellent experimental materials. whether it's for use as a sacrifice in forbidden jutsu experiments or to be sent to another superior, Orochimaru, as a gift. It's all top-notch material. All right. Uchiha Abaido forcibly stopped the potential conflict and dispute between Akihara Kagura and this white Zetsu named Oi, instructing, "I hope you two will get along well in the future. Just like you and Afei." This white Zetsu named Oi obviously knows a lot. "Shut up!" Uchiha Abaido, reminded of the fool he used to be with day and night, continued sternly, "Zetsu and I will soon make some noise in the rock village. As soon as there's news from there, I will take action immediately." Akihara Kagura nodded quickly, agreeing, "I will definitely not let Captain Kakashi worry about those he shouldn't be concerned with." This white Zetsu named Oi immediately added to Akihara Kagura's words, "Make sure Hade Kakashi focuses his attention on those he should care about." Chapter 86. Kusanagi Sword. Uchiha Abaido left with an unsightly expression on his face. As for this white Zetsu called Oi, he desperately hinted, wanting to implant spores within Akihara Kagura's body, which was ruthlessly rejected by Uchiha Abaido. Akihara Kagura glanced at this white Zetsu named Oi and unexpectedly felt a bit of rapport, determined to make its life create more value in the future. "Young man!" This white Zetsu looked at Akihara Kagura, its tone becoming very reserved, yet its words were profound. "What do I need to help you with?" "Help me monitor Uchiha Abaido." Akihara Kagura's words almost choked it. "This task conflicts with my primary duties." The white Zetsu called Oi hesitated, shaking its head, about to say something when its body suddenly sank towards the ground, opening its mouth to warn, "Be careful, there's something unusual. I've sensed the presence of chakra." Akihara Kagura had also just sensed the approach of a sinister chakra, somewhat surprised at white Zetsu's chakra sensing abilities. "This guy has good perception abilities." A small white snake appeared, swimming up to Akihara Kagura and stopped, opening its mouth to slowly spit out a slender sword. What was strange? There was no saliva on the sword's handle. "Orochimaru!" Akihara Kagura's eyes flickered slightly. It was unexpected to see a small white snake sent by Orochimaru, especially when Uchiha Abaido's white Zetsu was monitoring him. Never mind, he hadn't planned to hide this matter anyway. Because these two superiors would sooner or later converge, Orochimaru, ever curious, would definitely try to investigate the Akatsuki organization's secrets. Uchiha Abaido, as a superior, never expected his loyalty and wouldn't care whom he had sided with, since he had made his stance clear in front of Uchiha Abaido, ready to kill white Zetsu and betray them if he ever felt displeased. When Akihara Kagura received the sword spat out by the small white snake, he saw a small red seal attached to the scabbard, with a line of words written on the red seal. It was a handwritten message from Orochimaru. "Happy New Year." This was a hardy Kusanagi sword. It was a New Year's gift sent to him by Orochimaru's white snake clone. Akihara Kagura had always known Orochimaru harbored ill intentions towards him. Receiving this gift on the New Year of the ninja world, he couldn't help but feel touched. In the future, Orochimaru would gather many children, most of whom were unwilling to leave his side. Which subordinate wouldn't want to stay by such a superior, on the occasion of the New Year? Just when one feels the most alone, Orochimaru still does not forget to send a bit of warmth. Who would be willing to refuse someone who keeps them in their heart? "Please thank Lord Orochimaru for me." A sincere touch of emotion appeared on Akihara Kagura's face as he softly said, "I am now undercover in Konoha's Anbu, becoming an Anbu ninja. Shimura Danzo has not betrayed the covenant and even helped me arrange an identity within the Konoha orphanage." While monitoring the one called Oi, the white Zetsu clone with the characteristics of the ninja in the shadow, Akihara Kagura continued speaking to the little white snake. "In some time, I may pass through the land of grass and hope to find an opportunity to meet with Lord Orochimaru then. Please ask Orochimaru if there is time to meet." The little white snake nodded and quietly disappeared into the grass. Akihara Kagura stood still, knowing that the white Zetsu called Oi was still here eavesdropping. "Stop hiding underground, come out! Are you one of Orochimaru's?" The head of the white Zetsu slowly emerged from the ground. "Isn't that normal?" Akihara Kagura raised an eyebrow, counter-asking, "Where else would my would-release Kekkei Genkai come from if not from Lord Orochimaru?" "That makes sense." The one called Oi slowly nodded, earnestly asking, "Then, can I go tell Uchiha Abaido about you being with Orochimaru and about Orochimaru's whereabouts?" "Not convenient at the moment." Akihara Kagura frowned, pondering for a while before asking, "What if Lord Orochimaru does not want you guys to know this?" The one called Oi was somewhat perplexed. "So if Orochimaru does not want us to know, do we just not invade his privacy?" I was planning to visit the rock village and sneak a visit to the Akatsuki's base to observe their strength, then consider whether to invite Lord Orochimaru to join the Akatsuki. If Lord Orochimaru is willing, you report to Uchiha Abaido. If he is not willing, you still report to Uchiha Abaido. Wouldn't that just be getting his hopes up for nothing? Akihara Kagura slowly said. When Lord Orochimaru decides to join the Akatsuki, there's no rush to tell Uchiha Abaido then. You would definitely want a powerful ninja like Orochimaru to join us in the Akatsuki, right? That is also true. White Zetsu Oi nodded slightly, expressing some doubt. However, would Orochimaru join the Akatsuki? As long as the Akatsuki's power is strong enough, Lord Orochimaru would definitely be willing. The words of Akihara Kagura seemed sincere as he continued. Before I came to Konoha, Lord Orochimaru was being pursued, so I have been helping Lord Orochimaru find a suitable organization for protection, to at least shield him from being hunted. Who is hunting Orochimaru? This White Zetsu was very curious, even starting to ponder. Orochimaru is one of the legendary Sannin of Konoha. Anyone capable of hunting Orochimaru must be at least a cage of a village. It seems to be someone named Jiraiya. Akihara Kagura mentioned a name, another of the legendary Sannin. This White Zetsu shook his head and sighed. Such things always happen in Konoha. Jiraiya hunting Orochimaru, Hade Kakashi tracking Uchiha Abaido. It's uncertain if such things will continue to happen in the future. Such incidents will always exist. As long as there is darkness within Konoha, as long as people harbor greed, there will always be ninjas who defect, and there will always be those who wish to bring the defectors back. All right. Akihara Kagura pacified this White Zetsu, saying, after I meet Lord Orochimaru, I'll ask if he is willing to join the Akatsuki. Okay. After agreeing, this White Zetsu named Oi then realized and asked a critical question. If Lord Orochimaru is unwilling to join the Akatsuki with you, will you choose him, or will you choose us, the Akatsuki? Of course you. Akihara Kagura then raised a potential concern. If Lord Orochimaru refuses to join the Akatsuki in the future, you guys might need to use force to persuade him, to coerce him into joining. You wouldn't be unable to deal with Lord Orochimaru, would you? Akihara Kagura's attitude towards Uchiha Abaido and the Akatsuki was always very genuine. If you can't even defeat Lord Orochimaru, then why would I choose him over you? Why should I choose the weaker as my comrades? Moreover, Lord Orochimaru, after not seeing him for a long time, still remembers to send me a New Year's gift. When Uchiha Abaido came, he didn't even offer a New Year's greeting. When Akihara Kagura reached this point, his words inevitably carried a hint of resentment. A leader with such a narrow mind, if his abilities are also lacking, what is there for me to follow him for? You're right. This creature named Oi, a White Zetsu clone, was convinced, and its body slowly sank into the ground. Just as the body of the White Zetsu began to sink halfway into the ground, it seemed to remember something, and its face strained to show a friendly smile. Young man, Happy New Year! Happy New Year! In Akihara Kagura's smile, there was a bit less loneliness. The beginning of the new year. The village of Konoha was adorned with festive fu plaques. The entire village was immersed in the joyous atmosphere of the new year. Even the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, forced to live in Konoha, was cordially invited by Sarutobi Hiruzen to join the New Year celebrations in Konoha. The Anbu ninjas were not among them. This was a busy working time for the Anbu ninjas. During the New Year celebrations, many tourists from other places would come to visit Konoha. The Anbu and the Konoha police force were the two busiest departments during this period, needing to patrol all over Konoha to prevent spies from mingling with the tourists and sneaking into Konoha to steal information. In the Anbu changing room, Akihara Kagura and Hade Kakashi had finished their day's patrol and returned to the changing room to change into casual clothes when they found a small box in their locker. There was a line of writing on the box, "Wishing you a peaceful spring." Akihara Kagura opened the small box to find a beautifully crafted kunai, clearly not an ordinary item, certainly better than anything found in the Konoha weapon shop. It was a gift from Hade Kakashi. "Didn't you learn the Flying Thunder God technique?" Hade Kakashi stood by Akihara Kagura's side and said leisurely, "My teacher would leave a mark on the kunai, throw it at the enemy with the mark, and instantly get close to the enemy. Just so happens I have a kunai of good quality." "Ah, the differences between people." Akihara Kagura shook his head, took the kunai, and sighed. "I haven't prepared anything. This makes me seem very rude. I should really give you a grand gift in return when I have the chance." "If you feel ashamed." Hade Kakashi patted the little guy on the shoulder and proposed his request with a smile. "Then treat me to a bowl of ramen, please." Akihara Kagura shook his head, displaying a generous attitude. "Ramen is too simple. I'll treat you to grilled salted sari today. That's even better. Hate Kakashi's smile brightened. Akihara Kagura, this kid, always had an offending attitude in the ambu, but he remembered his superior's favorite food, midnight diner. After Hade Kakashi and Akihara Kagura left the scene, a creature named Oi slowly emerged halfway from the ground and complained, "Hade Kakashi, this guy actually wanted to win you over with such a small trick of giving gifts." "Yeah." Akihara Kagura toyed with the beautiful kunai in his hand, a black leaf mark stamped on the kunai, seemingly reminding nonchalantly, "But we saw Uchiha Obaido didn't even want to use such a small trick." "You're right." This creature named Oi solemnly nodded. Chapter 87, New Year in the Ninja World. After the New Year, the ambu welcomed a newcomer. Uchiha Itachi arrived early to report. The circle of Konoha was not large. Many ambu members also knew that Uchiha Itachi's identity was different, a member of the distinguished Uchiha clan of Konoha, the eldest son of the head of the Konoha police force. However, the ambu did not condone malpractice, but there was a tradition of valuing seniority by age, and being too young, one inevitably faced skepticism in the ambu. But the ambu also had young members. Akihara Kagura, after the new year, was just 11 years old. Yet Akihara Kagura, being a ninja with wood-release Kekkei Genkai and extremely strong abilities, and coming from the root, the ambu ninjas did not think of questioning Akihara Kagura. Moreover, everyone knew this young member looked down on the ambu and thought about returning to the root every day. This newcomer named Uchiha Itachi, the other ambu ninjas planned to wait and see, with no one really willing to take the initiative to deal with Uchiha Itachi. Akihara Kagura was an exception. As a seasoned member of Hade Kakashi's squad, Akihara Kagura enthusiastically took Uchiha Itachi to the logistics department to collect equipment, helped him to get a locker, and introduced him to his colleagues in the ambu. "This is Uchiha Itachi." Akihara Kagura seemed worried that Uchiha Itachi would be questioned by his colleagues in the ambu, and introduced Uchiha Itachi's background. "Uchiha Itachi is here in the ambu for further training recommended by Lord Danzo, who plans to cultivate him as a future leader of the root." The ambu ninjas immediately dared not underestimate Uchiha Itachi. Even if these ambu ninjas thought that Uchiha Itachi, an 11-year-old, might not be reliable, it was not appropriate to question a future leader of the root to his face. "I am not. I haven't." Uchiha Itachi waved his hands repeatedly, a look of unease appearing on his small face, fearing being misunderstood. "I am just an ordinary ninja who was recommended by Lord Danzo to join the ambu for training." "It's more than that." Akihara Kagura shook his head and continued. "The third Hokage personally instructed Captain Kakashi to place Uchiha Itachi in our squad and asked Captain Kakashi to take care of him in the ambu." Hearing Akihara Kagura's words, Uchiha Itachi seemed more like a background figure sent by the higher-ups to gain experience, and indeed he was sent here for that purpose. "The ambu does not condone those malpractices." Hade Kakashi put his hand on Akihara Kagura's shoulder, soothing the bewildered Uchiha Itachi. "Don't mind it, Kagura just likes to talk nonsense." "Yes." Uchiha Itachi immediately relaxed. Compared to Akihara Kagura, Hade Kakashi truly is a good person. "Team 6, head out on the mission." Hade Kakashi waved his hand, signaling everyone present to head out together, and then looked at Uchiha Itachi. "First, change into the ambu gear. The Hokage has ordered that, just like Kagura, you are to stay by my side. And you." Hade Kakashi then looked at Akihara Kagura, his face showing a bit of helplessness. "We have completed missions with Itachi before. You should get along well with him during this period." I got it. Akihara Kagura replied perfunctorily with a great face, turning his head to look at Uchiha Itachi. "Did you hear that? You have to get along well with me during this time." Uchiha Itachi didn't know how to respond. At that moment, an ambu suddenly burst into the changing room. "Captain Kakashi, the Hokage has an important matter and summons you. He wants you to bring Akihara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi to the Hokage building immediately." Inside the Hokage building, the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, looked solemn. Two Hokage advisors, Koharu Yudate and Hamura Mitokado, furrowed their brows tightly, while the Hokage's assistant, Shimura Danzo, appeared somewhat eager. "It's really unexpected." Hamura Mitokado sighed, looking at the intelligence passed by the spy from Rock Village. "Just the start of the year and such a big incident happened. Uchiha Obaido controlled the 5 Tails Jinchuriki of Rock Village, attempted to assassinate the 3rd Tsuchiki Janoki, nearly causing a tailed beast disturbance. This incident has become known to everyone." Koharu Yudate pondered the impact of this event and said, "How did Rock Village not try to suppress this matter? Could there be a trap?" This is also a good thing for us. Shimura Danzo was indifferent to the chaos in Rock Village and even thought that more of such chaos would be better. It's a pity that the Jinchuriki of the Five Tails didn't kill that Anoki fellow. It may not be a good thing. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head, bringing up the deeds of Uchiha Abaido. Uchiha Abaido has become a dangerous rogue ninja. He once controlled Konoha's 9 tails, killing Minato, controlled the 3 tails of Cloud Village, and now he has controlled the 5 tails of Rock Village. Is he deliberately using the tailed beasts to weaken the power of these major ninja villages? Hamura Mitokado also realized there was something problematic with these actions. One does not simply do these things without a reason. There's always a purpose. Unknown. Sarutobi Hiruzen wasn't too clear about it either. Most of his intelligence came from Hadate Kakashi. Kakashi mentioned some things. It seems Uchiha Abaido has gone astray, aiming for eternal peace in the ninja world, attempting to resurrect the hero of the village, Nohara Rin. If he wants to achieve so-called peace in the ninja world, then one can understand why he would come up with such a fanciful idea. Koharu Yudate nodded, speculating based on Uchiha Abaido's actions. The tailed beasts are powerful. He must believe that by using the tailed beasts to kill the cage of a village and placing a Jinchuriki in the cage position, he could directly control the 5 great village. But what's the use of that? Hamura Mitokado voiced his doubts. For example, Uchiha Abaido controlled Mist Village but did not bother to replace Yagura and govern the village, instead letting Mist Village become even more chaotic under the Blood Mist policy. That's not a peaceful approach, is it? And how is he planning to resurrect Nohara Rin? Hamura Mitokado brought up the biggest confusion, even beginning to seriously contemplate. In the ninja world, the techniques that can resurrect the dead are extremely rare. Even with talents like the second Hokage, he only managed to research an imperfect impure world reincarnation technique. Could it be? Uchiha Abaido wants to use the impure world reincarnation technique to resurrect Nohara Rin? Perhaps. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head, mentioning a few things about the impure world reincarnation technique. According to the records left by the second Hokage in the Scroll of Seals, the impure world reincarnation technique requires the sacrifice of the living. The stronger the sacrifice, the closer the resurrected dead are to their original strength. Desecrating the dead, harming the living. Koharu Yudate quickly closed the potential leak of the forbidden technique. This is an absolutely forbidden technique that should not be practiced, as personally decreed by the first Hokage and teacher Tabarama. We have always been acting in accordance with the will of the second Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not believe anyone could successfully learn it, as the technique was still imperfect, and the difficulty of learning it was very great. Now he was more concerned about the matters involving Uchiha Abaido. Knock, knock, knock. A knocking sound came from outside the Hokage's office door. Hadate Kakashi, along with Ikehara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi, 2 young ones, walked in, only to see the top brass of Konoha present, all with somewhat serious expressions. Clearly, something significant must have happened again. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not hide much, speaking of Uchiha Abaido's great achievements in the Rock Village, solemnly saying, "Kakashi, the harm caused by Uchiha Abaido is increasing. I believe it is only a matter of time before he poses a threat to the safety of Konoha, and we must intensify our efforts to track him down. You 3 have been to the Mist Village before, thwarting Uchiha Abaido's plot to control it. Now, I want your team to scout in the Land of Earth for Uchiha Abaido's whereabouts. Whatever Uchiha Abaido intends to do, you must stop him." Understood. That was exactly what Hadate Kakashi intended to do. As for Ikehara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi, these 2 youngsters, one with extremely strong abilities and the other representing the Uchiha clan, were quite suitable for tracking Uchiha Abaido. Be careful. Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up his smoking pipe and cautioned again, when you scout in the Land of Earth, be sure to avoid attracting the attention of the 3rd Tsuchikage, Anoki. That old man's strength was formidable, especially his dust-release Kekkei Genkai, which was even more terrifying than the average Kekkei Genkai. Understood. Hadate Kakashi had also heard of Tsuchikage's reputation. Get ready. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, then glanced at Shimura Danzo next to him. Danzo, have the personnel from the intelligence department cooperate with them. Shimura Danzo remained silent for a while, his gaze slowly shifting, stopping on Ikehara Kagura for a moment before finally settling on Uchiha Itachi. "Itachi, come with me," Shimura Danzo, touching his cane, slowly said. "I'll give you the list of intelligence department members from the Rock Village. Contact them when the time comes." Ikehara Kagura seemed to lower his head in disappointment. Hadake Kakashi keenly sensed that his subordinate was somewhat displeased. After leaving the Hawkage building, he planned to comfort him, suggesting that staying away from Shimura Danzo was not a bad thing. "I know who the spy from Rock Village is." The voice of Akihara Kagura was somewhat forcefully subdued, as if he was deliberately bringing up something that upset him. "On the day of the Chunin exams last year, after Yakashi Kabuto treated me to ramen, he went on a mission to Rock Village. I remember that guy." Hadake Kakashi recalled the person who insisted on paying. Hadake Kakashi had never seen Akihara Kagura so dejected and softly comforted him. "It seems you two had a good relationship. That person named Yakashi Kabuto must be safe and sound in Rock Village." "Not really." Akihara Kagura shook his head and sighed deeply. "The main thing is that I've always wanted to kill him. I couldn't do it in the village, so I had to take the opportunity during this trip to the land of Earth. How can I kill him if Lord Danzo doesn't tell me his contact information?" "Don't think about killing a fellow villager." Hadake Kakashi's forehead twitches, regretting his attempt to comfort Akihara Kagura, and he helplessly massages his forehead. "You are no longer a member of the Root. You are an Ambu ninja. Correct your thoughts quickly." This time, Shimura Danzo actually did a good thing. Don't make contact with spy members on your own. Without the permission of our superiors, we cannot casually make contact with members of the spy department, lest we expose their identities and put them in danger. Hadake Kakashi then remembered the surname Yakashi, asking, "Speaking of which, the surname Yakashi seems familiar. What is the relationship between Yakashi Kabuto and Yakashi Nano? You should know by the name." Akihara Kagura looked at Hadake Kakashi speechlessly. "Of course, Yakashi Kabuto, like me, was an orphan adopted by the Dean Yakashi Nano." "You, this guy." Hadake Kakashi felt the way he spoke was rather breathless, massaging his forehead again. "Since you both are children from the orphanage, why do you always think about killing him? Did he bully you in the orphanage when you were younger?" Akihara Kagura shook his head and said solemnly, "To allow Yakashi Kabuto to leave Root, Dean Yakashi Nano accepted Lord Danzo's request and stayed in Root, unable to leave, and also carried out dangerous spy missions outside." In front of Hadake Kakashi, Akihara Kagura updated his own character script. "To enable Dean Yakashi Nano to leave the dangerous work of Root, it's simpler to kill Yakashi Kabuto, eliminating the person that ties the Dean Yakashi Nano to Root." Although the script is different, but the ultimate outcome will surely converge. After all, presenting oneself as someone consumed by jealousy to the point of madness in front of Hadake Kakashi does not align with one's image, and might even impact Hadake Kakashi's favorable impression of oneself. If one day Hadake Kakashi were to share this script with Yakashi Kabuto or Yakashi Nano, it wouldn't matter, because the outcome of the script is certain not to change, and it might even increase Yakashi Kabuto and Yakashi Nano's favorable impression of oneself. "I actually think Yakashi Kabuto is quite friendly towards you." Hadake Kakashi frowned, sensing that the situation was not simple, and boldly speculated, "Is there a possibility that Shimura Danzo could use you or Yakashi Nano to threaten Yakashi Kabuto, use Yakashi Kabuto to threaten Yakashi Nano, and use Yakashi Nano to threaten you?" Akihara Kagura suddenly fell silent. How could Hadake Kakashi come up with such an idea, even considering a logical loop that actually fits well with Shimura Danzo's character? Don't be influenced by Danzo's thoughts, always wanting to kill in an extreme manner. After Hadake Kakashi summarized, he instructed, "Let's pack up. We're leaving for the land of Earth tomorrow." "Understood." After parting with Hadake Kakashi, Akihara Kagura suddenly spoke up. "Hey, oi, go keep an eye on Uchiha Itachi, see what he talks about with Lord Danzo." "Understood." White Zetsu Oi quickly popped up his head, then quickly submerged again, at the root base. Uchiha Itachi knelt on one knee before Shimura Danzo. "You should know what we want you to do, right?" Shimura Danzo narrowed his eyes, slowly continuing. "Over the years, thanks to your father, peace between Konoha and the Uchiha has been maintained. However, this is not a long-term solution for Konoha and the Uchiha. The Uchiha clan has been granted a high degree of autonomy by the village. We need an informant to intervene in the hostile attitudes between the Uchiha and Konoha, and to eliminate those who pose a danger to the relationship between Konoha and the Uchiha. The path of a spy is destined to be dark." Shimura Danzo looked down at Uchiha Itachi and continued, "Itachi, to protect the peace between Konoha and the Uchiha in the darkness, one must have an extremely resilient will, ready to sacrifice everything, even oneself, at any moment. Have you really thought this through?" "Yes." Uchiha Itachi's attitude was very firm. As he grew older, Uchiha Itachi became aware of the conflict between the Uchiha clan and Konoha, and like Uchiha Shisui, he was also seeking peaceful solutions. This time, being recommended to join the Anbu by Shimura Danzo was a huge opportunity for him, even allowing direct access to the higher-ups of Konoha. If we're talking about sacrifice, Uchiha Itachi never cared about making sacrifices. Then let me see. Shimura Danzo took out a list from his hand and handed it to Uchiha Itachi. This is the list of spy personnel and contact codes for Rock Village. Yes, Uchiha Itachi took it with his hand. Itachi, this is an assessment for you. Shimura Danzo then took out 3 sealed scrolls. Pointing to the blue scroll, he said, "Give this blue scroll to Yakushi Nano. This is her last mission in the route." Shimura Danzo pointed to the red scroll, continuing his instructions. "Give this red scroll to Yakushi Kabuto. Inside are the missions he is to carry out." Uchiha Itachi nodded, indicating he had noted it down. Uchiha Itachi was somewhat puzzled. Could this assessment really be so simple? And this blue scroll? Shimura Danzo looked down at Uchiha Itachi, his gaze faintly exuding a chill, as if observing Uchiha Itachi's thoughts. Yes! Uchiha Itachi quickly bowed his head. Was the real content of the assessment coming? Shimura Danzo's speaking pace gradually slowed down. "Itachi, this blue scroll is your assessment. After you return, come and tell me if you still have the determination to sacrifice everything for the future of Konoha and the Uchiha." Yes! Uchiha Itachi thought that nothing was a problem. The only problem was probably another teammate in the squad. "By the way, Lord Danzo." After receiving the scrolls, Uchiha Itachi expressed his doubts. "Why kick Kagura-kun out of the route? Because I joined the route, Kagura-kun had to leave, and he has always been very hostile towards me." Shimura Danzo's expression turned somewhat unpleasant. Was it his own desire to kick him out? That was forcefully snatched from my own hands by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Now I can't even make private contact with Akihara Kagura, and not long ago, Sarutobi Hiruzen even issued a specific ban against me, prohibiting any private contact with Akihara Kagura. Shimura Danzo thought of the kid, Akihara Kagura, and felt a slight sense of relief in his heart, thinking that he still had a chance to use Akihara Kagura. Unfortunately, this opportunity is hard to find now. Don't mind these. After shaking his head, Shimura Danzo seemed to think of something and suddenly said, "Right, you need to keep a close watch on Akihara Kagura and the team. Kagura has the wood-release Kekkei Genkai within him, making him an extremely powerful ninja for Konoha and also an extremely dangerous person. Most importantly, Akihara Kagura is an outsider I brought back. This must not be known to others. This is the secret I can use to forever control Akihara Kagura." Uchiha Itachi hesitated and then nodded. At this moment, Uchiha Itachi understood the sorrow of a spy. Even the teammates he would spend every day with in the future must be watched as if they were enemies. In the future, he might even have to watch his own clan members. Beneath the ground, another spy, however, did not feel sorrowful. "Why do I always feel like Shimura Danzo has discovered me recently?" White Zetsu Oi shivered from time to time, hurriedly moving beneath the ground. Could Shimura Danzo's perception be so sharp? I can't carry out such dangerous missions anymore. White Zetsu Oi quickly moved back to Akihara Kagura's side as if he had discovered something tremendously joyful. "Uchiha Itachi is here to monitor you. Konoha has never trusted you. Danzo's perception is too sharp. I might have been discovered by him. Kagura, when do you plan to defect from Konoha to Akatsuki?" "I've guessed as much already." Akihara Kagura rubbed his temples, finding it boring to always observe White Zetsu using the ninja in the shadow. "Tell me everything you know." "Let me see first. If this White Zetsu named Oi is hiding anything from me. Unless it involves Uchiha Abido and the Akatsuki, White Zetsu Oi wouldn't hide any information, revealing all the information exchanged between Uchiha Itachi and Shimura Danzo. Sorry." This White Zetsu named Oi, embodying the spirit of the best employee of the month, said with some self-reproach, "I haven't found out the secret of those 3 scrolls yet. They didn't talk about the secret of the scrolls. I only know 1 scroll belongs to the Dean Yakushi Kabuto, 1 scroll for Yakushi Nano, and the last scroll for Uchiha Itachi." "It's okay. I didn't expect you to be that outstanding." Akihara Kagura casually comforted it and continued, "First, go and look for Lord Orochimaru's whereabouts for me. When the time comes, I'll introduce you to Orochimaru and the Akatsuki organization so he can conduct a human experiment on you, allowing you to become even better. It doesn't matter if Uchiha Itachi is watching me." Akihara Kagura slowly tightened his grip on the Kusanagi sword that Orochimaru had given him. "When we return, my origin will no longer be a problem. Chapter 88, Meeting Orochimaru. The next day, at the break of dawn, the squad gathered at the entrance of the Konoha village. Uchiha Itachi, worried about his younger brother being petulant at their farewell, left home early and was even the first to arrive at the rendezvous point. "Which route shall we take to the land of Earth?" After asking, Akihara Kagura then suggested, "How about we go through the land of Rain? I heard there's still a civil war going on there, and we might even kill some people who are seeking death on our way." "Let's go through the land of Grass." Hatake Kakashi quickly made the decision. Even though Kakashi originally considered the route through the land of Rain, hearing Akihara Kagura's suggestion, he immediately changed to the peaceful route through the land of Grass. In the past, Kakashi might have felt sad when passing by the Kanabi Bridge in the land of Grass, because it was the final resting place of Uchiha Obaido. Now, with Uchiha Obaido still alive, Kakashi wouldn't feel sad, and it might even motivate him to work harder to bring Uchiha Obaido back to Konoha. Actually, going through the land of Rain is also an option. Uchiha Itachi actually agreed with Akihara Kagura's suggestion. Perhaps because he had received orders from Shimura Danzo yesterday to monitor Akihara Kagura, Itachi felt somewhat guilty towards his teammate. Even his actions when looking at Akihara Kagura were somewhat cautious. This is what a novice in espionage looks like, even feeling a bit of shame and guilt while surveilling. Why would you agree with Kagura's suggestion? Hatake Kakashi looked at Uchiha Itachi with some surprise. "Itachi, with your sensibilities, you should know that the land of Grass is the most suitable route for us." Uchiha Itachi pondered how to respond. "Hee." Akihara Kagura sneered, stepping in to help Itachi out of the awkward situation. "Perhaps he feels guilty for stealing my life. Did Lord Danzo promise you yesterday that he would hand over the route to you in the future?" Uchiha Itachi's expression immediately became strange. "What is all this mess? Shimura Danzo had no such intention at all. He just wanted me to be a spy. It's not. There's nothing." Uchiha Itachi helplessly shook his head, continuing, "I just asked Lord Danzo yesterday, and Lord Danzo did not show any intention of letting you return to the route. There's no need to hide it from me." Akihara Kagura sneered mockingly and said, "If you feel sorry for me, then when you take over Lord Danzo's position in the future, give me the position of the leader of the route. Behave yourself." Hatake Kakashi reached out and knocked on the back of Akihara Kagura's head, then turned to Uchiha Itachi and said, "Don't listen to this guy's nonsense. When you become the leader of the route in the future, just allowing Yakashi Nano and Yakashi Kabuto to leave the route will be enough." Uchiha Itachi widened his eyes in surprise. He had only heard these two names last night. They were the two intelligence department members he needed to contact in the Rock Village. Last night, Shimura Danzo gave him 3 scrolls, 2 of which were to be delivered to Yakashi Kabuto and Yakashi Nano, the 2 intelligence department members. What is their relationship with Akihara Kagura? They are. Uchiha Itachi was curious about the relationship between these two and Akihara Kagura. Hatake Kakashi glanced at Akihara Kagura, who was silent, and seeing that he seemed to have no objection, continued, "One is the dean of the orphanage that took in Akihara Kagura, and the other is a friend of Akihara Kagura in the orphanage. Yakashi Kabuto and I are not friends. It's almost as I said." Hatake Kakashi shrugged indifferently, somewhat pleased that Akihara Kagura no longer mentioned killing Yakashi Kabuto, and continued, "So, when you take over Danzo's position in the future, you can allow them to leave the route." No. Uchiha Itachi hurriedly waved his hands to clarify. "Lord Danzo has never intended to hand over the position of the route's leader to me. He just entrusted me with the task of contacting the intelligence members." There was nothing secret about this matter, because Hatake Kakashi and Akihara Kagura both knew that Shimura Danzo had definitely taught Uchiha Itachi how to contact the intelligence department members, as this was an order directly given by Sarutobi Hiruzen. As for the assessment he secretly received, it could not be disclosed. Uchiha Itachi recalled the assessment content he saw on the last scroll last night, which was to kill a person who would appear in the land of Earth at a certain time and place, guessing that he might have to kill an enemy affecting the undercover intelligence members. Sooner or later. Akihara Kagura shook his head indifferently and sincerely advised, "I really don't understand where Lord Danzo thinks you excel. Your strength is not even as strong as mine. You'd better wise up and leave the route sooner rather than later, and it's best to stay away from Lord Danzo." "I will do my best." Uchiha Itachi rejected his advice. This teammate would never understand the situation he was facing. Uchiha Itachi would never leave the route. He was looking for a hope to maintain peace between the Uchiha and Konoha. "All right, it's time to set off." Hade Kakashi felt that Akihara Kagura's words were somewhat sarcastic. However, Hade Kakashi also believed that Uchiha Itachi really should consider keeping a distance from Shimura Danzo, but unfortunately, such matters were not for him, a mere ambush squad leader, to decide. Throughout their journey, the Land of Fire seemed incredibly peaceful. What was odd, though, was that they occasionally saw more and more pedestrians on the road. The closer this squad got to the Land of Grass, the more pedestrians they encountered. Among these pedestrians, there were even families with children. What's happening? The Land of Grass has been invaded. After some investigation, Uchiha Itachi found the answer. The Land of Grass had invaded a small village, which, unable to withstand the Land of Grass, hired the Taketori clan to counterattack the Land of Grass, plunging the entire Land of Grass into war. The Taketori clan has always been belligerent, lacking wisdom from top to bottom, liking to wander in the ninja world, occasionally acting as mercenaries, never caring about any major village's stance, not even taking orders from the Mist Village seriously. Another war? Hade Kakashi shook his head and sighed. I thought we could avoid the war in the Land of Rain, but it seems we can't escape the flames of war after all. Hade Kakashi did not want to be involved in the war and instructed softly, let's be careful to pass through, hiding by day and moving by night to avoid attracting more attention. This is not something we can decide. Akihara Kagura shrugged, believing that their journey through the Land of Grass might not be peaceful, especially since he was planning to stay in the Land of Grass for a while. To avoid detection, Hade Kakashi decided to have the squad hide by day and move by night, taking routes through secluded forests as much as possible to avoid being discovered by the Taketori clan or the Grass Ninjas. Morning. The sun had just risen. Hade Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi rested at their camp. Akihara Kagura was in good spirits, insisting on going fishing by the river, which did not arouse suspicion from the two because this teammate really liked fishing. Fortunately, they did not suspect anything. Otherwise, Akihara Kagura might have had to resort to some means to have Orochimaru kidnap Uchiha Itachi and lead Hade Kakashi away directly. According to White Zetsuoi's reconnaissance, Orochimaru was nearby, by the river. A small white snake emerged. These small white snakes, possibly originating from the legendary Ryucha cave with strong sensory abilities, quickly sensed Akihara Kagura's chakra. SSSSS! The small white snake, having seen Akihara Kagura, quietly slithered into the bushes. At noon, a strange ripple suddenly appeared on the water's surface. The appearance of a long-haired man suddenly emerged on the surface of the water, his body slowly walking out from the water as if he was a creature of the water itself. Kagura! The long-haired man's lips curved into a slight smile as he gazed at the stunned Akihara Kagura, greeting him warmly. How have you been recently? Did you like the New Year's gift I gave you? Why aren't you speaking? Are you too excited to see me? Lord Orochimaru, Akihara Kagura almost instantly excitedly put down the fishing rod in his hands. There, no need to get excited. Orochimaru gently patted his head, his affectionate smile always carrying a hint of sinister terror. I was wondering when to contact you. The nearby white snakes sensed your chakra. It seems there's someone else's chakra here. Those two are Hade Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi. Akihara Kagura mentioned two names that brightened Orochimaru's eyes. Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi. Orochimaru's tongue slowly crept out, greedily licking his lips. Are they the experimental materials you brought me? Months had passed. Orochimaru really hasn't changed at all. Always think of people as experimental materials. Sooner or later it will bring disaster to you. However, let it be. After saying that, Orochimaru continued on his own. Although I've been in need of some sharingen recently, using those two as experimental materials would be too wasteful. Their death here would also cause you to arouse suspicion in Konoha. Yes, Akihara Kagura slowly nodded, speaking like a wanderer far from home. I've only entered Konoha not long ago and was sent to the ambush. Danzo abandoned me, and I've been trying to find a way to return to Route to monitor him, but Danzo won't allow me to go back. Heh. Orochimaru was already aware of this, his gaze revealing a hint of mockery. Danzo wouldn't want to give up your power. It's probably not that Danzo won't let you go back, but rather your talent caught the attention of my teacher, Hiruzen, who forcefully transferred you from Route to the ambush. Speaking of his teacher, Orochimaru couldn't help but fall back into his old habit of always mentioning his teacher during conversations, beginning to criticize his own teacher with a sneer. Wanting to possess great power, yet stubbornly clinging to the honor of the Hokage, unwilling to make sacrifices, only choosing to plunder the achievements of others, yet casting the sins upon others. Akihara Kagura could only listen quietly and cautiously spoke, "But I have not completed the surveillance task Lord Orochimaru entrusted to me." "No." Orochimaru reached out, caressing Akihara Kagura, and said with a smile, "You have done better than I imagined. I already know about it, like the incident in the Mist Village. That technique is very powerful." This was something Orochimaru had not anticipated. Although Orochimaru believed in Akihara Kagura's extraordinary talent in wood release, he did not expect this kid to be strong enough to use the wood dragon technique, which was said to be used only by the first Hokage. As for Shimura Danzo, his matter is of no importance. That greedy coward wouldn't dare to betray my alliance. Orochimaru looked at Akihara Kagura and continued, "The purpose of sending you to Konoha was merely to allow you to learn more wood release ninjutsu. Unexpectedly, you learned powerful wood-release techniques and even infiltrated the Konoha Anbu. Since you have entered the Anbu, stay there," Orochimaru said with a smile. "After all, I cannot change bodies yet. If you stay undercover, you can help me gather more information." Orochimaru spread his hands, somewhat indulged in his own masterpiece. "My teacher would never imagine that a genius ninja seen as the future of Konoha is actually a perfect creation from my hands." "Yes." Akihara Kagura nodded, first glancing at his reward and new mission. System prompt: go to Konoha to find Orochimaru's ally Shimura Danzo, learn wood-release ninjutsu, and monitor the alliance between Orochimaru and Shimura Danzo. Completed. Reward: Orochimaru-style sword technique. Orochimaru-style sword technique, originating from Orochimaru's swordsmanship, known for its sinister and tricky reputation, ranks among the top in the ninja world's swordsmanship, capable of competing with masters of the sword. System prompt: new task: infiltrate Konoha's Anbu and gather information for Orochimaru. This sword technique reward is somewhat inconvenient to use. After all, Orochimaru is no ordinary person, and many can recognize his swordsmanship. Akihara Kagura is very satisfied with his reward and begins to present some of the difficulties he has encountered. "If I can do more for Lord Orochimaru in the future, I am willing to continue staying undercover in the Anbu. But it's very inconvenient in the Konoha Anbu. It's always hard to act alone. Even trying to contact Lord Orochimaru is inconvenient." Akihara Kagura was saying this, intending to signal White Zetsuoi to come out and introduce the Akatsuki organization to Orochimaru, but Orochimaru suddenly interrupted him. "I have already considered this point." Orochimaru couldn't help but laugh, feeling somewhat proud of his foresight. "I had noticed a young man from the route long ago, initially planning to use him as a spy hidden within Konoha to help me unearth the talents of Konoha. I never expected you to outperform him." "Just right. In the future, he can help you convey intelligence." Orochimaru mentioned the person's name with a smile. "That young one is called Yakashi Kabuto, who might still be dreaming that hard work will someday free him and his foster mother from the root. These ignorant people, they simply do not understand the despicableness of Shimura Danzo. That guy would never let any spy live, even going as far as to end the lives of that young man and the poor woman in a cruel manner." Orochimaru slowly clenched his fist, his smile gradually turning proud, seemingly believing that Yakashi Kabuto couldn't escape his grasp. "Once Shimura Danzo makes a move and the young man discovers the cruel truth, I will take him away from Shimura Danzo's hands, then have him infiltrate Konoha again to help you transmit intelligence." "Actually," Akihara Kagura felt somewhat embarrassed, whispering, "when I was transferred to the Anbu, Shimura Danzo arranged an identity for me, that of a child from the Konoha orphanage. That's not surprising. Shimura Danzo probably wouldn't arrange any other identity." Orochimaru nodded with a smile, seeming very satisfied with Akihara Kagura's identity. "It's a wonderful coincidence. When I eventually recruit that young one, Yakashi Kabuto, I can have him solidify that identity for you." "I have met Yakashi Kabuto." Akihara Kagura seemed even more embarrassed, continuing in a low voice, "Yakashi Kabuto should probably believe that I'm a child from the orphanage now, right?" "Yakashi Kabuto believes you're a child from the orphanage." Orochimaru frowned, starting to ponder. Could it be that this identity arranged by Shimura Danzo is flawless? If even Yakashi Kabuto hasn't spotted any flaws, it's unlikely anyone else in Konoha will. It seems Shimura Danzo has some use after all. "Yes." Akihara Kagura breathed a sigh of relief, first casting this blame onto Shimura Danzo, before continuing. "I interacted with Yakashi Kabuto according to the identity he arranged for me, and so far there haven't been any flaws. Shimura Danzo plans to find an opportunity in the future to kill both Yakashi Kabuto and Yakashi Nano, thinking that would eliminate any future trouble." This wasn't really a lie by Akihara Kagura. After all, Shimura Danzo had mentioned before that Yakashi Nano and Yakashi Kabuto were still useful for the time being and couldn't be killed, which means Shimura Danzo definitely had a plan to kill them. Perhaps the plan was already being prepared. Shimura Danzo is a bit too extreme. Orochimaru shook his head, disdainful of Shimura Danzo's philosophy. A person's life is only once. Some people are more useful alive than dead. Yakashi Kabuto is a clever medical ninja. Even his learning ability is quite remarkable. Shimura Danzo failed to recognize Yakashi Kabuto's strengths and did not pay attention to how to utilize people, always believing that killing could solve all problems. Kagura, do not pick up his faults. Akihara Kagura slowly nodded. Chapter 89, Fishing not literally but literally. Anyways, it's philosophical. Akihara Kagura does not consider himself extreme. A child raised by Orochimaru from a young age, it would be strange if his personality were normal. As a child nurtured by Orochimaru, as a former subordinate of Shimura Danzo, and as the future cornerstone of the Akatsuki organization, Akihara Kagura's personality must become extreme. Akihara Kagura must become even more extreme than them. Only in this way would these superiors not dare to assign him some important and arduous tasks, lest Akihara Kagura causes upheaval while carrying out his duties. Are you heading to the Rock Village? Orochimaru, aware of the commotion Uchiha Abaido caused in the Rock Village, understood the purpose of this team's configuration. Are you investigating information on Uchiha Abaido? This route is the necessary path to the land of Earth. Orochimaru is well aware that Konoha, from top to bottom, does not wish for another war and naturally would not interfere in the war of the land of grass. If Konoha were to interfere first, it might provoke other major ninja villages to get involved. Yes, Akihara Kagura nodded, mentioning the origin of this matter. Because Captain Kakashi discovered that his teammate Uchiha Abaido had come back to life, he has been tracking Uchiha Abaido's whereabouts, wanting to bring Uchiha Abaido back to Konoha. What a fool! Orochimaru's expression darkened. Orochimaru thought of his own experiences during this period and felt a kind of empathy for the bond between Uchiha Abaido and Hajime Kakashi. After defecting from Konoha, his former friend Jiraiya had been tirelessly tracking his whereabouts, earnestly trying to bring him back to Konoha. Although Jiraiya had not caused any significant harm, he would always inexplicably infiltrate the laboratory, disrupting Orochimaru's experimental research. HMPH! Orochimaru snorted coldly, very dissatisfied with such behavior. When will these fools realize that what they are doing is futile? Is that person named Jiraiya still causing trouble for Lord Orochimaru? Akihara Kagura knew Orochimaru was cursing Jiraiya, seemingly inadvertently steering the conversation towards the Akatsuki organization. I have found a way to deal with the trouble caused by Jiraiya. Somebody from an organization discovered my would-release Kekkei Genkai, secretly infiltrated Konoha to recruit me, claiming they could help solve the problem of Lord Orochimaru being pursued by Jiraiya. Oh, what organization? Orochimaru's gaze immediately sharpened. Orochimaru did not care whether the other party could solve the Jiraiya issue, but was concerned about the organization that attempted to recruit and deceive his future vessel. Akatsuki. Akihara Kagura became somewhat spirited, seriously recommending this future major villainous organization of the ninja world to Orochimaru. Uchiha Abaido is a member of Akatsuki, always claiming to be the de facto leader of the organization. An organization founded by Uchiha Abaido. Orochimaru immediately lost interest in the Akatsuki organization. Although Uchiha Abaido caused storms in the ninja world, utilizing the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, to control the Mist Village and even recently stirred up some trouble in the Rock Village. But this is an organization of younger generation rogue ninjas from Konoha. Uchiha Abaido's infiltration into Konoha was detected, and his conspiracies were thwarted by Konoha repeatedly. It seemed like a young man getting arrogant with a more powerful Sharingan. Orochimaru believed he could cause a bigger commotion in the ninja world with just a little effort compared to Uchiha Abaido. It's just that he preferred experimental research over causing disturbances. Akihara Kagura immediately saw Orochimaru's lack of interest. Now, Uchiha Abaido being used as the face of the Akatsuki organization, his fame and status seemed too low, even lowering the organization's tone. This shows the importance of having a notable figure in an organization, even if they're not actually useful. A name alone can attract people. Perhaps the Uchiha name could deceive those with little insight, but Orochimaru, an S-rank rogue ninja from Konoha, is all too familiar with the affairs of the Uchiha clan. Those red-eyed folks couldn't even handle the challenges from Shimura Danzo. No need to bother with that organization anymore. Orochimaru didn't care, his narrow eyes showing a dangerous look. that Uchiha Obito has discovered your true identity. I'll find time to gather information on the Akatsuki organization and Uchiha Obito to completely eliminate him, to prevent him from causing you any trouble in the future, perhaps even obtaining a Mangekyou Sharingan as an experimental subject. But Akihara Kagiura felt his superior was somewhat arrogant, trying to salvage the situation. The organization's ability to gather information is excellent. They even found out I'm under Orochimaru, and my fight with Uchiha Obito, his abilities are also very strange. I worry that a conflict with them could trouble Lord Orochimaru. Kagiura. Orochimaru affectionately patted his shoulder, interrupting him with a light laugh. I will handle this matter. What you need to do now is to stay in Konoha and train well. Orochimaru was somewhat impatient, as in the future when he needed to change bodies, he planned to take over Akihara Kagiura's body to give his old teacher, Hiruzen, a huge surprise. All right. Akihara Kagiura lowered his head somewhat helplessly. Don't worry about me. Orochimaru could understand the kid's concern for him, smiling to soothe his subordinate's emotions. Jiraiya poses no threat to me at all. Orochimaru couldn't stay long. After assigning all tasks to Akihara Kagiura, he quietly left. After his superior left, Akihara Kagiura watched his figure disappear completely, then slowly said, "Did you hear that? Oi, Lord Orochimaru doesn't want to join the Akatsuki. Then let's beat him up." White Zetsuoi's upper body slowly emerged from the ground. We probably don't need to intervene. Akihara Kagiura leisurely sat down, picked up his fishing rod again, rebaited the hook, tightened the line, and cast the bait. Orochimaru will take the initiative to approach the Akatsuki organization. In time, we will know whether Orochimaru or the Akatsuki organization is more worthy of our allegiance. Are we going to do nothing? White Zetsuoi's thoughts gradually aligned with Akihara Kagiura's. Do you like to work? Akihara Kagiura asked in return. No, White Zetsuoi quickly shook his head. Although I don't know what else I should do, who would want to go out and work when they can lie comfortably underground? Akihara Kagiura began to explain his theory. Then do you believe that, regardless of whether we inform Uchiha Obito about this matter, Orochimaru and the Akatsuki organization are bound to clash? So why should we bother? Why waste our time and chakra? You're right. White Zetsuoi quickly nodded. Go to Rock Village. Keep an eye on Yakashi Kabuto for me. Akihara Kagiura took out a photo from his pocket. Although White Zetsuoi did not find out about the 3 scrolls Uchiha Itachi obtained from Shimura Danzo, Akihara Kagiura could roughly understand from their interactions that Shimura Danzo was likely to make a move on Yakashi Kabuto and Yakashi Nano. At this moment, sending White Zetsuoi to watch Yakashi Kabuto and to see if Yakashi Kabuto has contacted Yakashi Nano and whether Yakashi Nano has completely forgotten himself as a child of the orphanage. No. I'm not a child from the orphanage at all. That was just a story I made up. Akihara Kagiura quickly shook his head. Whether he was a child from the orphanage in the future depended on Yakashi Nano, wondering if the orphanage dean would experience any memory distortion because of his story. Go watch Yakashi Kabuto. Akihara Kagiura narrowed his eyes and said softly, I want to see how he's doing now, to see if he's been in contact with anyone recently. Maybe something interesting will happen to Yakashi Kabuto soon. Okay. I love watching interesting events. White Zetsuoi happily took the photo, having already eavesdropped on Yakashi Kabuto's affairs, and grinned, expressing his hobby. I and my original self love to observe the stories happening in the ninja world. The photo was of Yakashi Kabuto. This photo of Kabuto was actually tricked out of his hands by Akihara Kagiura. Now, taking it out just lets White Zetsuoi know his target. The fishing rod on the river's surface trembled. Akihara Kagiura quickly pulled up the fishing rod, and a fish about the length of an arm hung on the hook, constantly swinging back and forth on the hook. The energy in the ninja world is abundant, and there are many big fish in the river. This fish is not considered very big in the ninja world, and perhaps it still has a long time to grow, but at this moment it was caught by Akihara Kagiura. However, Akihara Kagiura had no intention of letting it go. Good luck! With a composure that did not match his outward age, Akihara Kagiura carefully removed the fish. A fish that's been hooked can't be allowed to get wounded by the hook again. Kabuto is that fish. White Zetsuoi, looking at the photo of Kabuto, didn't quite understand Akihara Kagiura's idea. This fish doesn't seem to have anything special about it, just an ordinary person, right? Some fish, well, grow big once you raise them. Akihara Kagiura patiently lectured White Zetsuoi, then continued, For now, we'll throw this fish into Orochimaru's pond, and everyone will raise it for a while. Akihara Kagiura hummed, a hint of confidence shining in his youthful eyes. But this fish swallowed my bait, and after it grows up, it must belong to us. Then I'm off. White Zetsuoi quickly sank into the ground. Let's go, I'll fish for a while longer. Akihara Kagura leisurely rebaited the hook and cast the line, the hook tracing a beautiful arc into the river. The resources in the ninja world are really abundant. Too many fish getting hooked. There's not even enough time to bait them. White Zetsu is starting to bite at empty hooks. Chapter 90. I will not leave the darkness, for it allows more people in the ninja world to bask in the light. This is my ninja way. At dusk, Hatake, Kakashi, and Uchiha Itachi woke up, because there had been people walking around the campsite. They then saw Akihara Kagura wandering back and forth dizzily because the boy was carrying a wooden spike on his shoulder, hanging a big fish that was almost as tall as him. Woke up! Akihara Kagura lifted the big fish on his shoulder with effort, curiously asking, "How did you know I caught a fish that weighs 200 to 300 pounds? You this guy?" Hade Kakashi touched his forehead with his hand, recalling this kid's passion for fishing, and managed to compliment. "Catching such a big fish is really impressive. Not bad, not bad." Akihara Kagura then put the fish down, putting on a modest expression on his young face. "Luck wasn't very good today, only caught 20 or 30 fish, and specially kept the biggest one to show you guys. I'll grill it." Uchiha Itachi took the initiative to start a fire beside. After dinner, the squad continued their journey as the sky gradually darkened, until they finally reached a checkpoint they had to get through. Kanabi Bridge. This is a necessary passage from the Land of Grass to the Land of Earth. Due to the importance of this location, the Land of Grass dispatched numerous ninja troops for defense, relying on the dense forests nearby, while the Takatori clan, naturally warlike and fierce, fearlessly charged at the Land of Grass's positions continuously. The Takatori clan, known throughout the ninja world. This clan is also known as the Kaguya clan. The Kaguya clan possesses a miraculous Kekkei Genkai that allows them to freely manipulate their bones to grow as weapons for fighting, and even shoot bones from their bodies as hidden weapons. Even as the sky darkened, these war fanatics showed no fear, even taking advantage of the night to launch sneak attacks, making the ninjas of the Land of Grass extremely anxious. When will they stop fighting? Uchiha Itachi, looking at the bodies lying at the edge of the forest, showed a hint of pity in his eyes. The war should have stopped long ago. It's simple. Akihara Kagura made a very reasonable suggestion. If we kill them all, their war will stop. Isn't that too extreme? Uchiha Itachi was at a loss for words. This is the battlefield, don't act rashly. Hade Kakashi's expression immediately turned serious, and he cautioned, "Kagura, never underestimate the threats that can emerge anywhere on the battlefield." Recalling his own experiences on the battlefield as a young child, Kakashi sighed, "A single shuriken, a single explosive tag can claim the lives of genius ninjas. Even the strongest, like the third Reikage, could not escape the fate of dying on the battlefield." Akihara Kagura slowly nodded in agreement. Indeed, such situations had occurred on battlefields in the past. However, the future warfare of the ninja world would be different. If the enemy's strength was too terrifying, it would be natural for tens of thousands to be defeated by a single person. As the day turned to evening, the situation on the battlefield finally changed. Perhaps due to the inability to break through the defenses of the Land of Grass, or perhaps because the darkness of night made it impossible to continue fighting, the Takatori clan had no choice but to withdraw from the battle. The Land of Grass won this defensive battle with difficulty, leaving only a dense group of grass ninjas in the forest, indistinguishable as either corpses or wounded. "Let's go, let's bypass them." Hatake Kakashi relied on his memory to search for a way out. As this small team quietly passed by, the urgent voices of the grass ninja captains echoed through the forest. "There are many injured here. Quickly have the medical unit bring that woman over. The hospital has reported over. That woman was bitten to death last night. Don't panic, everyone hold on. I remember she has a daughter. The logistics department will soon bring that little kid over. That woman has a daughter. That little kid is also of the Uzumaki clan. Biting her blood can heal everyone's wounds as well." Crack! Suddenly, the sound of breaking branches echoed through the forest. While the injured grass ninjas were still noisy, a few with sharp ears heard the sound of branches breaking not far away. "There's someone in the forest! The enemy hasn't completely left!" The group of grass ninjas quickly panicked again. On a large tree in the forest, Hade Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi turned their heads in astonishment, seeing Akihara Kagura, who had accidentally broken a branch, seemingly not expecting Kagura to make such a basic mistake. The principles of stealth. It is a must-learn course for a ninja. Hasn't Kagura properly learned these? Who is this guy's leading jonin? It seems like he really hasn't been taught, and he doesn't seem to have any leading jonin either. It must have been the ANBU squad leader who taught him all this. "Captain Kakashi, don't worry. Akihara Kagura's face was very calm, as if he hadn't made any mistakes at all. Soon there won't be any living person who knows we passed through here. Hey, Kagura! Hade Kakashi immediately understood his meaning. A ferocious chakra suddenly burst forth from Akihara Kagura, sweeping across the entire forest in an instant and startling everyone within. The trees in the forest seemed to come alive all at once. Vines and roots swiftly moved through the forest, piercing through the panic-stricken grass ninjas, turning them all into corpses. Was there really a need for this? Uchiha Itachi smelled the sudden thick scent of blood in the forest. As a ninja, Uchiha Itachi had long been prepared to kill enemies, but he had never thought killing could be this easy, with just one ninjutsu capable of killing hundreds. These grass ninjas had just gone through a war, most of them were wounded, and even if they noticed the presence of this small squad, they couldn't pose any hindrance to them. They made a mistake. When Akihara Kagura said this, he acted like a demon devoid of humanity, coldly stating, "Their ears were too sensitive, accidentally hearing the sound of me stepping on a branch. That's the mistake they made." Making a mistake means they had to find a way to make amends, and for a big mistake, they had to pay with their lives. Uchiha Itachi shook his head, no longer trying to argue. Because Itachi knew Akihara Kagura was an extremist in his actions, but he hadn't expected his teammate to be extreme to this extent. This time, it was originally a minor mistake made by Akihara Kagura, but to cover up their tracks, he recklessly killed people, and here he is, blaming the grass ninjas for their own mistakes. ANBU, is this how they all are, or is it just Akihara Kagura who is so reckless? This was the first time Hade Kakashi saw Akihara Kagura kill so indiscriminately. Perhaps those grass ninjas couldn't be considered innocent, but they were far from being their enemies. Hade Kakashi looked very upset. He did not like ninjas who indulge in killing and lose their humanity. Such ninjas are always prone to stray from the right path. From now on, do not take such actions on your own. Hade Kakashi's voice was somewhat heavy, seemingly very unaccustomed to seeing the cruel and extreme side of his protege. There was no need to cause such a big commotion, nor was there a need to kill so many people. You also violated the ANBU's code. I will adhere to it next time. Akihara Kagura showed great respect to his superior, a trace of fear slowly appearing on his face. By the way, Captain Kakashi, by killing these grass ninja, I'm sure I'll leave traces of wood release jutsu behind. Perhaps they might hold a grudge against me. We'll burn the bodies here. Hade Kakashi frowned at him. Akihara Kagura raised his palm, stating his reasoning. But I've heard if wild grass is not completely burned, it will sprout again in spring. Given that this is the land of grass, should we not eradicate them completely? Hade Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi's eyes widened suddenly. This guy, want to kill even more? Our purpose is to carry out the mission. Hade Kakashi shook his head, firmly stopping Akihara Kagura. The land of grass and the grass village have always respected Konoha. We should not provoke enemies lightly. Perhaps because of Akihara Kagura's reckless killing, Kakashi's attitude towards him suddenly turned cold. We're still in a state of war, Akihara Kagura. Do you realize how much trouble it would bring to the Konoha if our ninja rashly meddled in the wars of small countries? A new great ninja war. Akihara Kagura was very calm. Hade Kakashi suddenly found himself at a loss for words, almost forgetting this extreme kid who thinks about war every day, wishing to kill on the battlefield. Maybe it's because Akihara Kagura has behaved too much like a well-mannered junior in Konoha lately, making Kakashi gradually forget the first impression he had of him. This child was raised by Shimura Danzo from a young age to be a killing tool. How could he possibly come to value life after such a short time? Don't forget our mission, no more complications. Hade Kakashi turned to Uchiha Itachi, speaking in a deep voice. Itachi, gather all the bodies for cremation, then burn down this forest, erasing any traces that might have been left by wood release ninja. Yes, Uchiha Itachi immediately responded. Captain Kakashi. Akihara Kagura, watching Uchiha Itachi going to collect the bodies, suddenly called out to Hade Kakashi, who was about to head elsewhere. Don't rush, let's stay here a bit longer. What else do you want to do? Hade Kakashi's brow was still furrowed. Aren't you curious why I killed these grass ninja? Akihara Kagura smiled and suddenly brought up the people mentioned by those grass ninjas before their deaths. Those grass ninjas were still making a fuss before dying, asking their logistics to send up a little kid. Akihara Kagura looked at Hade Kakashi and continued, the land of grass has a little kid that can heal many people's injuries, possessing the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan. How so? Hade Kakashi frowned, somewhat puzzled. After the destruction of the Whirlpool village, the descendants of the Uzumaki clan were scattered around the world. It doesn't seem unusual for the grass village to have descendants of the Uzumaki clan, does it? The Konoha also has descendants of the Uzumaki clan. The wife of the first Hokage, Hashirama, was a princess of the Uzumaki clan, and their descendants also possessed the Uzumaki bloodline. Uzumaki Kushina, Kakashi's teacher, and the previous Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of the Konoha, her son Uzumaki Naruto is the current Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of the Konoha. The Konoha and the Uzumaki clan once had an alliance. However, this alliance ceased to exist after the destruction of the Whirlpool village, and even as time passed, the Konoha ninjas' attitude towards the Uzumaki descendants was almost indistinguishable from ordinary people. After all, the identity of these Uzumaki descendants was not noble. Moreover, with the ninja wars cycling repeatedly, the Konoha village signed countless alliances, yet few allies were willing to abide by them. Who would still care about that ancient alliance that had disappeared? Akihara Kagura shook his head and sighed softly. If that little kid really has the ability to heal quickly, in case we encounter some troublesome guy in the future, just by biting her, we could recover immediately. The Uzumaki clan's bloodline is not that miraculous. Hate Kakashi did not believe that was true. That little kid's mother was killed by the grass ninjas. Akihara Kagura mentioned this rather nonchalantly. This statement from Akihara Kagura sent a chill through Hate Kakashi's heart, and the way Akihara Kagura spoke made Kakashi feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Such a thing, such words. This kid could say such a cold-hearted thing. I think it's definitely useful. Akihara Kagura, stroking his chin, speculated. Otherwise, why would the grass ninjas kill her mother and still send her up here? Kakashi's heart grew colder. Let's just wait a bit longer then. Akihara Kagura leaped onto a tree and said leisurely, if that little kid really has that special ability, just send her to Lord Danzo's root division. The useless group at the root should have been eliminated long ago, and all should be replaced with individuals possessing special abilities. What if she doesn't? Hate Kakashi watched Akihara Kagura intently, seemingly wanting to understand this subordinate's attitude toward that child, to judge whether this subordinate's character was worth saving. Then send her to the Konoha orphanage. Akihara Kagura looked at Hate Kakashi in surprise and continued, Dean Yakashi Nano of the orphanage doesn't care whether those orphans have special abilities or not. Hate Kakashi rubbed his forehead. He almost forgot Akihara Kagura was also a child from the Konoha orphanage. It seems there might still be hope for this guy. Hate Kakashi sighed and continued, regardless of whether that child has any special abilities, send her to the Konoha orphanage, let her grow up safely. Akihara Kagura shook his head and continued, if she is sent to the orphanage, sooner or later she will be forced by Lord Danzo to join the root. Hate Kakashi felt he was at a deadlock. The Konoha orphanage has always been under the control of Shimura Danzo. Even the director of the orphanage has to work for the root, not to mention an ordinary child. Naruto is always all alone. Akihara Kagura seemed to casually suggest that little kid is also a descendant of the Uzumaki clan. Let two descendants of the Uzumaki stay together. We still have missions to carry out. Hate Kakashi raised his own concern. Akihara Kagura raised his hand and took out a beautifully crafted kunai, throwing it towards Hate Kakashi with such poor throwing technique that Kakashi caught it easily. Is this the Flying Thunder God technique? Hate Kakashi looked at the kunai he gave to Akihara Kagura, which bore a leaf symbol, the mark of the Flying Thunder God left by Akihara Kagura. All this Akihara Kagura seemed to have considered. Kagura! Hate Kakashi looked up at Akihara Kagura sitting in the tree. Kakashi suddenly felt this extremely temperamental subordinate had become a stranger to him, as if he was meeting him for the first time. Kagura, which one are you? The one who likes to kill is me. The one who likes to save is me. The one who likes fishing is me. Akihara Kagura extended his palm, looking at the moonlight falling through the gaps in the forest onto his palm. I will not leave the darkness, for it allows more people in the ninja world to bask in the light. This is my ninja way. Chapter 91. Karin, Dawn. The wind carried a tinge of blood. Akihara Kagura was dozing off against a tree. Hate Kakashi stood on the edge of the forest on alert, while Uchiha Itachi glanced at the hundreds of bodies of grass ninja piled up behind him. Since Hate Kakashi and Akihara Kagura had a talk, Kakashi understood more about Kagura and became more aware of the young one's outlook on life. Even though Akihara Kagura grew up beside Shimura Danzo, he still did not forget the innate kindness within humans, embodying a contradiction of extreme good and extreme evil. Hate Kakashi agreed to let Akihara Kagura stay here to wait for the grass ninja's reinforcements and the little girl who lost her mother. He also rejected Kagura's suggestion to destroy the grass village, as doing so would likely alarm the nearby land of Earth and bring trouble to Konoha. Moreover, Akihara Kagura even suggested they could pin the destruction of the grass village on Obaido Uchiha. Wasn't that going too far? Hadate Kakashi managed to persuade Akihara Kagura, believing that their destruction of Grass Village's main defensive line meant that the bloodthirsty Taketori clan could easily invade and annihilate the Grass Country, making any further trouble unnecessary. Captain Kakashi! Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but whisper, Captain Kakashi, all the bodies have been collected. When can we start the cremation? Last night, Uchiha Itachi and Hadate Kakashi had collected all the bodies, but they weren't in a hurry to destroy the evidence, which Itachi found strange. It's not time yet. Hadate Kakashi shook his head, looking at Akihara Kagura resting against the tree. There's another batch of bodies that hasn't arrived yet. They should be burned together. Another batch of bodies hasn't arrived. Uchiha Itachi looked up following Hadate Kakashi's gaze, looking at his teammate who was pretending to sleep, feeling a chill in his heart. Does this mean the bodies have arrived? Akihara Kagura's eyes suddenly opened. A group of grass ninjas rushed towards the forest quickly. Among them, a red-haired little girl, weak and barely able to run, fell to the ground, gasping for breath. Don't stop in places like this. But I've never been on a battlefield. This red-haired little girl, wearing glasses and looking about 6 or 7 years old, felt panic and fear. A grass ninja captain coldly looked back at Karin, not hiding his killing intent. Hurry up and follow us to support, otherwise I'll kill you. This group of grass ninja reinforcements quickly arrived at the forest, only to see the piled-up bodies of grass ninjas, feeling terrified. Who did this? All the defenders at the position are dead. Where is our enemy? In the forest. The little girl with red hair seemed to sense something, her face filled with panic as she looked towards the depths of the forest. There is a terrifying person in the forest. Although this little girl didn't know why she could see him, she could already feel a monstrous threat hiding in the forest, a terrifying figure. Her perception is quite excellent. A young man's voice came from within the forest. Who's there? The grass ninja team leader quickly turned his head. The next moment, a vine suddenly burst out of the ground. This vine was incredibly thick, instantly piercing through the body of the grass ninja squad leader. With the prelude's rise, countless vines and roots rapidly emerged, killing off this grass ninja support team. The little girl with red hair could only squat on the ground in terror, clutching her head, trying to use this behavior to cover her fear. However, these vines seemed to bear no malice towards her. The terrifying figure in the forest manipulated vine after vine to kill the grass ninjas, yet not a single vine harmed a hair on her head. The battle ended quickly. The grass ninjas, facing an unknown terrifying enemy, had no power to resist and quickly became cold corpses. After this grass ninja team was wiped out, the battlefield quickly quieted down, and after a while a rustling of footsteps was heard again. Prepare to burn the bodies. This was the voice of a young man. Yes! This was the voice of a teenager. Are you the little thing they spoke of? This was another young man's voice. The little girl with red hair lifted her head in fear, only to see the terrifying chakra within this teenager, the terrifying figure from the forest. It was this teenager who had killed all the grass ninjas here. I! The little girl with red hair had tears in her eyes, filled with fear. We are ninjas from Konoha. Akihara Kagura squatted in front of her, his face breaking into a sunny smile. Let me introduce myself. My name is Akihara Kagura. Killing is just a hobby. Fishing is my main hobby. My name is Karin. Karin dared not refuse to answer, shivering as she replied. Akihara Kagura tilted his head towards the forest. Those guys in the forest said before they died that you have a special ability where one can recover just by biting you? Yes. Karin's eyes filled with even more fear. Was this terrifying ninja who killed the grass ninja after her blood as well? Your ability is impressive, almost catching up to mine. After nodding in praise, Akihara Kagura continued. However, it seems they still don't know about your other ability, right? Since you saw me hiding in the forest, does that mean you can see enemies from a great distance away? Mine's Eye of the Kagura, the most powerful sensory technique in the ninja world. This name sounds a bit like Akihara Kagura's exclusive ability. But it is actually a unique ability of the Uzumaki clan, and only those with a high purity of Uzumaki bloodline have a chance to awaken it. Besides being able to sense anomalies within tens of kilometers, mine's Eye of the Kagura can even detect the number of enemies. If the enemy's chakra characteristics are known, it can also detect the enemy's exact location and all their movements. This terrifying sensory ability is even superior to that of the Hyuga clan, the most terrifying aspect. Mine's Eye of the Kagura, this special sensory ability, can also judge whether a person is lying through the fluctuations in their chakra. Sometimes I can see, sometimes I can't. Karin still doesn't understand what her mind's eye of the Kagura really is, often in a state of working intermittently, and most of the time she can only see it when she is particularly afraid. Come with us. Akihara Kagura stood up, not caring whether Karin would refuse. Since you have special abilities, we're not in a hurry to send you back to Konoha. Follow us on our mission for now to see if you can be of any use. Akihara Kagura glanced back at Karin, his face cold. If you prove to be of no use after returning to Konoha, you'll be sent to a terrifying place. I can be of use. Karin hurriedly indicated that she was still useful alive. Hey, don't scare the child. Hade Kakashi took a moment to clean up the corpses, handing over the task of burning the bodies to Uchiha Itachi, and came over just to see Akihara Kagura scaring the little girl. Hade Kakashi looked down at Karin, softly reassuring her. Don't be afraid, Kagura is just a bit extreme in his personality. He actually stayed behind to save you after secretly hearing the story about you and your mother in the forest. Ah, why? Karin looked at Akihara Kagura somewhat astonished. Because you seem to be of use. Akihara Kagura spoke with indifference, stating the plain truth. Because of pity for your background. Hade Kakashi sighed helplessly, looking at Akihara Kagura. Even though you're doing a good deed, don't always make yourself out to be the villain. HMPH chatterbox. Akihara Kagura's expression seemed slightly annoyed, as if his thoughts were exposed. Are you really not going to send her back to Konoha? Remembering what Akihara Kagura had said, Hade Kakashi spoke up. We are going to the land of Earth for a reconnaissance mission. It's very likely we'll encounter unimaginable dangers. Didn't you say you'd use the Flying Thunder God technique to send her back to Konoha? If she's only useful for recovery, then she's of no use to me, but she has a unique sensory ability, which could be helpful for our mission. Akihara Kagura glanced at Hade Kakashi, seemingly reminding him not to forget their conversation from last night. Besides, Konoha isn't necessarily safe for her. After saying this, Akihara Kagura looked down at Karin and asked, Little girl, do you want to go to Konoha or stay with us? I'll stay, with you. Karin timidly lowered her head, nervously clutching her clothes. I can be useful, don't leave me behind. Then let's go. Akihara Kagura picked up Karin by the collar. Practice your chakra well on the way. When we get to the land of Earth, use your ability to help us find where our target is hiding. I might not be able to see. Karin looked at Akihara Kagura with some fear. Although the little girl just learned from Hade Kakashi that Akihara Kagura might not be a bad person, his demeanor was indeed a bit frightening. Can't see. Akihara Kagura looked down at the little girl in his hands, continuing to intimidate. Didn't I say if you're useless, you'll have to go to a terrifying place? The hospital. Karin remembered her experiences. The most terrifying place in the world might be the hospital, where the injured always want to draw her blood for healing. If she can't see where the target is, the only use she might have is her blood, which can heal the injured, right? Weren't you saying you wouldn't send her to the route? Hade Kakashi couldn't help but whisper a reminder to Akihara Kagura. Didn't we say that we would let her accompany Naruto when we get back? For Hade Kakashi, the most terrifying place for a child should be the route. Last night it was clearly agreed that this child would not fall into the hands of Danzo. Who said we were sending her to the route? Akihara Kagura looked at Hade Kakashi with surprise. Hade Kakashi thought for a moment and said with some confusion, apart from the route and the ANBU interrogation room, what other terrifying places could there be in Konoha? Ninja school. Hey, kids still need to go to school properly. Akihara Kagura looked at Karin, showing a hint of envy in his eyes, and scolded, If you don't study hard in the future, you can only live in the dark like me, making mistakes during missions and being doubted by others. Hade Kakashi understood the look in Akihara Kagura's eyes. Was this guy regretting that he had never studied at the Konoha ninja school? No, to put it normally. Akihara Kagura hadn't even enjoyed the normal life of a child in Konoha, so did he want to let Karin make up for his regret? Captain Kakashi. After Uchiha Itachi incinerated the corpses and erased the traces, he looked at Karin in Akihara Kagura's hand with some surprise. This little girl is. This is. When Hade Kakashi opened his mouth wanting to introduce Karin, Akihara Kagura's voice suddenly interrupted what he was about to say. Uchiha Itachi, this matter has nothing to do with you. Akihara Kagura spoke coldly, changing his statement to Uchiha Itachi. This is a gift I want to give to Lord Danzo. You don't need to worry about it. If Uchiha Itachi knew about Karin's abilities, he would eventually tell Danzo. Wanting to gain the trust of Konoha's higher-ups, he wouldn't hide anything from Danzo. It would be better for Akihara Kagura to clarify himself that he wanted to give this little girl to Danzo, then later throw the blame of Karin not entering the route onto Hade Kakashi. Uchiha Itachi felt that Akihara Kagura was being too extreme again. This teammate always thought he wanted to compete with him for Shimura Danzo's favor. Stay away from her. Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Itachi and warned in a deep voice, "She is a future member of the Root. You don't have a say in this. The matter of our competition for the leadership of the Root has not been settled yet." "I'm not." Uchiha Itachi could only try hard to argue. Shimura Danzo had never said that he would hand over the position of the Root's leader to himself. "You stay away from him too." Akihara Kagura then turned to Karin, advising, "This is a demon who wouldn't blink even when killing someone. I'm the one who saved you, understand?" Uchiha Itachi didn't want to refute, nor did he have the strength to refute Akihara Kagura's slander. At least, when the Uchiha clan faced enemies, they would definitely use their Sharingan with eyes open. What Akihara Kagura said left him somewhat unable to rebut. "Understood." Karin hurriedly nodded her head. Although she didn't know why Akihara Kagura kept saying different things, as if her future had different paths. But no matter where she ended up going, it was much better for her than going to the hospital. "Kagura, stop mocking Itachi!" Hadate Kakashi scolded Akihara Kagura. Although Hadate Kakashi didn't quite understand why Akihara Kagura wanted to hide Karin's matter from Uchiha Itachi, he still didn't fully disclose Karin's situation. "I'm not mocking him." Akihara Kagura took a deep look at Uchiha Itachi and said, "I've warned him many times already to also stay away from Lord Danzo." Chapter 92, "Whether anyone can stop me from killing you in the future will depend on your luck." "Kagura-kun, we've spent too much time here." Uchiha Itachi disregarded the advice from Akihara Kagura once again. Like most of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Itachi also had a stubborn and obsessive side, completely ignoring Akihara Kagura's counsel. The squad set off towards the land of Earth. Shortly after their departure, the Kaguya clan infiltrated the forest, discovering that the defenses of the land of grass had vanished without a trace. These frenzied ninjas did not care whether it was a trap or not, directly attacking the grass village and simply occupying the deserted village. Many years ago, due to a guy named Uchiha Madara being too powerful, leading the Uchiha clan to be more warlike than the Kaguya clan, they directly drove the Kaguya clan to the land of water. The Kaguya clan had always been looking for a place to settle, but were not accepted by other ninja villages due to their warlike nature. They even discussed attacking the Mist Village. This time, acting as mercenaries to attack the land of grass might not be without the intention of returning to the mainland of the ninja world. Now the Kaguya clan finally had their own foothold. Even though it was just a small village, it was a place for them to reside, and they immediately sent people to bring their clan members from the land of water. Konoha, the Hokage building. The incident in the land of grass drew Konoha's attention. The entire ninja world knew that the Kaguya clan had a warlike gene in their bones, inevitably worrying some that these people would overestimate themselves and crazily attack Konoha. Let Hisashi go on a diplomatic mission. Sarutobi Hiruzen, with a deep understanding of the clan history during the Warring States period, said, "I remember, isn't the Hyuga clan a distant relative of the Kaguya clan?" Just like the relationship between the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan, the Hyuga clan and the Kaguya clan also had a familial relationship and even occasionally maintained Warring States-era nobility-style interactions between the two clans. HMPH. Shimura Danzo, who always liked to hold opposing views to Sarutobi Hiruzen's normal perspectives, said, "The Kaguya clan will cause trouble sooner or later. It's better to find an opportunity to eliminate them." "Danzo, you're being a bit extreme." Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head, continuing, "Many things, if handled properly, could actually bring greater benefits to Konoha." Sarutobi Hiruzen took out his pipe, exhaling a swirl of smoke. "Have you talked with Itachi last time? Is he willing to help us intervene in the Uchiha clan's attitude towards Konoha? We'll know when the little guy comes back from the Rock Village." Shimura Danzo, squinting his eyes, was satisfied with his assessment of Uchiha Itachi. "If he's willing to become our eyes and ears, dealing with the Uchiha clan's matters will be much easier." Land of Earth. The entire geographical environment is Rocky Mountain. On one hand, the geographical environment has made it difficult for the Rock Village to communicate with the outside world. On the other hand, this environment also greatly reduces the likelihood of the Land of Earth being invaded. The Rock Village only needs to defend the narrow paths. Unless invaded from the coastline, it is difficult for other villages to attack the Land of Earth from the land, and there is even the risk of a total annihilation of the invading forces. The location of the Rock Village is known for its strong defenses, surrounded by dense fortresses of rocks, making infiltration extremely difficult. Furthermore, the Rock Village has the highest number of ninjas among the 5 great ninja villages. During the Third Great Ninja War, the Rock Village was engaged in multiple fronts, sending troops to attack the Land of Fire, nearly breaking through the Land of Fire's defenses, and deploying tens of thousands of troops to besiege the ninja forces of the Cloud Village. If it weren't for the sacrifice of the third rakeage of the Cloud Village, the elite forces of the Cloud Village might have been completely annihilated. Similarly, it is very difficult for the ninjas of the Rock Village to recognize their own, as ninjas need to undertake missions to sustain their livelihoods. Many rock ninjas hardly have the chance to encounter a comrade they have met before. After Yakashi Kabuto infiltrated the Rock Village, he had been trying to find the Dean Nano, who was also hiding in the Rock Village, hoping to meet with his dean to inform her about the conspiracy from Shimura Danzo and about Akihara Kagura, whom the head had forgotten. Unfortunately, there was not enough time. Yakashi Kabuto was also unclear about the code name of Nano. In case Nano was no longer posing as a wandering priestess in the Rock Village, inquiring rashly might expose the dean's identity, and to avoid exposing his own identity, Yakashi Kabuto had to live as a normal ninja. As a result, the Rock Village experienced chaos triggered by Uchiha Abaido controlling the Five Tails Jinchuriki to assassinate the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, leading to the village being locked down for a week. This made Yakashi Kabuto's actions even more difficult. Fortunately, the lockdown of the Rock Village was finally lifted. Yakashi Kabuto, fearing to attract attention, dared not take any action and could only continue to undertake missions in the Rock Village. Recently, Yakashi Kabuto had been carrying out escort missions in a border town of the Land of Earth, thinking that the Dean Nano might appear there, as Konoha might request information about the Rock Village and Uchiha Abaido from them. As expected, Yakashi Kabuto found the contact code left by a Konoha intelligence officer in the border town and had to rush to meet. As a result, Yakashi Kabuto met a black-haired boy at the rendezvous point. Uchiha Itachi! Yakashi Kabuto felt somewhat relieved. Fortunately, it was Uchiha Itachi who came at this time, not Akihara Kagura. After Uchiha Itachi and Hate Kakashi arrived in the Land of Earth, he let them find a place to stay first, while he tried to contact the Intelligence Division personnel of the Land of Earth. Luckily, there was an intelligence officer here. Yakashi Kabuto casually walked towards Uchiha Itachi, approached the boy, suddenly grabbed him fiercely, and pulled the young boy into an alley. "I am Yakashi Kabuto, a member of the Intelligence Division." With one sentence, Yakashi Kabuto calmed Uchiha Itachi down. Uchiha Itachi heard the name of Yakashi Kabuto, but did not immediately trust it. Instead, he seriously exchanged the secret code exclusive to Yakashi Kabuto of the Konoha Intelligence Division. Connection successful. It was only then that Uchiha Itachi's expression relaxed, and he began to inquire, "I am here to request the assistance of intelligence personnel to help us investigate the intelligence regarding Uchiha Abaido's control over the Five Tails Jinchuriki. Do you have any information on Uchiha Abaido's whereabouts?" "I know some." Yakashi Kabuto adjusted his glasses, speaking softly. "When the Five Tails Jinchuriki Han attempted to assassinate the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, he was subdued on the spot by Anoki. Anoki discovered that Han was controlled by the Sharingan, and Uchiha Abaido suddenly appeared. The third Tsuchikage, Anoki, attempted to capture Uchiha Abaido unsuccessfully, and Uchiha Abaido escaped, claiming that he would completely destroy Rock Village next time, which enraged Anoki. The entire Rock Village was locked down for a week, with everyone searching for Uchiha Abaido's whereabouts. I haven't found out the results of this capture operation yet. Maybe he was caught, maybe not. This is a secret known only to the higher-ups of Rock Village, and as a low-ranking ninja I can't find out any specific information. Please give me a little more time." "That's acceptable," Uchiha Itachi nodded. Such matters were never easy to investigate. Hearing that the person sent by his superiors was willing to give him more time, Yakashi Kabuto felt slightly relieved. As long as Konoha still needed his intelligence, the crisis for himself and the Dean Nano should be delayed for a while. "By the way," Uchiha Itachi took out a red scroll and handed it to Yakashi Kabuto. "This is the latest mission from Lord Danzo to you." "I understand." Yakashi Kabuto took the red scroll, as if he remembered something, suddenly asked, "By the way, I want to ask about someone Akihara Kagura in the Anbu. How is he doing? I remember you and he were both candidates in the Chunin exams. Did he pass?" Uchiha Itachi hesitated. This spy's information was too outdated. At this moment, Uchiha Itachi did not know whether he should say more. He knew about the close relationship between Yakashi Kabuto and Akihara Kagura, but if he revealed that Akihara Kagura was also there, would it be a violation of the rules of the Konoha Intelligence Division if these two people contacted each other privately? However, Uchiha Itachi soon no longer needed to worry about this issue. Yakashi Kabuto, your question is too impolite. Akihara Kagura quietly appeared beside Yakashi Kabuto, seemingly opening his mouth carelessly to say, Uchiha Itachi standing before you will, in the future, take over the position of the head of the Root Division from Lord Danzo. Asking him about the Chunin exam, isn't that poking at his wound? Akihara Kagura! Yakashi Kabuto's face suddenly became somewhat panicked. Although he had always been concerned about the news of Akihara Kagura, he definitely did not want to meet him here, especially at this time and place. Kagura-kun! Uchiha Itachi stepped forward, cautioning Akihara Kagura for violating Konoha's rules. Unless permitted, it is forbidden to make private contact with members of the Intelligence Division. This violates the Konoha's regulations, right? Uchiha Itachi looked at the somewhat trembling Yakashi Kabuto and softly said, Yakashi Kabuto, you can go now. Yes! Yakashi Kabuto immediately wanted to leave this place. He could not continue to waste time here. He must find the dean as soon as possible. Yakashi Kabuto knew about Akihara Kagura's lawlessness in the Root Division. He did not believe Akihara Kagura would follow any rules, nor did he think Akihara Kagura would not dare to kill him and the dean. However, Yakashi Kabuto was faintly curious. How did Uchiha Itachi become Shimura Danzo's successor? Could it be that Shimura Danzo is about to die, and what identity does Akihara Kagura hold? Don't be in such a hurry to leave. Akihara Kagura, with great interest, watched Yakashi Kabuto stop and smiled amiably to say, Yakashi Kabuto, you should know what it means for me to appear here, right? I know. Yakashi Kabuto slowly lowered his head. That's good. Akihara Kagura then satisfactorily nodded his head, glanced at the red scroll in his hand. It seems you have a new mission. Go and complete your mission first. As for our matter, there's no rush for this moment. Akihara Kagura, looking at the somewhat uneasy Yakashi Kabuto, wore a playful smile in his eyes. Cold sweat slowly slid down Yakashi Kabuto's forehead. Akihara Kagura watched Yakashi Kabuto with an increasingly intense smile. Now that you're here, the people who should be met must be met. The people who should be killed must be killed. Uchiha Itachi felt that things might not be as simple as he had thought. Was the relationship between Akihara Kagura and Yakashi Kabuto really as good as Hideki Kakashi had said? Why did Akihara Kagura speak with sarcasm, and why did Yakashi Kabuto seem so scared upon seeing Akihara Kagura here? Yakashi Kabuto, you should go first. Uchiha Itachi stood firmly in front of Akihara Kagura, signaling Yakashi Kabuto to leave first. Yakashi Kabuto stood still, not daring to move. Compared to Uchiha Itachi, what Yakashi Kabuto was more worried about was Akihara Kagura's attitude. Yakashi Kabuto, you can go now. The words spoken by Akihara Kagura granted Yakashi Kabuto a great reprieve. Just as Yakashi Kabuto was about to leave, Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Itachi, as if speaking to him. Whether anyone can stop me from killing in the future will depend on your luck. Chapter 93, Tsuchi River Gorge. Yakashi Kabuto was finally able to leave. After escaping from that narrow alley, Kabuto realized that the sweat pouring from his body had already soaked his clothes through. I must return to the rock village immediately. Kabuto's face was abnormally pale, almost devoid of any color. I can't wait for the right moment any longer. I must find Dean Nano immediately. As Kabuto hurried back to the rock village to continue his search for the dean, he opened a red scroll, wanting to see what mission had been assigned to him. March 16th, night, assassinate a defected intelligence department member in Tsuchi River Gorge. This mission was quite simple for Kabuto. Although Kabuto himself was a medical ninja, he had always worked hard as a spy, and his assassination skills were no less than those of the Ambu members. However, this mission sent chills through Kabuto's entire body. Under normal circumstances, Kabuto wouldn't care about such a mission, but at this point in time, with a combatant of Akihara Kagura's caliber appearing here, why would there be a need for him, an intelligence officer, to risk an assassination mission? Even more so, why was this mission specifically written with a fixed time and place? Could it be that the member to be assassinated was definitely going to appear there at that time? And where was the photo of the target he needed to assassinate? Why could it be certain that the person appearing there was indeed the one he needed to assassinate, unless the person to be assassinated was also arranged? This time, this place, and the sudden appearance of Akihara Kagura. All this information was telling Kabuto that the person he was ordered to assassinate on the scroll might very well be Yakashi Nano, whom he had been searching for. If Kabuto hadn't obtained any intelligence from Akihara Kagura, he might not have thought of this issue. However, Kabuto was particularly cautious at this time, not wanting any trouble that could lead to his and Yakashi Nano's deaths. There's still time. Kabuto clenched his teeth and destroyed the red scroll. If I haven't found the dean by then, I'll go there to see if the dean appears there. Kabuto still harbored hope for the future. As long as I explain Shimura Danzo's conspiracy to the dean, we won't end up killing each other. On the other hand, in the alleys of the border town, Uchiha Itachi was somewhat helpless with Akihara Kagura. Kagura-san, please do not violate the Intelligence Department's codes and regulations. It will put them in danger. I am their danger. Akihara Kagura spread his hands, seemingly more helpless than Uchiha Itachi. I will kill them sooner or later. Do you really want to protect their safety? I must protect the safety of my comrades. Uchiha Itachi's expression immediately became serious. Kagura-kun, I know you were once a ninja of the root, and perhaps you still retain the root's way of doing things. Uchiha Itachi had long been familiar with the root's modus operandi. Uchiha Itachi also understood why Akihara Kagura was so unrestrained. All along, only the root in Konoha would engage in the killing of comrades without even needing the Hokage's approval, following only the orders of Danzo to kill. The root can kill comrades. That's why I want to return to the root. Akihara Kagura shook his head, seemingly not caring at all about Uchiha Itachi's words. If you think I'm wrong, then go report to Lord Danzo. Do you really think that by making a small report you can secure the position of the future head of the root? I have never thought about the position of the head of the root. Uchiha Itachi rubbed his forehead and continued. Kagura-kun, can you stop following me? I need to find the next Intelligence Department member and convey Lord Danzo's orders. It's already a violation of the regulations anyway. Akihara Kagura shrugged, even more unconcerned. One more time, one less time, it makes no difference to me. Let's go, let me see who the next person is. Uchiha Itachi tried to convince Akihara Kagura of a principle. Unless permitted, Konoha ninjas cannot casually know the identities of Intelligence Department members. This will endanger their safety. Akihara Kagura finished what Uchiha Itachi wanted to say and dug in his ear. I was originally here to endanger their safety. Do you think I'm here to protect them? Uchiha Itachi felt trapped in a vicious cycle. However, Uchiha Itachi was not without means and simply returned directly to the inn where they were staying, bringing Akihara Kagura back and then sneaking out himself. Uchiha Itachi was confident that his anti-tracking skills were definitely good enough to shake off Akihara Kagura, and he set about trying to contact the next Intelligence Department member according to the contact code. Inside the inn, while teaching Karin to refine chakra, Hadate Kakashi said to Akihara Kagura, Kagura, don't disturb Itachi's work. Although I know you want to meet Yakashi Kabuto and Dean Yakashi Nano, we can't just contact Intelligence Department members. Karin. Akihara Kagura ignored Hadate Kakashi, turning his head to Karin. Help me check Uchiha Itachi's location. Don't help him. Hadate Kakashi shook his head. But Karin looked uneasily at Akihara Kagura, then turned to Hadate Kakashi and hesitantly said, It's Lord Kagura's request, I can't refuse it. After saying that, Karin closed her eyes, but then suddenly opened them wide, and the entire border town came within her perception. I'll look for Uchiha Itachi's chakra. Karin immediately located the target, pointing out the direction for Akihara Kagura. In a small alley in the northwest part of the town, Uchiha Itachi is there. Keep up the good work. Akihara Kagura patted her little head in the northwest alley of the border town. The thoughts of Yakashi Nano and Yakashi Kabuto were exactly the same. After the incident where Uchiha Abido controlled the Five Tails Jinchuriki and Rock Village sealed off the entire village for a week, Konoha would definitely be eager to send someone to ask intelligence agents for news. After seeing his own contact secret code, Yakashi Nano quickly met with Uchiha Itachi and reported the recent major events in Rock Village. Compared to Yakashi Kabuto, Yakashi Nano had more contact and even received clear news that Rock Village had not captured Uchiha Abido. This is your new mission. Uchiha Itachi handed Yakashi Nano a cyan scroll. Yakashi Nano-senpai, Lord Danzo has asked me to tell you that this is the last mission. Thank you. Yakashi Nano earnestly expressed his gratitude. Throughout his years of espionage, Yakashi Nano had never seen such a polite kuhai, even making him feel somewhat unaccustomed. Of course, the most important thing was that he brought good news, the last mission. Yakashi Nano didn't care what the mission in the cyan scroll was. What she cared about more was what would happen after completing the last mission. As long as this mission was completed, it would free Yakashi Kabuto from the root. This was the agreement between Yakashi Nano and Shimura Danzo. During the last contact, Danzo had promised her that just one more task, and he would let Yakashi Kabuto leave the route, no longer having to live the precarious life of a spy. Let's go. Uchiha Itachi didn't plan to continue the conversation. To protect the identity of the intelligence personnel, Uchiha Itachi tried to shorten the interaction as much as possible, mainly a bit worried that Akihara Kagura might suddenly appear. This mission is really too difficult. Generally speaking, aren't spy contacts only supposed to guard against being discovered by the enemy? Why do I also have to worry about being discovered by our own people? However, it was still a bit late. As Yakashi Nano planned to leave, a figure quietly appeared in front of her, instantly raising her alertness. "Who's there?" Yakashi Nano thought that her meeting with Uchiha Itachi had been detected, and quickly produced a kunai from her sleeve, slashing towards the person's direction. It was a young boy that Yakashi Nano didn't recognize. However, whether it was the boy's skill or the timing of his appearance, it was unlikely he was an ally, but rather an enemy from the rock village. The boy caught the kunai with his hand. Yakashi Nano's kunai directly slashed across his arm, leaving a long wound as blood instantly stained the boy's arm. "Don't fight!" Uchiha Itachi, having recognized the appearance of Akihara Kagura, hurriedly spoke up to stop the fight. "This is a ninja from the village, Yakashi Nano senpai." Uchiha Itachi, remembering what Hadake Kakashi had mentioned about Akihara Kagura and Yakashi Nano, asked in surprise, "You should know each other, right?" "It's been a long time, Dean Yakashi Nano." Akihara Kagura, who had seen Yakashi Nano's photo before, casually wiped the blood on his arm. "The dean might not recognize me or even remember me." Yakashi Nano was momentarily puzzled. Was this boy someone she knew, or a child raised in the orphanage? Otherwise, why would he call her dean? After agreeing to resume her role as a spy for Shimura Danzo, Yakashi Nano had not returned to the Konoha orphanage for a long time. Was this child raised in the orphanage? "Let me treat that for you first." Yakashi Nano, seeing the blood flowing from Akihara Kagura's arm, quickly conjured a pale green chakra in her palm. "There's no need." Akihara Kagura shook his head, slowly lifting his arm, the wound on it rapidly healing, a regenerative ability brought about by Hashirama cells. "You are." Yakashi Nano racked her brains thinking about the children from the orphanage. Which child could possibly have such miraculous healing abilities? It seems, not a single one. If he wasn't a child from the orphanage, then he must be a child from the village. Which family in the Konoha could possibly have a child with such miraculous healing abilities? Yakashi Nano felt somewhat ashamed, feeling that she still couldn't remember. Her years as a spy had indeed taken much of her effort. "I'm truly sorry." Yakashi Nano's face revealed a gentle smile, as if such a motherly, tender, and loving smile could heal the pain in people's hearts. "I haven't been back to the village for a long time. I can hardly remember it. Maybe you have grown up into a handsome young man." "Thank you for the compliment." Akihara Kagura nodded slightly, a sly smile appearing on his lips. "Dean Nano, you haven't changed at all, still as gentle as before." "Kagura-kun." Uchiha Itachi, standing aside, felt that their atmosphere was a bit peculiar and softly suggested, "We should leave now and let Yakashi Nano senpai go as well, to avoid being detected by the enemy." "Yes, this is enemy territory." Yakashi Nano quickly nodded, realizing this was not the place to reminisce, and said, "I have been away for too long. I must immediately meet up with the team here, lest they suspect my identity." For Yakashi Nano, now the most important thing was her last mission, because rescuing Yakashi Kabuto from the root was the obsession she had for 5 years. "Goodbye." Akihara Kagura politely made way. "Goodbye." Yakashi Nano quickly left. After leaving the alley, Yakashi Nano remembered that she forgot to ask the name of the boy who came later, but this was just a minor impoliteness. The most important thing was Yakashi Kabuto. Inside this green scroll was her last mission. Yakashi Nano hurriedly found a safe place, opened the green scroll, and saw a combat mission that was somewhat challenging for her. March 16th night, Tsuche River Gorge, assassinate a defected intelligence department officer. Yakashi Nano saw a photo of the target to be assassinated printed inside the scroll, showing a young man wearing glasses whom she did not recognize. There shouldn't be any problem. It looks like the target is not very old. Although I am not good at fighting, the target's combat experience should not be very rich, and his strength should not be too strong. On the other hand, Akihara Kagura stood at the entrance of the alley, his eyes darkly watching until the figure of Yakashi Nano completely disappeared before slowly retracting his gaze. Uchiha Itachi was always paying attention to the look in Akihara Kagura's eyes. This teammate, when looking at Yakashi Nano, seemed to completely transform into a different person, exhibiting a calm and serene demeanor that did not match his usual personality. Clearly, Yakashi Nano was an important person to Akihara Kagura. This matter was not something that could be easily delved into. Uchiha Itachi calculated the purpose of his visit to the rock village. He had completed both tasks of meeting with the intelligence department members, leaving only one last mission. Uchiha Itachi recalled the last blue scroll given to him by Shimura Danzo, which outlined his final mission. That mission was also his assessment. Once he completed that assessment, he would become a spy implanted in the Uchiha clan by the higher-ups of Konoha and would also become a pawn of the Uchiha clan within the Anbu. March 16th, night. According to intelligence received from members infiltrated in the Rock Village Intelligence Department, there are 2 Konoha Intelligence Department personnel about to defect hidden in the Tsucha River Gorge. It is imperative to kill both individuals to prevent the leakage of Konoha's secrets. Chapter 94. So verbose even the translator got irritated translating. Borderland Inn. Uchiha Itachi never mentioned his assessment tasks. This future double agent for the Uchiha clan and the higher-ups of Konoha only relayed to Hadate Kakashi the intelligence about Uchiha Obaido provided by the members of the intelligence department. Obaido wasn't caught. Hadate Kakashi bowed his head in contemplation. The purpose of this squad's visit to the land of Earth was to trace the whereabouts of Uchiha Obaido and, incidentally, to disrupt any other schemes he had in the Rock Village. With Obaido's miraculous space-time ninjutsu, he could indeed easily escape capture by the Rock Village. So where would he go next? Did he leave? Or is he still hiding within the Rock Village? Such matters couldn't possibly be investigated with the help of the intelligence department members. The entire Rock Village was locked down for a week, and tens of thousands of ninjas couldn't find Uchiha Obaido's whereabouts. Could the members of the Konoha's intelligence department manage to find him? And most importantly, was Uchiha Obaido's assassination of the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, with the power of the 5 Tails Jinchuriki meant to take control of the Rock Village, or was there another plot? To investigate Obaido's plans and gather more information about him, it was essential to find a way to contact the 5 Tails Jinchuriki in the Rock Village. Only the 5 Tails Jinchuriki had been in contact with Uchiha Obaido, and just like the 3 Tails Jinchuriki Yagura, he must know something. What about the information on the 5 Tails Jinchuriki? Hadate Kakashi proposed a very risky infiltration plan. I'll find a way to infiltrate the Rock Village. I must meet with that 5 Tails Jinchuriki. Of course, there's a problem. Even if he could meet the 5 Tails Jinchuriki, there's no guarantee he could learn anything about Uchiha Obaido from him, and there's a high chance he could be captured. This operation's risk is immense, akin to a 9 deaths and 1 life situation. The slim chance of survival hinges on whether they can persuade the 5 Tails Jinchuriki to willingly provide information and help capture Uchiha Obaido, who controls him. However, for ninjas, this is precisely what they are trained for in school. Every infiltration to steal intelligence involves the risk of being captured by the enemy or even losing their lives. The most painful part is, before obtaining a piece of intelligence, the ninjas who sacrifice themselves for these intelligence-gathering infiltrations do not know whether the intelligence will be useful. Ninjas seem to always pay a high price to complete missions that may not be cost-effective, risking a life for information about Uchiha Obaido. This is normal. The threat posed by Uchiha Obaido is too great, yet information about him is too scarce. Akihara Kagura feels that the cost-effectiveness of such infiltration plans is too low because he has a wealth of information about Uchiha Obaido, even affecting Obaido's thinking. I feel like the first step of this infiltration idea is unreliable. Akihara Kagura looked at Hadate Kakashi's white hair, shaking his head. Captain Kakashi, are you sure? No one in the Rock Village recognizes you. Hadate Kakashi couldn't be sure of that. Not to mention anything else, the number of rock ninjas who died by his hand during the war period is not small. In addition, over these years, the rock ninjas he killed while on missions. If Hadate Kakashi were to announce his presence here, this inn would immediately be filled with Hadate Kakashi's enemies, and there might even be a line outside. Let me do it. Akihara Kagura took the initiative to take on this task, saying nonchalantly, I suppose no one from the Rock Village recognizes me, so I can boldly infiltrate. This is even more dangerous for you. Hadate Kakashi shook his head, looking at Akihara Kagura and said, Kagura, you are the future of the Konoha, you cannot be lost here. Moreover, this guy has not received complete infiltration training. It's likely that he might be discovered by the people of the Rock Village before he even sees the 5 Tails Jinchuriki. The wood release of Akihara Kagura will be like the first Hokage Hashirama, becoming a powerful deterrent for the Konoha against major villages in the future. This time coming to the land of Earth, bringing Akihara Kagura along was mainly because of his experience fighting with Uchiha Abaido, and secondly because of his formidable combat ability, capable of breaking through if surrounded by a large number of enemies, of course. It's not very realistic for Akihara Kagura to fight his way out of the rock village. Don't worry. Akihara Kagura, facing Hadate Kakashi's firm opposition, added, "I am a ninja born from the root. I will immediately devise a complete infiltration plan. First, tell me the plan's approach." Hadate Kakashi still felt somewhat unreliable, but he wanted to hear Akihara Kagura's plan to see if it could provide some insights for himself. Akihara Kagura extended his palm confidently and revealed his plan. "I'll first infiltrate the rock village, then capture the third Tsuchikage Anoki and torture the information about the Five Tails Jinchuriki's location out of him." "Calm down a bit." Hadate Kakashi helplessly touched his forehead, regretting expecting anything from Akihara Kagura's plan. "Don't think that all village leaders are like Lord Mizukage. The third Tsuchikage Anoki's strength is terrifying." "Give me an example." Akihara Kagura asked for an example. Hadate Kakashi really couldn't give one. The reputation of the third Tsuchikage Anoki mostly spread among the older generation of ninjas. After all, this Tsuchikage is almost 70 years old, trying not to move his old arms and legs. Hadate Kakashi could only explain briefly with past information. The third Tsuchikage, Anoki the Fence-Sitter, possesses Dust Release, which is a combination of wind, earth, and fire chakra natures. It's a Keke Toda, a power stronger than a normal Keke Genka. It sounds stronger than Wood Release. Akihara Kagura seemed somewhat wistfully longing. It should be not as good as Wood Release. Hadate Kakashi is also not very familiar with this matter. Although the third Tsuchikage Anoki's Dust Release and the first Hokage Hashirama's Wood Release have never fought against each other, it's certain that Anoki's strength cannot compare to Hashirama's. "Let me do it," Uchiha Itachi volunteered, seriously proposing his plan. "I can first ask the members of the intelligence department to secretly find out the location of the Five Tails Jinchuriki, then sneak into Rock Village and secretly meet with that Five Tails Jinchuriki. An excellent plan, but still too dangerous." Hadate Kakashi sincerely praised, but also somewhat disagreed. This plan could give him some ideas, mainly that the intelligence department's members could help secretly find out the Five Tails Jinchuriki's location to avoid getting lost in Rock Village. The plan proposed by Akihara Kagura to capture the Tsuchikage and interrogate for information was too outrageous, making Itachi's otherwise ordinary infiltration plan seem outstanding. "That!" Karin carefully interjected from the side. "Since sneaking in is so dangerous, why not think of a way to reduce their guard personnel?" Hadate Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi fell into silence. Akihara Kagura laughed, messing up Karin's hair. "We release the information that Uchiha Abaido is outside, which should attract a lot of people, right?" Uchiha Itachi nodded, seriously continuing. "Create a piece of information at a certain location that attracts Rock Village's attention. Even if it doesn't lure people out, just drawing more stationed rock ninjas out would significantly reduce the risk of infiltration. This is easy to handle." Akihara Kagura immediately proposed a plan that would definitely be opposed by Hadate Kakashi. "I'll disguise myself as Uchiha Abaido and then kill all the people in a city, intentionally letting a few escape to report back to Rock Village. This plan is already excessively extreme." Hadate Kakashi expressed his opposition with a helpless look. "Killing an entire city's people is too bloody, and if it's discovered in the future, it could bring great trouble to Konoha." Akihara Kagura immediately proposed his second plan. "Then I'll kill the people of a small town which seems less bloody." "Still no good," Hadate Kakashi explained seriously. "It's not about how many people you kill, but the act of killing itself. We cannot harm innocent civilians." "Then can I go kill a few rock ninjas?" Akihara Kagura seemed somewhat resigned, but this statement seemed to inspire him, giving him an instant idea for an even more perfect plan. Akihara Kagura immediately proposed his third plan. "I will first disguise myself as a ninja from Cloud Village and kill the border outpost ninjas of Rock Village, which should trigger a war between them." Hadate Kakashi seemed about to interrupt him. "Don't rush, let me finish." A confident smile appeared on Akihara Kagura's face as he continued. "Once the war breaks out, I will go around killing people on the battlefield, escalating the war between them and drawing out all the stationed ninjas of the Rock Village." After finishing, Akihara Kagura looked at Hadate Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi, awaiting their feedback. This way, the rock village will inevitably be left vulnerable, allowing us to infiltrate it safely. Even Captain Kakashi could get in. Hade Kakashi broke out in a sweat upon hearing this. While the plan was indeed good, there was no need for Uchiha Itachi to infiltrate the rock village. Everyone could just pack up and head back to Konoha to prepare for the great ninja war. An infiltration plan, is that necessary? Hade Kakashi massaged his temples. We just want to infiltrate the rock village, but this method is too extreme. You could be executed by the 5 great village for starting a war. Then I'll disguise myself as Uchiha Madara. Akihara Kagura quickly adopted Hade Kakashi's suggestion. It's not about who you're disguising as. Hade Kakashi felt this kid was missing the point. Compared to Akihara Kagura's plan of starting a great ninja war, those plans of killing a city or a small town seemed somewhat reasonable. No, they were not reasonable either. He was being led astray by this guy. This plan takes too long and too many accidents could happen. Recalling his own assessment task timeline, Uchiha Itachi suggested we could try kidnapping an important person from the land of Earth or create some chaos in a location far from the rock village. This could work. Akihara Kagura immediately supplemented Uchiha Itachi's plan. I'll impersonate Uchiha Abaido and kidnap the daimyo of the land of Earth, and if we're lucky, we might even get a ransom. Hade Kakashi felt there was something wrong with his subordinates' thinking. Why did they always want to sprint down the path of crime? Kidnapping a country's daimyo is a serious crime too. And can this guy stop impersonating Abaido all the time? According to Akihara Kagura's outrageous actions, if he brings Abaido back to Konoha in the future, other major countries might also force Konoha to decapitate Abaido. Don't do unnecessary things. I've already decided I will infiltrate Rock Village myself. Hade Kakashi decided to take the matter back into his own hands, placing his hands on his knees, seriously expressing his thoughts. I've thought about it long ago, what price I am willing to pay to bring Abaido back, even if it costs my life, I am willing to do so. This life was saved by Abaido in the first place, now it's my turn to save his life. Don't stop me now. Hade Kakashi interrupted their attempts to persuade him, continuing. Bringing Abaido back, starting over, it was my responsibility alone, it has nothing to do with the two of you. You are the future of Konoha, you absolutely cannot sacrifice yourselves here. Now, conveying the last command of the captain of the Anbu 6 squad, if I get killed by someone from Rock Village during the infiltration, the two of you, take Karin and immediately return to Konoha, report what happened to Lord Hawkage. After Hade Kakashi said all this, he then looked towards Akihara Kagura, as if wanting to leave his last words. Kagura, the person I'm most worried about is you. You are a kind person with your own love and bonds, just too long corrupted by the darkness of the root, liking to solve problems with extreme methods. This is wrong. Extremism will continuously breed darkness. Darkness will let hatred spread. In the future, when you encounter problems, don't always think that killing can solve everything. There are always troubles in the world that killing cannot solve. You are a true genius, more talented than anyone I've met. If there's anyone in this world who can stop Abaido from harming the ninja world in the future, then it must be you. And Hade Kakashi, stating his last will, his gaze as calm as still water. When you meet Abaido again, help me pass him a message. Rin and I will be watching over his life from the Pure Land. Chapter 95, sipping tea and hinting. Understand, Hade Kakashi left without looking back. Uchiha Itachi actively tried to contact the members of the intelligence department for help, but couldn't reach anyone, no matter what. He hadn't expected the members of the intelligence department to have left the town so quickly. The intelligence members of Rock Village, Yakushi Kabuto and Yakushi Nano, were not in the mood to consider anything else. Both were preparing and figuring out how to carry out the mission in the Tsuch River Gorge. Are we going to do nothing? Karin, wearing glasses, was somewhat confused and naive. I'm thinking. Akihara Kagura leisurely picked up a cup of tea, so relaxed it seemed as if he was not at all concerned about the life or death of his boss. Can this work be not done? Can it be passed on to someone else? Can it be done tomorrow? Can it be passed on to someone else tomorrow? Like right now, should I go save Hade Kakashi, or should I let Uchiha Abaido save Kakashi? Is it up to me to inform Uchiha Abaido to save Kakashi, or should I let White Zetsu inform Uchiha Abaido to save Kakashi? It's just one thing, yet there are so many ways to do it, and it seems there won't be any consequences. Truly a kind of happy worry for the working people. Karin didn't understand the inner thoughts of Akihara Kagura. However, Karin was greatly shocked the first time she heard the declaration of him thinking. Karin didn't quite understand, and she brought up the issue she cared about the most. If Lord Kagura doesn't do something, Mr. Kakashi will die, right? Then I guess I'll do something. Akihara Kagura sighed, unable to ignore the system prompt in his mind. System prompt. New task. Tell Uchiha Abaido that Hadake, Kakashi, and Rin will always be watching over his life from the Pure Land. This is troubling. Can this message even become a last message? Uchiha Abaido, that petty boss, would surely rush to save someone immediately and might even scold Hadake Kakashi for not daring to die before him or something like that. Akihara Kagura, using the characteristics of ninja in the shadows, investigated Uchiha Abaido's location and directly used the Flying Thunder God technique to travel to where Uchiha Abaido was. Fortunately, Uchiha Abaido was nearby, otherwise Akihara Kagura would have had to find White Zetsu Oi first to have Oi run over to pass the information. As expected of Akihara Kagura's boss, Uchiha Abaido's courage was also great. After causing the incident of assassinating the third Tsuchikage with the 5 tails Jinchuriki in Rock Village, he had been planning to keep an eye on the aftermath and had not left the land of Earth. Even at this time, Uchiha Abaido seemed to be in a good mood, actually sitting at a roadside tea stall on the edge of the town, completely unnoticeable as the person who had just stirred trouble in Rock Village. At a time like this, he is still in the mood to drink tea. Akihara Kagura muttered to himself in dissatisfaction, took a gulp of the tea in his cup, and vanished on the spot, leaving only a message for Karin. "Stay put here, I'll be right back." At the edge of the small town, a roadside tea stall, Uchiha Abaido was sitting there, holding a cup of tea. Akihara Kagura's figure appeared beside him in an instant, even taking a seat and grabbing a teacup for himself right after appearing. Plan went without a hitch, and I completed my mission well, didn't I? Hadake Kakashi is no longer investigating those 2 from the Akatsuki, bringing me and Uchiha Itachi to the land of Earth. After finishing his statement, Kagura took Abaido's teapot and poured himself a cup of tea to moisten his throat. "Let's start with a cup of tea. I'm almost dying of thirst from the journey." "This tea tastes good. Did you add chrysanthemums to it?" "You used the Flying Thunder God technique to get here." Abaido corrected Kagura's mistake and with a grim face asked, "When did you put a Flying Thunder God mark on me?" "Last time we met," Kagura answered nonchalantly, giving himself an excuse. "This way, as long as I sense the mark of the Flying Thunder God on you, I can come directly to see you. I didn't expect you to have the leisure to drink tea here." Guessing that his superior might be displeased with his actions, Kagura took the initiative to pour him a cup of tea. "Here, let me refill your cup. Let's have tea together." "HMPH." Abaido snorted coldly, feeling dissatisfied but unable to voice his complaints, reluctantly continuing the topic. "Forget it, our plan is good and you did well in your task." System prompt. Change Hadake Kakashi's direction of investigation to prevent him from uncovering the truth about the Akatsuki. Task completed. Reward. Earth release, hiding like a mole technique. Earth release, hiding like a mole technique, an earth release technique that allows one to burrow into the ground. As Kagura looked at his newly acquired reward, she invited Abaido to drink tea while casually mentioning, "By the way, I have something to tell you. Kakashi is going to die here." Cough, cough. This statement made Abaido unable to swallow anything. Abaido turned his head sharply, staring hard at Kagura, then turned back as if he didn't care at all. "HMPH, what does that have to do with me?" Kagura calmly completed his mission. "Before Captain Kakashi left, he entrusted me with his last words. If I ever met you one day, he asked me to pass on a message to you. Seeing you here in this town, I came right away to tell you." "I don't want to hear it." Uchiha Abaido carefully set down the teacup. "He said that he and Rin will always watch over your life in the Pure Land." System prompt. Inform Uchiha Abaido that Hadake Kakashi and Rin will always watch over his life in the Pure Land. Task completed. Reward. Lightning Blade. Lightning Blade, by forming the hand signs ox right arrow rabbit right arrow monkey, lightning release chakra is concentrated into an intense electric current in the hand, combined with the speed of a thrust to pierce the target. Lightning Blade can also be attached to a kunai for long-range attacks. This technique combines the properties and form manipulation of lightning release chakra, allowing for the free transformation of the jutsu's form and the development of more lightning release techniques. Akihara Kagura felt this task was surprisingly easy. Merely by passing on a message, not only could he enjoy a cup of tea, but he also received a lightning release ninjutsu he had long admired. With proper development, this lightning release technique could lead to the creation of numerous useful jutsus. Perhaps this was a task to convey a last message by Hadake Kakashi, unexpectedly revealing a proud ninjutsu created by Kakashi himself. Could there be any more minds to extract from this superior? Where is he? After hearing this, Uchiha Abaido looked angrily at Akihara Kagura, his face darkening with rage. "Kakashi, that waste, where is he now? Why can Kakashi be with Rin in the Pure Land? It was Kakashi, that waste, who killed Rin with his own hands. He should be on his way to Rock Village. Akihara Kagura poured himself another cup of tea, leisurely revealing the truth. Captain Kakashi refused to heed our advice and insisted on infiltrating Rock Village alone. He wanted to obtain information about you from the Five Tails Jinchuriki. Before leaving, he left me that message, and I felt I had to tell you. It's better if Captain Kakashi is dead. Akihara Kagura teased Uchiha Abaido leisurely. In Konoha, only you and I have fought each other. When the time comes for the next investigation on you, I should be the one leading the team. With the superior dead, I might even get a promotion. While sipping his tea, Akihara Kagura discussed Hadate Kakashi's posthumous matters with Uchiha Abaido. Speaking of which, what should be done with Captain Kakashi's inheritance in Konoha? Are you, his past companion, the beneficiary, or am I, his current companion, the beneficiary? If it comes down to it, should we split it between us? Uchiha Abaido was nearly infuriated to death by his subordinate. He had thought that Hadate Kakashi was so severely injured that he couldn't be saved. But it turned out Kakashi, that waste, was merely infiltrating Rock Village to gather intelligence. Of course, an infiltration mission was not dangerous for Kakashi. The most dangerous part was asking the Five Tails Jinchuriki for information. Uchiha Abaido, having recently controlled the Five Tails Jinchuriki hen, was very aware of the latter's stubborn nature and unwavering loyalty to Rock Village, who would definitely not miss the chance to capture Kakashi. Go save him! Uchiha Abaido gave a clear order to his subordinate. Don't let Hadate Kakashi, that waste, die here. Otherwise, when Konoha sends someone else to probe my information next time, you might not be able to influence Konoha's decision. Don't expect to become the team leader. The Konoha higher-ups would never entrust the situation to an 11-year-old child. I was actually looking forward to sharing this good news with you. Akihara Kagura sighed softly, never expecting that this task would fall upon him, let alone that he could dig out a mine from this affair. System prompt. New work assignment. Proceed to Rock Village and rescue Hadate Kakashi, who has infiltrated it. This is a good start. The existence of bonds between these two superiors is bound to lead to many stories, and I will leisurely unearth treasures among them. For instance, the bond between Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen, these two elders, often results in the issuance of the same tasks, allowing one to earn double the reward for a single job. In the future, when seeking out superiors, I should also consider their bonds, as it makes it easier to receive tasks and rewards. All right then. Akihara Kagura somewhat helplessly set down his teacup, seemingly intentionally or unintentionally starting to remind. Captain Kakashi has also been good to me. He taught me many jutsus in Konoha. Akihara Kagura knew that rescuing Hadate Kakashi would be quite straightforward. Just use the Flying Thunder God technique to get in, and then bring the person directly out. Back and forth. The reward for rescuing Hadate Kakashi is secured. Hadate Kakashi had to make it seem as if he infiltrated Rock Village for the sake of obtaining information on Uchiha Abaido, as if this venture to meet the Five Tails Jinchuriki in Rock Village would make it impossible for him to come out alive. The jutsus Kakashi taught you. Uchiha Abaido's lips revealed a cold smile, immediately showing disdain for Hadate Kakashi. That idiotic jutsu he developed, if not for the Sharingan, even he himself couldn't control it, nearly killing himself on the battlefield once. Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Abaido somewhat speechlessly. Who said I learned Chidori, although I did indeed just learn Chidori? But is that the point? The point is, why don't you, as a superior, distribute benefits to your subordinates? What's the deal with Uchiha Abaido as a superior? Is he unable to understand human speech? Or have I become too subtle in my speech after spending time with Shimura Danzo as my superior? I might encounter danger in rescuing Captain Kakashi. Akihara Kagura decided to mention his difficulties, giving Uchiha Abaido another chance. I want to understand the dust release and earth release of the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, to avoid any accidents when infiltrating Rock Village to rescue Captain Kakashi. Do you not have the Flying Thunder God technique? Uchiha Abaido looked at Akihara Kagura in surprise, continuing. The activation time for dust release is very slow, enough for you to escape with Hadate Kakashi using the Flying Thunder God technique. Wait, doesn't Kakashi also know how to use the Flying Thunder God technique? If it weren't for the fear of Hadate Kakashi using the Flying Thunder God technique to chase after him, I would have been hiding somewhere eavesdropping, instead of hiding here drinking tea. Akihara Kagura recalled how he had deliberately been ambiguous the last time, took a sip of tea, and continued vaguely. Captain Kakashi has already mastered the key points of learning the Flying Thunder God technique. That idiot hasn't learned it yet, has he? Uchiha Abaido was always adept at catching the essence concerning old teammates. I'm leaving now. Without responding, Akihara Kagura slowly set down his teacup. By the way, I have news for you. On my way to the land of Earth, I found that a person named Orochimaru might be investigating information about the Akatsuki organization and even knows quite a bit. Akihara Kagura thought for a moment, then added, Orochimaru has always considered me as his experiment, supposed to be his vessel. Has he guessed my connection with the Akatsuki organization? Orochimaru? Impossible! Uchiha Abaido's attention was quickly diverted. As a ninja who once hailed from Konoha, Uchiha Abaido grew up listening to the legends of the three Sannin of Konoha, with S-rank rogue ninja Orochimaru being a major figure in the ninja world. Only I and Zetsu know that you are my subordinate. Uchiha Abaido frowned and asked, if Orochimaru really has some unknown channels of information to find out about this, then we must deal with him. Can we invite him to join the Akatsuki organization? Akihara Kagura made his suggestion, continuing, after all, I have a good relationship with Orochimaru. It was him using me as an experiment that allowed me to acquire the wood-release Kekkei Genkai. Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Abaido, hinting casually, even Orochimaru prepared a gift for me specially for the new year. When there's a chance to meet him, it's only right and proper for me to respectfully address him as Lord Orochimaru. In terms of strength, Uchiha Abaido didn't catch Akihara Kagura's hint, nodding to himself. Orochimaru's strength indeed meets the standards for recruitment by the Akatsuki. This was not something he could do. After all, as a former senior of Konoha village, he might not be willing to follow the orders of a junior. If it came to a fight, Uchiha Abaido felt it might be a bit tricky. It would be best to let Pain, the nominal leader of the Akatsuki, do the recruiting. Uchiha Abaido always considered himself well-versed in social niceties. Once, when he was in Konoha helping the elderly, he knew that some strong-willed and stubborn elders did not like being ordered around by their juniors. Chapter 96. With his current strength, unless you can find the 5 cage, no one can save you. Uchiha Abaido truly is not a mature leader. If Uchiha Abaido had ever had experience leading a project, he should have known that it was necessary to find ways to win over his subordinates to prevent them from betraying his project. However, the first project Uchiha Abaido led was the Eye of the Moon Plan, the longest-running and largest-scale operation in the history of the ninja world. His first leadership role was to impersonate Uchiha Madara, becoming the biggest villain in the ninja world and being parachuted in as the project director, responsible for the specific execution of the entire Eye of the Moon Plan. This led Uchiha Abaido to disregard everything else, believing his goals and future were too great for others to understand, thus not caring about the opinions of other subordinates. This kind of personality will suffer sooner or later. Akihara Kagura always thought that Uchiha Abaido, his boss, was not very competent. Especially after he traveled to the ninja world, the Eye of the Moon Plan project was slightly affected, directly triggering a chain reaction. As is well known, the project initiation phase is extremely critical. A small ripple can potentially cause the entire project to go bankrupt. Will Uchiha Abaido, a boss who doesn't even know how to win over and soothe his subordinates, really be able to handle the storms of the future ninja world? As an employee in front of such a boss, Akihara Kagura could not hope for promotion or salary increase, only hoping for more rewards from the system work tasks, rather than rewards like the Earth release, hiding like a mole technique which can only be used as a supplementary technique. Karin! Akihara Kagura returned to the small inn, and the first thing was to educate Karin. When you become someone's boss in the future, you must not be autocratic. You need to listen to your subordinates' opinions more, pay more attention to their needs, and understand their thoughts. Got it? Little Karin nodded blankly. For a child who had not yet entered ninja school, this level of leadership education was somewhat too profound for her. Kagura-kun! Uchiha Itachi also returned to the small inn, looking somewhat anxious. The members of the intelligence department may have already left here, and about Kakashi-senpai. Akihara Kagura glanced at Uchiha Itachi. You take care of Karin here, I'll go to meet him. Is that difficult? How long will it take to come back? Uchiha Itachi felt a bit pressured. Because he also had a murder assessment task on his shoulders, it was impossible to bring a child along while executing an assassination mission. If we're lucky, I'll be back soon. Akihara Kagura had an indifferent attitude, continuing slowly. If we're unlucky, I might never come back in this lifetime. Lord Kagura! Little Karin quickly stood in front of him, volunteering. I'll go with you, I can help. My eyes can see people, my blood can help you heal. Taking you along is fine. Akihara Kagura said casually. Having the Flying Thunder God technique, he didn't truly believe there would be any significant danger. You! Akihara Kagura looked towards Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi strangely found himself in a dilemma. If he were to go with Akihara Kagura to rescue Hadate Kakashi, it was highly likely that trouble would arise during the process, possibly causing significant delays. Time was already tight. He had not yet found the location of the Tsuchi River Gorge. If he couldn't reach Tsuchi River Gorge by March 16th to kill those 2 intelligence department members planning to defect, it would mean that he would fail the assessment given by Danzo, which would affect his plan to become a double agent for both Konoha and the Uchiha. This was the first mission entrusted to him by Danzo. If he couldn't pass this assessment, would he still be able to gain the trust of Danzo and the higher-ups of Konoha in the future? How could he become the bridge between Konoha and the Uchiha clan? The peace between Konoha and the Uchiha clan was a mission he must complete, and Uchiha Itachi had decided long ago that he would spare no expense for it. The death of teammates, he had already witnessed that. An Uchiha should be accustomed to such matters. Otherwise, how could one awaken the Sharingan when even his father, Uchiha Fugaku, had never paid attention to those deaths? Uchiha Itachi stood in place, clenching his fists. Kakashi-senpai's orders were for us to wait for his message. Do you want to live for the position of the leader of the root? Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Itachi with a hint of mockery in his smile. This invitation is a chance to choose your life path, Uchiha Itachi. You wouldn't understand. Uchiha Itachi slowly but firmly shook his head. Let's go, Lord Kagura. Karin clung tightly to Akihara Kagura's clothes, fearing that the two would start fighting here, because Hadate Kakashi, who could suppress their conflict, was not around. Uchiha Itachi, I might not give you another chance in the future. Akihara Kagura picked up Karin by the collar, carrying her on his back, and slowly walked out of the inn room without looking back. If you can come back alive. Uchiha Itachi stood calmly in place and responded with a sentence, watching them leave the inn before he lowered his head to start organizing his ninja tool bag. Those who want to kill choose to save. Uchiha Itachi stood in front of the inn mirror, straightening his clothes, slowly drawing his ninja sword and quickly sheathing it again. Those who want to save, yet choose to kill. Uchiha Itachi slowly walked out of the inn, with Akihara Kagura and Karin's figures no longer in sight, only to see the somewhat noisy market. The world of the ninja is always full of irony. Uchiha Itachi cautiously inquired about the location of the Tsuchi River Gorge and sped towards that place, intending to assassinate successfully in one fell swoop. The best method was undoubtedly to ambush. On the other hand, on the road from the border town to the rock village, Akihara Kagura carried the little Karin on his back, running straight towards the direction of the rock village, like a poor boy wandering with his sister on his back. It's just, the conversation between these two was a bit off. Neither of us knows the way inside the rock village. We need to find a way to capture the third Tsuchikage, Onoki, first and have him guide us both. Didn't Mr. Kakashi say not to do this? The rock village is so big, it would be good enough if team leader Kakashi doesn't get lost. How does Lord Kagura know the rock village is very big? If the area of the rock village were small, why has Yakashi Kabuto never seen the person he wants to find? As Akihara Kagura said, Yakashi Kabuto was almost driven mad in his search. Yakashi Kabuto, in order to find Yakashi Nano by the deadline of March 16th for the Tsuchi River Gorge mission, and to recognize and inquire about the same mission from the Dean, did not dare to rest for a moment. However, there was no chance at all. The entire rock village could almost be described as a group of fortresses built on a rocky mountain, and it would be impossible to find without searching one by one. Even when searching along the fortresses, Yakashi Kabuto did not dare to overdo it, as it could expose his identity. Until Yakashi Kabuto thought he might only wait until March 16th to rush to the Tsuchi River Gorge. Planning to return to his residence with a tired face, he ran into a man wearing a hat, knocking off the man's hat. In that instant, their eyes met. Yakashi Kabuto looked somewhat astonished at the man's full head of white hair across from him. Have we seen each other somewhere before? Hadate Kakashi awkwardly picked up his hat, hurriedly put it on his head, covering his full head of white hair. We probably haven't seen each other. Hadate Kakashi carefully planned to avoid further interaction. We indeed haven't seen each other in a ramen shop. Yakashi Kabuto slowly nodded his head, explicitly denying Hadate Kakashi with his words, signaling that he was a friend, not a foe. After that, he planned to turn around and leave. Wait! Hadate Kakashi grabbed Yakashi Kabuto's arm and asked in a low voice, Yakashi Kabuto, can you tell me where the Five Tails Jinchuriki is being held? Who could tell him? Why was the map of Rock Village so vast, filled with steps and mountain roads everywhere, houses like fortresses, to the point that even finding a road was impossible? Yakashi Kabuto slowly narrowed his eyes. Hade Kakashi was a jonin from Konoha, an extremely excellent Anbu ninja. If Akihara Kagura really planned to kill him and the Dean Yakashi Nano, Hade Kakashi's combat strength should be able to help, right? Yakashi Kabuto nodded in agreement to Hade Kakashi's request and made his own condition. After your mission is over, help me stop someone from killing. Sorry. Hade Kakashi was silent for a while, unsure of how to explain the troubles he faced. I'm not sure if I can still get out alive because I need to make contact with the Five Tails Jinchuriki, which might expose my identity. That's impossible. Yakashi Kabuto quickly shook his head, thinking Hade Kakashi was indulging in fantasy. The Five Tails Jinchuriki is loyal to Rock Village. Once your true identity is discovered, you'll be captured immediately. You're engaging in a meaningless act. After saying all this, Yakashi Kabuto believed he had done his moral duty and didn't plan to persuade Hade Kakashi further. Instead, he returned to his residence to ponder strategies, such as trying to lure a group of Rock Village troops to the Tsucha River Gorge. Wait! Hade Kakashi grabbed Yakashi Kabuto's shoulder and said softly, if you want to stop someone from killing, you might let another person help you. His strength is definitely enough to prevent such an incident from happening, and you two are also familiar with each other. Who? Yakashi Kabuto felt that Hade Kakashi was about to mention a familiar name. Akihara Kagura. Hade Kakashi mentioned a name all too familiar to Yakashi Kabuto. Yakashi Kabuto watched Hade Kakashi, a bitter smile forming at the corners of his mouth. The person I need to stop is Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura wants to kill you. Hade Kakashi looked at Yakashi Kabuto somewhat surprised, then quickly nodded. That makes sense. I've heard that guy mention wanting to kill you many times. It was as if Hade Kakashi had seized the initiative in the conversation, even starting to think seriously. If it's Kagura who wants to kill you, then seeking help from anyone would be useless, right? With his current strength, unless you can find the 5 cage, no one can save you. The smile on Yakashi Kabuto's face grew even more bitter. All right, no more jokes. Hade Kakashi patted Yakashi Kabuto on the shoulder, comforting him. Akihara Kagura was just kidding. He wouldn't really want to kill you. You both are from the Konoha orphanage. That's exactly why Kagura wants to kill me. Yakashi Kabuto interrupted him, parting with a displeased face. Go and get yourself killed if you want. I need to go back to rest, because I must find a way to survive. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. Hade Kakashi frowned, grabbing him and refusing to let go. Kagura has always wanted you and Yakashi Nano to break away from the root, and for this reason, he has been covertly vying with Uchiha Itachi for the future leadership of Root. How could he possibly want to kill you? Chapter 97, Plot Thickens, Rock Village, the temporary residence of the Yakashi Kabuto. Yakashi Kabuto and Hade Kakashi sat opposite each other at a table, both staring at each other, feeling that they did not know enough about Akihara Kagura. I and Kagura were both children from the orphanage. Yakashi Kabuto hesitated for a moment when he said this, then continued. When we were very young, Kagura disappeared for some reason, and everyone thought he had died, including me and the dean, who completely forgot about him. Yakashi Kabuto was telling the truth. However, Yakashi Kabuto believed that Akihara Kagura was indeed a child of the orphanage, just forgotten by everyone due to unknown reasons. I know about this. Hade Kakashi actually knew about these things, and even actively provided Yakashi Kabuto with the answer to Akihara Kagura's disappearance. During that period, villages near Konoha continuously had children disappearing, and later even the children and ninjas from the village disappeared. Hade Kakashi sighed and explained, because Orochimaru was secretly conducting illegal Hashirama cell transplant experiments, kidnapping many children as experimental subjects. The transplant experiment on Kagura was successful, and he successfully awakened wood release. So it was like that. Yakashi Kabuto shook his head helplessly and continued. Kagura doesn't think he was kidnapped. He always believes he was sent to the lab by the dean. But I know the dean, she would never send the children of the orphanage away. Maybe it's because he was too young. Hade Kakashi actively defended his subordinate. At that time, Kagura's mentality was not mature enough, too dependent on you, so he could be deceived by Orochimaru or Shimura Danzo, thinking it was Yakashi Nano who sent him in. Perhaps that's the case. Yakashi Kabuto could not help but sigh at the bizarre fate. After Kagura awakened wood release, he stayed in the root for training, but at that time we knew nothing about it. We didn't know what kind of life he was living. Yakashi Kabuto once trained in espionage in the root. Yakushi Kabuto is very familiar with the life of those combatants trained in the route from a young age, a group of children fighting each other, with only the victor able to survive. Until 5 years ago, Yakushi Kabuto slowly started to sort out the timeline of his and the Dean, Yakushi Nano's, entry into the route, speculating about Akihara Kagura's thoughts during that time. For the funding of the orphanage, I and the dean of the orphanage joined the route. It was around that time Akihara Kagura found out we joined the route. Yakushi Kabuto recalled the hatred and jealousy on Akihara Kagura on that day, took a deep breath before continuing. However, we had long forgotten Kagura. We never saw Kagura while we were in the route, nor did we ever think of him. Would release Kekkei Genkai is top secret, Hatake Kakashi kindly reminded him. Even talents like Yamato were treated as secret weapons by Shimura Danzo, let alone a would-release bloodline genius like Akihara Kagura. But Yakushi Kabuto slowly adjusted his glasses, bringing up a matter that always made him feel somewhat panicked and uneasy. Kagura always remembers us. This is normal. Hatake Kakashi was well aware of this and took the initiative to answer. Perhaps life in the route was too oppressive, and he always remembers the orphanage. So, Yakushi Kabuto raised his head, looking at Hatake Kakashi, seemingly seeking further answers. Would he hate us for completely forgetting about him? Hatake Kakashi's forehead broke out in sweat. Hatake Kakashi and Akihara Kagura often carried out missions together, having heard Akihara Kagura expound his ninja way and witnessed him rescuing Karin in extreme ways. He believed that Akihara Kagura, despite being shrouded in darkness, still harbored kindness deep inside. However, after hearing Kabuto's question, Kakashi couldn't help but feel the need to question Akihara Kagura's thoughts, even though he thought he understood Kagura well. A child who grew up in the oppressive environment of the route, whose personality was influenced by Danzo to the point of resorting to extreme violence, and the only people who could make him feel the world's beauty had forgotten him. Kagura's personality is quite extreme. Hatake Kakashi massaged his temples, sensing the difficulty of the situation. No wonder you always thought he wanted to kill you. But it may not be the case. Maybe Kagura has already forgiven you. Hatake Kakashi recalled the reasons Akihara Kagura wanted to kill Kabuto, those implying his wish to save Yakushi Nano, and slowly sorted out his thoughts. Kagura has deep feelings for Yakushi Nano. Although he always says he wants to kill you, his goal has always been to get Yakushi Nano out of the route. Nano stayed in the route for you, right? This is another reason Kagura wants to kill me. Kabuto's expression gradually became complex, showing a mix of shame and bitterness. Because the dean always thought of getting me out of the route's darkness, forgetting that another orphan had been staying in the route since childhood, even facing more darkness and suffering than I encountered. I received the dean's favor. Kabuto remembered the favoritism from Yakushi Nano towards him, feeling a warm yet quickly followed by guilt. Yet, the dean's love never fell on Kagura, who had been forgotten long ago. I understand. Hatake Kakashi immediately grasped Kabuto's point, sighing deeply. It seems Kagura's personality isn't so extreme after all, since he hasn't killed you yet, because he wants to end it all in a more painful way. Kabuto seemed unafraid to reveal the truth to Hatake Kakashi, who was seeking death actively, perhaps needing someone to confide in or seeking answers. Kabuto and Akihara Kagura spent little time together, but Kabuto had heard Kagura talk about his jealousy and seen Kagura's nature. Kabuto knew about Kagura's childlike nature, his feelings for the Konoha orphanage, but also his deeper hatred and jealousy. Kagura has always been planning to make me and the dean kill each other. Yakushi Kabuto brought up Akihara Kagura's plan and then mentioned Shimura Danzo's conspiracy. Since I left the orphanage at a very young age, the dean could only understand my life through photographs. Shimura Danzo replaced those photographs with fake ones, and the dean doesn't recognize me as I am now. Shimura Danzo once mentioned that as long as the dean completes the last mission, I would be allowed to leave the route. However, Kagura participated in this conspiracy and mentioned that the dean's last mission was supposed to be killing me, a stranger to him. Following the conspiracy, Yakushi Kabuto mentioned Akihara Kagura again. Kagura has always been aware of this matter, envious of the dean's favoritism towards me and resenting the dean for forgetting him. Yakushi Kabuto sighed, seemingly powerless. I have already received a new mission, and the dean should have received the same mission. If nothing unexpected happens, our mission is to kill each other. Now, Akihara Kagura has personally arrived in the land of Earth, wanting to see the dean kill me with his own hands, and then tell the dean who the person he killed is. This plan is truly cruel and vicious. Hatake Kakashi remained silent, unable to speak, realizing he did not know enough about Akihara Kagura. This plan involved not only murder but also a deeper betrayal of trust. Perhaps all along, what Akihara Kagura said about wanting to kill Yakashi Kabuto was true. That child indeed has a dark and extreme side to his heart. So, that's it! Hate Kakashi finally understood why Yakashi Kabuto always believed Akihara Kagura wanted to kill him. Anyone would think the same in his place. I thought he always wanted to save you and Yakashi-nan. Hate Kakashi shook his head, continuing on his own. To be able to rescue Yakashi-nan, he has been wanting to return from the Ambu to the root, continuing to serve Shimura Danzo, even competing with Uchiha Itachi for the future leadership of the root. This seems somewhat contradictory. Hate Kakashi expressed his doubts. If Yakashi-nan really killed you under his manipulation, even if he later allowed Yakashi-nan to leave the root, wouldn't Yakashi-nan hate him? Without waiting for Yakashi Kabuto's response, Hate Kakashi answered his own question. No, that's also normal because that guy, no matter what he does, doesn't care about others' opinions. He could kill hundreds of people in the blink of an eye, yet he wouldn't explain that his original intention was to save people. This matter might not be without hope, right? Looking at Yakashi Kabuto, Hate Kakashi asked proactively. Since you already know about these things, why not confess to Yakashi-nan? As long as Yakashi-nan knows you are Yakashi Kabuto, this conspiracy won't work, right? Hate Kakashi couldn't help but become curious. By the way, when did you find out about the conspiracy Shimura Danzo and Akihara Kagura were plotting? You've thoroughly understood it even before the conspiracy began. Kagura told me personally. Yakashi Kabuto recalled the youth filled with hatred and continued. Because Kagura once said that even if I told the dean the truth, he would kill me in front of the dean with his own hands, making the dean taste the bitterness of pain. Yakashi Kabuto lifted his head, looking at Hate Kakashi as if he were looking at an idiot. Kagura is in the land of Earth. Even if we unravel this conspiracy, what's the use? Does Kakashi-senpai think I am capable of subduing him? I am not sure either. Hate Kakashi remembered the strength of his own subordinates and spoke up to remind. Last year, when we went to the Mist Village for a reconnaissance mission, Kagura used wood release to defeat the 4th Mizukage, Yagura, and even captured him alive and brought him back to Konoha. I remember. Yagura was also the Three Tails Jinchuriki. Hearing about Kagura's achievements, Yakashi Kabuto became increasingly uneasy. Once, Yakashi Kabuto had infiltrated the Mist Village for a period of time, a rare individual who survived during the era of the Blood Mist policy as a spy, and naturally knew that the 4th Mizukage, Yagura, was the Three Tails Jinchuriki. What else could he do? A cage of one of the 5 great ninja village, even a Jinchuriki, was directly captured alive by Kagura using wood release. He could not possibly be his opponent. It seems I can only think of another way. Yakashi Kabuto sighed and poured himself a cup of tea. Something seems a bit off. Hate Kakashi felt something was not quite right, but after listening to Yakashi Kabuto's story, he felt there was no issue. It seems there's nothing wrong. It's normal for Kagura, with such an extreme personality, to have the idea of killing you. 2 more days. Yakashi Kabuto, recalling the mission time getting closer on the scroll, sighed lightly. The last time I saw Kagura, he told me that whether anyone could stop him from killing was up to my luck, maybe only hoping the dean can persuade him. Hate Kakashi suddenly fell silent. Why wait until now to say something so important? Kagura's character, when actually killing someone, never asks for others' opinions. If he decides to kill, he does so without regard for the consequences, killing hundreds of grass ninjas on a whim. Most of the time, Kagura's thoughts are indeed very extreme. However, Kagura's thoughts are in a delicate state. It seems he could kill or not kill. If someone stops him, he doesn't kill. If no one does, next time, should I try not stopping? Hate Kakashi quickly discarded this thought from his mind, because if he didn't stop him, that guy would definitely kill. If Kagura really wanted to kill you, he wouldn't say such things. Based on my understanding of him, he likes to kill, but he also wouldn't give up on saving people. Even while staying by Danzo's side, that child's heart still harbors a kindness shrouded in darkness. Hate Kakashi fixed his gaze on Yakashi Kabuto, cautiously verifying, is there a possibility that Kagura told you these conspiracies not because he wants to kill you, but rather to warn you to be vigilant of Shimura Danzo's schemes? But Yakashi Kabuto found it hard to believe, because on that day, Akihara Kagura's jealousy and hatred seemed all too real. Of course, there's another greater possibility. Hate Kakashi shared another thought of his subordinate. Kagura wanted to take revenge on you for forgetting him, to retaliate against Yakashi Nano's favoritism towards you, thus participating in this conspiracy. However, he did not actually want to kill you. There are 2 more days. Yakashi Kabuto glanced at the calendar on the table. I must go to the Tsuchi River Gorge. I hope everything is as you said, that Kagura was just reminding me and the director to be cautious of Shimura Danzo's conspiracy. Hade Kakashi asked the question he wanted to know. Can you tell me where the Five Tails Jinchuriki is? What a waste of life! Yakashi Kabuto shook his head and sighed, continuing, I don't know the exact location, but the place where the Five Tails Jinchuriki is imprisoned is definitely not a place crowded with people. Hade Kakashi felt he had wasted some time, though it wasn't a complete waste. I'm leaving now. Yakashi Kabuto put on his Rock Village forehead protector, continuing, be careful. The Rock Village is conducting strict searches. You better not hide in my place in case nothing happens at Tsuchi River Gorge and I have to continue my undercover work here. Hade Kakashi had no choice but to accept this suggestion. Are these people from the root so cold and ruthless for the sake of their mission? Compared to them, Akihara Kagura, that kid, seemed to have a bit of humanity. Wait, I almost forgot to remind him. Hade Kakashi suddenly remembered something, realizing danger is never from just one place. However, when Hade Kakashi went out to find him, he found he could no longer locate Yakashi Kabuto. Don't underestimate the threat of Shimura Danzo. Akihara Kagura may not want to kill you, but Shimura Danzo definitely harbors thoughts of wanting you dead. Chapter 98. Akihara Kagura 11 years old, Deidara 9 years old. The Konoha village, the root's base. Shimura Danzo leisurely sipped his tea. He was always very confident in his own schemes. Especially when it came to plotting against certain ninjas of the Konoha, Shimura Danzo believed everything was under his control because he knew these people like the back of his hand. Have Uchiha Itachi contact the personnel in the intelligence department. He will inevitably come into contact with Yakashi Kabuto and Yakashi Nano, learning that they are comrades in the village. Thus, when Yakashi Nano and Yakashi Kabuto are seen fighting to the death in the Tsuchi River Gorge, the cleanup task to Uchiha Itachi will reveal the true nature of the assessment task. These two comrades, whom he had only recently met, are the targets he must kill in the assessment task, awakening his determination and darkness to kill comrades. What we need is for Uchiha Itachi to become a high-level spy placed inside the Uchiha clan to convey the secrets of the Uchiha clan to the higher-ups in the future. Let Uchiha Itachi understand now that for the will of the Konoha, any price can be paid, even if it means killing comrades he has just met. In the future, when he betrays the Uchiha clan's intelligence for the sake of the Konoha, this young fellow will gradually adapt. Conveniently, this also eliminates the threats posed by Yakashi Kabuto and Yakashi Nano. For Shimura Danzo, the key to this assessment task is to change Uchiha Itachi's psychology, gradually making him willingly tread the path of darkness to become a spy placed within the Uchiha by the Konoha's higher-ups, betraying the intelligence of the Uchiha clan. As for Yakashi Kabuto and Yakashi Nano, these tools have already started causing trouble and can conveniently be eliminated, allowing them to serve a final purpose before death, to awaken the darkness within Uchiha Itachi. Inside the Rock Village, Hade Kakashi was too late to warn Yakashi Kabuto. However, Hade Kakashi believed that as a spy, Yakashi Kabuto would surely think things through comprehensively and might anticipate that Shimura Danzo was the real source of danger. As for Hade Kakashi himself, he needs to find the location of the Five Tails Jinchuriki, a place within the Rock Village where the Five Tails Jinchuriki is held. Outside the Rock Village, a blond young man was playing with mud. This blond young man named Deidara was a disciple of the third Tsuchikage, Anoki of the Rock Village, and possessed an extraordinary talent for earth release from a young age, even mastering the explosion release secret technique. However, it was also because of this that Deidara loved making explosions since he was young, frequently causing upheavals in the Rock Village, forcing the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, to finally lose his patience and cast him out to live alone outside the village. A man in red armor stood beside Deidara. This man in red armor was Han, the Five Tails Jinchuriki of the Rock Village. To avoid the chaos caused by the Five Tails within the Rock Village, and to prevent him from being exposed to the villagers' disdain, the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, decided to have him live outside the village. Understanding Han's gloomy personality, Anoki sent him to be with Deidara, hoping that the lively kid could become a bit more stable. Of course, indispensable surveillance and protection were essential. A group of ninjas dressed in the Rock Village Anbu attire were hiding in the shadows, monitoring the area. The third Tsuchikage, Anoki, had them stay here both to surveil and protect the Five Tails Jinchuriki, Han, and to see if they could attract Uchiha Obaido. As for whether Deidara would encounter danger, This kid had been the greatest danger in the rock village since he was a child. Art is an explosion! Ha! With a fierce shout from the blond youth, a violent explosion shook the heavens and earth, instantly blasting a huge rock apart. The fire from the explosion was so intense that one couldn't help but close their eyes. The members of the rock village's Anbu had prepared earplugs in advance, fearing that their ears would become deaf from hearing too many explosions during their mission. Han, what do you think of my art? Deidara looked proudly at Han, who was dressed in red armor. Not bad. The man simply nodded somberly. Come on, praise me more. Deidara's face fell slightly. His artwork, which he had completed with great effort, only warranted a single not bad. It really is not bad. The man's demeanor remained somber. You're so boring. Deidara shrugged and mused to himself. The power is still not enough. I need to add a bit more explosive clay, then I'll be able to blow up the old man's Tsuchikage building. The man seemed to hear nothing, simply shifting his gaze slightly towards another direction. He saw a young man leading a little girl with red hair. What's up? Deidara turned his head, following the man's gaze to the young man, and couldn't help being curious. Is he from the village? Absolutely not. The man shook his head firmly. The people from the village could not possibly give him a sense of danger. Not even Uchiha Abaido, who had controlled him a few days ago, could make him feel this kind of palpitation. Hello there! Akihara Kagura, leading little Karin, came over and cheerfully introduced himself. We're here in the land of Earth to help with tree planting and afforestation. In reality, Akihara Kagura was not as cheerful as he appeared. He himself doesn't know what Hadake Kakashi is up to. The five-tailed Jinchuriki of such a large stature lives outside the rock village, yet he directly sneaked inside the rock village. What reforestation? Deidara gave him a surprised look, curiously asking, Aren't you people from the land of Earth? Where did you come from? No, we are from the land of fire. Akihara Kagura did not hide his origin, continuing with a smile. We usually travel around the ninja world, helping people with tree planting and reforestation to green the environment. Don't you need it here? It's all bare rocks everywhere. Planting more trees would be better, right? Is there such a profession in the ninja world? Deidara felt he gained some odd knowledge today, looking around and saying, This place is all rocks. How can you plant trees? Very quickly. Akihara Kagura slowly brought his palms together, softly saying, Do you want to see what method we use for tree planting and reforestation? Show me. Deidara nodded his little head. Wood release, advent of a world of trees. The entire area suddenly sprouted roots and vines, the rocks unable to stop the spread of the roots and vines, quickly turning this place into an ancient forest. However, many of the trees in the forest, although thick, grew twisted and crooked. Be careful! The ever-vigilant and silent five-tailed Jinchuriki, Han, quickly grabbed Deidara's shoulder, pulling the blond boy to leap back, but they could not escape the area affected by the advent of a world of trees, only stopping a short distance away, observing the young man using wood release and the little girl beside him. I'm fine! Deidara hadn't recovered for a moment, still seriously considering this method of reforestation. If trees are planted this way. This is wood release. The five-tailed Jinchuriki Han reminded the third Tsuchikage's little disciple, continuing, A message came from the land of water. The Mizukage was captured by a wood-release ninja. The Mizukage was captured. Another with wood-release Keke Genka. Deidara's information was severely outdated. Since Deidara moved outside the village, his sources of information relied solely on Kuretsuchi and Akatsuchi, who came to visit him. Kuretsuchi was basically just a kid, and Akatsuchi, not very old, wasn't too bright, naturally unable to provide him with any news. What about the Anbu? The five-tails Jinchuriki Han did not respond to Deidara's words, but instead tried to find the figures of the rock village Anbu ninja within the forest. He knew the Anbu must be nearby. Are you looking for them? Akihara Kagura pointed to a giant tree in the forest. Hanging from the tree were a group of people, with even more being hung up continuously. These people, bound by vines, were all wearing the Anbu attire of Rock Village. The group of Rock Village Anbu had already reacted, trying to jump out and attack Akihara Kagura when they were caught up by the vines. Protect yourself, I'll catch him, Han instructed Deidara as his red armor suddenly activated, releasing a burst of steam. With the acceleration from the steam, Han charged towards Akihara Kagura at high speed, breaking through the vines, attempting to block his path with his incredible strength. However, human strength has its limits. Han's extraordinary power was eventually stopped by the vines. A mass of vines bound him, immobilizing him on the spot, and the vines quickly began to drain his chakra. Go away! Deidara quickly spread his palms open, and tiny clay spiders started crawling in the forest, attaching to the vines that bound the five-tails Jinchuriki. Boom! An explosion sounded. The vines were completely blown apart by the spider clay's explosion. Lord Kagura, be careful! Karin warned from the side as she could sense more clay spiders crawling towards them. Clay bombs, huh? Akihara Kagura couldn't help but glance at Deidara. Because Akihara Kagura's wood-release techniques were mostly powerful and large in scale, dealing with these tiny clay spiders crawling towards him through small gaps was indeed problematic. Besides the tiny clay spiders, there was also the five-tails Jinchuriki Han, with steam continuously emanating from his red armor, charging towards Akihara Kagura. Don't worry. Akihara Kagura's expression remained calm. He placed his hand on Karin, and the two of them instantly disappeared from the spot. This entire forest was transformed from his chakra. All the vines in the forest were controlled by his chakra. As long as it was a place touched by his chakra, he could instantly leave his flying thunder god mark. As long as Akihara Kagura was in this forest, he could move as he pleased. That is! Han's expression suddenly turned ugly. The speed at which the kid disappeared reminded him of a person who once brought pain to the Rock Village ninja, even single-handedly destroying Rock Village's elite forces. The last person to use this technique was named Namikaze Minato. This is bad! The five-tails Jinchuriki Han remembered the village's alertness and quickly turned around to rush back, hoping to catch Deidara in time before he escaped back to the Rock Village. However, his speed was too slow. The figure of Akihara Kagura quietly appeared behind Deidara, reaching out to grab Deidara's neck and pressing the blonde youth struggling against the ground. You this guy! Deidara strenuously twisted his body on the ground, trying to struggle to stand up as vines wrapped around him, binding him to the ground. Akihara Kagura slowly stood up, looking towards the five-tails Jinchuriki Han rushing over. Why not use the power of the tailed beast? Is the tailed beast inside you afraid? As Akihara Kagura spoke, he raised his finger. Trees seemed to come to life as roots and vines spread continuously within the forest, surrounding the man in red armor. The five-tails Jinchuriki Han had no choice but to stop. A white tail suddenly burst out from his back, flying thunder god technique, and the power of wood release Keke Genkai. After utilizing the tailed beast chakra, the five-tails Jinchuriki Han could feel his power further enhanced, yet still felt at a disadvantage. Defeating a wood-release ninja is difficult. Escaping from a user of the flying thunder god technique is even more difficult. The armor on the five-tails Jinchuriki Han started roaring into action, sounding like the head of a small train, as steam suddenly ejected from the armor. With the huge propulsion provided by the steam explosion, the five-tails Jinchuriki Han charged towards Akihara Kagura, smashing through countless obstructing vines and roots along the way. Eventually, this solemn man was forced to stop in front of Akihara Kagura. Vines intertwined, tightly blocking his waist and body, rapidly draining his chakra. The tail behind the five-tails Jinchuriki Han quietly disappeared, and his body gradually slumped down, his arms hanging limply. Don't touch him! Deidara's voice suddenly came through. The blonde youth was lying on the ground, his face bearing a sinister intent to kill. If you don't let us go, I'll kill this red-haired brat! Karin trembled, standing under a tree. Because a clay spider was on her head, Deidara had released this clay spider at some point, even using it to control Karin. I know your teleportation technique is fast. A smile appeared on Deidara's face as he weakly insisted, but let's bet on whether I'll make it explode first or if you can save the person first. How old are you this year? Akihara Kagura asked a strange question. I'm 9 years old, Deidara responded subconsciously. So you're already 9. Akihara Kagura looked at Deidara somewhat suddenly, then a look of contempt appeared in his eyes. Then do you think it's too much for you to bully a child of 6 or 7? Deidara's momentum halted for a moment, then he quickly retorted, You look over 10 years old, weren't you just bullying me? In an instant, taking advantage of Deidara's momentary daze, Akihara Kagura disappeared from the spot and appeared next to Karin, grabbing the clay spider on her head. You've been tricked! A gleam of joy flashed in Deidara's eyes, because his initial target was not Karin, but Akihara Kagura, who wanted to save her. What use was there in bullying a child? Deidara even intentionally set a verbal trap during the conversation, luring Akihara Kagura to choose to save someone before the clay exploded. In fact, to prevent the clay explosion from harming Karin, besides saving someone, there was another option, which was to kill Deidara, the person controlling the clay bomb, instantly. Just as Deidara was about to joyfully trigger the clay spider to explode, Akihara Kagura grabbed the clay spider and appeared in front of Deidara in an instant. You this guy, Deidara snorted coldly, continuing carelessly. Do you think I'd be afraid to die together with you? No, you see, Akihara Kagura shook his head, deliberately squatting down to place the tiny clay spider in front of Deidara, breaking through his defenses with a single sentence. This spider is so ugly. I'll fight you. Chapter 99. You're indeed a genius, Deidara. Fly tilde, really ugly. Akihara Kagura even specifically pointed at Karin, providing an example. Look, your clay spider has nearly scared the child into crying. It's from fright. That's because she's too timid. Deidara, infuriated, defended his art vehemently, refusing to allow others to label his creations as ugly. It can run, climb, and jump, and its explosive power is considerable. You people, whose minds are only interested in pursuing power, do you even understand what an artistic creation is? I understand now. Akihara Kagura took a few steps back, leaving the clay spider in front of Deidara. Then blow one up, let us see your artwork. Do you think I'm a fool? Deidara looked at Akihara Kagura as if he was looking at an idiot. Blowing it up now would only kill me. Akihara Kagura spread his palms, explaining earnestly. But your death, making a person who doesn't understand art recognize what art is, realizes your artistic value. Your death is not a true death. Akihara Kagura continued, looking at Deidara. You will live forever in my heart. I will always remember that there was an artist named Deidara who, to let his art blossom, sacrificed his own life. Deidara felt somewhat moved. However, the blonde youth quickly came to his senses, becoming even more irritable. Don't treat me like an idiot. Although I was always ready to dedicate myself to art, dying for this kind of art is worthless. This person isn't stupid. Akihara Kagura glanced back at Karin and then at Deidara, who was lying on the ground unable to move, and praised. He has brains, quite smart. Karin wiped her tears and quickly nodded. Let me go, I'm going to fight you all. Deidara was so angry he really wanted to perish together with Akihara Kagura. If it weren't for the fact that Deidara hadn't yet developed that extremely terrifying technique, he would have wanted to self-detonate right then and there, taking Akihara Kagura with him to the netherworld. Let's see if there's someone a bit stupider. Akihara Kagura no longer paid attention to Deidara's roars, turning back to look at the 5 tails Jinchuriki captured. Have you seen a man with white hair in the rock village, with one sharing an eye, one normal eye, a nose, a mouth, 2 arms, and 2 legs? Are you talking about Hate Kakashi of Konoha? The 5 tails Jinchuriki had immediately recalled the list from the Rock Village intelligence report based on his own memory and remembered a man of considerable renown. Have you seen him? Akihara Kagura looked at him in surprise. The 5 tails Jinchuriki Han looked at Akihara Kagura with a somewhat solemn expression and asked, Did Hate Kakashi infiltrate Rock Village? Yes, Akihara Kagura nodded, revealing Hate Kakashi's purpose. He came to Rock Village to see you, wanting to know some information about Uchiha Abai. That man! A flash of anger immediately appeared in the eyes of the 5 tails Jinchuriki Han. Yes, that man! Akihara Kagura slowly nodded and continued. Our goal is the same, to catch Uchiha Abaido as soon as possible. The words I say. The 5 tails Jinchuriki Han glanced at the group of Rock Village Ambu ninjas hanging, and then at Deidara lying on the ground. Can it lead to the release of everyone present? You speak first. Akihara Kagura moved a vine with his hand, indicating that the initiative was in his hands. I might consider not killing them. Don't know what information you want to know. The 5 tails Jinchuriki Han shook his head, frowning. Because he suddenly appeared before me, I thought he was an enemy invading the village and was instantly caught in a genjutsu. The 5 tails Jinchuriki Han recalled his experience. By the time I came to my senses, I had already been captured for failing to assassinate the Tsuchikage. I have no information. Akihara Kagura frowned and pressed on. Was there anyone else with Uchiha Abaido? Did he say anything special? Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. All right. Akihara Kagura was somewhat dissatisfied in her heart. This time Uchiha Abaido had not shown any flaws. The 5 tails Jinchuriki Han knew nothing, leaving her with nothing to continue having Hate Kakashi investigate Uchiha Abaido. Can you let us go now? The 5 tails Jinchuriki Han spoke his mind. Not really. Akihara Kagura shook her head and said, Send one person back to the village to report. If the Rock Village hands over Captain Kakashi, I will let everyone go. Let Deidara go back. The 5 tails Jinchuriki Han glanced at Deidara. No! Akihara Kagura looked at Deidara, who was still struggling on the ground, and said, If I let this guy go, he'll definitely want to fight me to the death. Big brother Deidara, a young girl's voice echoed in the forest. Big brother Deidara, I've come to play with you. When did a forest appear here? The messenger has arrived. Akihara Kagura and the 5 tails Jinchuriki Han exchanged glances. In that moment they thought of the same thing, just as they were discussing who should be sent to deliver the message. A suitable messenger arrived. This little girl who came to play with Deidara named Kuretsuchi is the granddaughter of the third Tsuchikage Anoki and has been Deidara's little follower since she was young. Rock Village. Inside the Tsuchikage's office, the third Tsuchikage Anoki dealt with some official duties for a while, stood up and stretched his body, hammering his somewhat stiff waist. The third Tsuchikage Anoki is the oldest leader in the ninja world, having participated in 3 great ninja wars and even experienced the era of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. Bang! The door to the Tsuchikage's office was instantly pushed open. Little Kuretsuchi rushed in, her eyes filled with tears of fear. Big Brother Deidara and Lord Han are in trouble, along with many Ambu uncles. They've all been captured, hanging in the forest over there. What? The third Tsuchikage Anoki was immediately shocked by this news. His already uncomfortable waist seemed to hurt even more, and he couldn't help but cry out, "Cough, cough, cough, my old waist." "Grandpa," Kuretsuchi quickly stepped forward to help him sit down. "First, tell me." The third Tsuchikage Anoki, while pressing his own waist, still tried hard to listen clearly to what his granddaughter was saying. "What exactly is happening over there?" "Some people have been kidnapped." Kuretsuchi, being too young, fumbled to recount what he had seen. "The Anbu uncles are all hung on a tree, Big Brother Deidara is lying on the ground, and Han is tied up with a bunch of vines. A person with black hair kidnapped them, told me to come over and report, to hand over Hade Kakashi of Konoha, then they would let the people go." "What audacity!" The third Tsuchikage Anoki, with his vast experience, combining some of the intelligence he had received, Anoki quickly analyzed from his granddaughter's fragmented words what had actually happened. The newly famous wood-release ninja from the Konoha village had run to the land of Earth, even kidnapping his disciple Deidara and the 5 Tails Jinchuriki, intending to use them to exchange for Hade Kakashi. The problem is, where would the Rock Village get Hade Kakashi from? Unless Hade Kakashi had infiltrated the Rock Village to gather intelligence, and that wood-release youngster, failing to meet up with Hade Kakashi, simply kidnapped important figures from their village. Search for Hade Kakashi in the village. The third Tsuchikage Anoki first issued an order to capture Hade Kakashi, then instructed, "Do not kill him, he must be taken alive." This was for the safety of the Rock Village, also to avoid any accidents, just in case the other party really killed the hostages for Hade Kakashi, it would not be worth it. Kuretsuchi quickly nodded, continuing to add, "That person said the Hade Kakashi we hand over must not be missing a single hair. If even one hair is missing, he would pluck one of Big Brother Deidara's hairs." It sounds like 2 children bickering. The third Tsuchikage Anoki frowned, supporting his waist and standing up, forcing himself to keep going. "Is there really a danger? I might have given the wrong order. It sounds like the pranks you played as children. I'll go see what's happening." The third Tsuchikage Anoki's body slowly floated up from the ground, directly floating out of the window, and quickly flew towards the village outskirts. As the third Tsuchikage, Anoki had mastered the Earth Release ninjutsu to the pinnacle, using the Earth Release, lightweight rock technique to greatly reduce his own weight, thus achieving the ability to freely fly in the air, a rare flying technique in the ninja world. Obviously, such flying technique was easily coveted. When the third Tsuchikage Anoki flew over the forest, this technique was spotted by the master of the forest, and even when he tried to approach the forest, he was already discovered. "Lord Kagura," Karin slightly panicked, raising her head to look towards the sky. "The enemy that is quickly approaching us seems to be in the sky." "I see." Akihara Kagura looked up at the sky. "Humans have lived on the earth, but their longing for the sky has never ceased." Akihara Kagura glanced at the third Tsuchikage Anoki, then turned to look at Deidara and the Jinchuriki of the 5 Tails Han and asked, "How did that old man manage to fly?" "Tusks!" Deidara displayed a hint of disdain. "It's just the old man's lightweight rock technique. I'm not interested in it at all. Sooner or later, my art will be able to fly too, and it will fly faster than him. Because the Earth Release, lightweight rock technique not only requires a high talent and understanding of Earth Release, but also necessitates learning about weight and gravity, as well as long periods of research and practice." "You've learned." Akihara Kagura looked at Deidara and instantly irritated him again with a single comment, "But it seems you haven't mastered it." "I don't need to." Feeling his pride wounded, Deidara immediately retorted, "I've already grasped the essence of that technique. I can produce a flying art piece at any moment. I just don't want to waste more time continuing to learn it." That statement was indeed true. Not everyone has the time and patience to learn a technique that seems to have little combat ability, especially someone with high talent. Deidara had already mastered the essence of the lightweight rock technique and was even developing his own flying art pieces. He didn't need to waste any more time researching the lightweight rock technique. So you haven't learned it. When Akihara Kagura chats, he always focuses on the outcome. Can't you understand what I'm saying? Deidara was furious, raging like a blonde lion cub. That technique is a waste of time, and learning it is not very meaningful. I don't need to waste my time on it because I can develop a flying technique that's more suited to me. All right, I get it. Akihara Kagura quickly tried to calm Deidara down. It doesn't matter if you don't know that technique. There are many techniques I don't understand either. Sometimes learning is indeed difficult. It's not hard for me, it's just a waste of my time. Deidara took a deep breath and explained angrily, the lightweight rock technique requires mastering not just ordinary earth release chakra, but the relationship between weight and the earth's gravity. By using the technique to reduce the body's weight, one can lighten their own gravity. This requires a long time of practice to gradually reduce weight. It took the old man at least a decade to master this technique and be able to fly, which is longer than my age. After introducing the lightweight rock technique, Deidara became somewhat proud again. Just give me a bit more time, and I'll be able to develop my own flying art pieces. This will take less than a tenth of the time it took the old man to learn that technique. Deidara is a genius in the true sense of the word. If one were to speak seriously, by the age of 9, Deidara already possessed the combat power of a Jonin, and given another 2 or 3 years, he could have exhibited the combat abilities of a Kage. From another perspective, this individual devoted all his energy and combat power to his artwork. If he had focused on studying, Deidara's future was destined to surpass the third Tsuchikage. However, geniuses often seem to believe that everything can be easily obtained, which leads them to no longer cherish what they have and gradually dislike taking the common path. Akihara Kagura is different. Akihara Kagura's learning is automatic, unable to judge his own talent. System prompt: Ninja Professor, trait activated. The host possesses Earth Attribute Chakra, with chakra level reaching S grade and above, secretly learning the Earth Release. Lightweight rock technique in accordance with ninjutsu theory. Earth Release. Lightweight rock technique learning successful. Earth Release. Lightweight rock technique significantly reduces the weight of objects, can lighten one's own weight and increase one's speed, allowing for free flight in the air. Deidara, your talent is really incredible, more so than anyone I've ever met. After sincerely complimenting Deidara, Akihara Kagura's body slowly floated off the ground and flew towards the direction of the third Tsuchikage. Chapter 100. Exercise is good for the old man. Deidara watched Akihara Kagura fly towards the sky with his eyes wide open, his pupils involuntarily dilating before he fiercely turned his head to look at the 5 tails Jinchuriki. He's mocking me again, isn't he? Yes. The 5 tails Jinchuriki nodded earnestly, because no matter how you look at it, no matter who looks at it, Akihara Kagura's praise would be perceived as an audible mockery of Deidara. Of course, what was most astonishing was Akihara Kagura's talent for learning, especially the third Tsuchikage Anoki, who had spent the longest time researching and studying earth release techniques. Upon seeing Akihara Kagura flying off the ground, his face almost undisguised with astonishment. This is Earth Release Lightweight Rock Technique. With his body floating in the air, Akihara Kagura looked at the surprised Anoki and praised again. The Tsuchikage technique feels quite good to use. The third Tsuchikage was a bit at a loss for words, feeling slightly irritated inside, but could only grudgingly praise, this technique is not something someone of your age could master. I just learned this technique. Akihara Kagura did not shy away from his abilities, casually saying, lately my neck has been a bit sore and it's difficult to look up when talking, so I had to find a way to fly up here and chat with the Tsuchikage. The new generation of Konoha is truly excellent. The third Tsuchikage Anoki's fingers twitched slightly, thinking of a way to keep this Konoha genius here, otherwise the future of Rock Village might be in great trouble. Speaking of which, seeming to understand Anoki's thoughts, Akihara Kagura hinted, the Tsuchikage's flying technique is not bad, but it's still not as good as our Konoha village's flying thunder god technique. I move faster using the flying thunder god technique. The third Tsuchikage Anoki froze. Having personally issued the order in Rock Village that missions could be abandoned when facing the yellow flash, how could he not understand how difficult it is to deal with a user of the flying thunder god technique? This kid is more troublesome than I imagined. If this kid is a user of the flying thunder god technique, then capturing or killing this kid wouldn't be so easy. Akihara Kagura seemed not the least bit afraid of the third Tsuchikage's power, even showing a bit of disdain. Tsuchikage, did you come? Empty-handed. What do you mean by empty-handed? The third Tsuchikage Anoki furrowed his brows, looking somewhat peculiarly at this little fellow. Do I also have to bring gifts for you, this Konoha village kid? It's not impossible. Akihara Kagura casually uttered a sentence that choked the third Tsuchikage before continuing. The main point is the deal we're discussing. Lord Tsuchikage, the people you want are all below. Where are the people I want? Hade Kakashi. The expression on the third Tsuchikage Anoki's face was somewhat vacant, feeling a bit embarrassed, as they did not yet have Hade Kakashi as a hostage. Have you not captured the person yet? Akihara Kagura, as if seeing through Anoki's thoughts, frowned and continued. If you haven't caught the person yet, then don't waste time here. Go catch the person first, then come here to exchange hostages. Kid. The third Tsuchikage Anoki hesitated, looking at Akihara Kagura opposite him, feeling something was amiss. You are a ninja from Konoha village, aren't you? If Hade Kakashi wasn't captured by the Rock Village, shouldn't the Konoha ninja be relieved? Why are they urging the Rock Village to capture someone? Of course, I'm a Konoha ninja. Akihara Kagura frowned, seemingly puzzled by why he would ask such a strange question. Otherwise, why would I want to save Captain Kakashi? The third Tsuchikage Anoki felt this Konoha village kid's method of saving people was a bit peculiar, as the normal way to save someone should be sneaking into the Rock Village. Stop nagging, go catch the person. Akihara Kagura looked at Anoki, who was unmoved, and urged him several times. The third Tsuchikage Anoki was still a bit confused. He had lived for almost 70 years, seen all sorts of scenes, even Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, but this elderly gentleman had his horizons broadened today. Aren't you leaving yet? Akihara Kagura looked at the still hovering diminutive old man, frowning, and said, Lord Tsuchikage is still here. Are you planning to save people by force? The third Tsuchikage Anoki, while supporting his waist, continued slowly. Catching a user of the Flying Thunder God technique is not easy. Making an old man close to retirement take drastic actions, my old back can't withstand much. That's good. Akihara Kagura slowly nodded and continued. Just as well, I do not like any more trouble either. To capture the Five Tails Jinchuriki, a significant amount of chakra has already been expended, and I do not wish to engage in another battle with Lord Tsuchikage. The third Tsuchikage Anoki was somewhat unclear about the truthfulness of these words. This kid aiming to capture Deidara, Han, and a group of rock villages Ambu theoretically should not have been so easy, yet to openly discuss his weaknesses in front of an enemy. This kid, could he be deceiving me? The third Tsuchikage Anoki was gradually troubled by this question. However, regardless of whether this kid was deceiving him or not, it was imperative to first ensure the safety of the Rock Village ninjas below, to capture Hade Kakashi and exchange hostages with this kid. At that time, they would move to capture them. The third Tsuchikage Anoki stared intently at Akihara Kagura, feeling that this kid's mind seemed a bit off, displaying not the slightest sense of crisis. Indeed, this kid, looking not so old, is still a child. However, Akihara Kagura quickly showed his mature side, speaking with a cold face. Lord Tsuchikage, your time is running out. By the way, just to mention, if Captain Kakashi comes over and has been tortured or even interrogated, I might chop off the heads of this group of Rock Village ninjas, rather than just pulling out hair or something, since those are just stories told to children. The eyes of the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, immediately turned icy. As if Akihara Kagura could not see Anoki's gaze, he leisurely continued. The girl who helped us relay the message to Lord Tsuchikage is too young. She shouldn't know about the adult world of ninjas, hence her message might have seemed a bit too gentle. It's better for adults like Lord Tsuchikage to be clear about important matters. I will bring the person here immediately. The third Tsuchikage, Anoki, nodded and said in a deep voice, I hope that when we exchange hostages, my subordinates are also safe and sound. I can only guarantee they are still alive. Akihara Kagura spread his hands, speaking irresponsibly, within Rock Village. Upon returning, the first thing the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, did was to summon his son and issued 2 orders in a deep voice. First, immediately capture Hade Kakashi, who has infiltrated our village. Second, immediately send someone to set up a blockade, heavily seal the perimeter area of that forest. That kid might be able to use the Flying Thunder God technique, but we cannot let this group escape from under our watch. Due to the stern orders issued by the Tsuchikage, a group of Rock Village ninjas rushed out frenziedly. Some went to set up blockade lines to prevent Akihara Kagura from fleeing. Others searched the entire village, fearing that Hade Kakashi might steal any important intelligence. Hade Kakashi could only awkwardly and cautiously hide, still pondering why this group of Rock Village ninjas had discovered his whereabouts. Could it have been that guy, Yakashi Kabuto, who betrayed him? Soon, Due to his unfamiliarity with the environment, Hadate Kakashi was quickly surrounded. Even though Hadate Kakashi resisted fiercely, he ultimately couldn't stand against the overwhelming numbers of the enemy. The leader, Kitsuchi, used Earth Release ninjutsu to block all his escape routes. "Don't kill him! The Tsuchikige's order is to capture him alive. Be careful! Don't hurt him! Don't let him lose a single hair!" This capture operation stirred up the entire Rock Village, noisy like a farce, even including the shouting of a little girl. What a mess! But Hadate Kakashi could no longer escape. After being captured by the Rock Village ninjas, Kakashi wasn't treated harshly, nor was he taken to an interrogation room, but was brought directly before the third Tsuchikage, Anoki. Really not going to interrogate him? Kitsuchi, standing next to his father, was somewhat dissatisfied. "We finally caught a Jonin from Konoha. We should at least pry some intelligence from him. That kid has a lot of hostages in his hands." The third Tsuchikage, Anoki, slowly and firmly shook his head. "If he is treated unfairly, that kid will kill them." Such matters, there was no need to rush. As long as the hostages are exchanged, they would have plenty of time for their capture plan, and the worst outcome would be rescuing the captured Rock Village ninjas. If they could capture people by sealing off the area, then, of course, it would be the best for them, and if not, there was nothing they could do. "I didn't expect this." Upon seeing Hadate Kakashi, the third Tsuchikage, Anoki, spoke with polite sarcasm and self-mockery. "A fine young man from Konoha came to visit our Rock Village, and we hosts knew nothing about it. Was it someone who betrayed me?" Hadate Kakashi was still pondering this question, and continued to inquire. "Or was my presence discovered by someone? How should I put it?" The third Tsuchikage, Anoki, rubbed his forehead, somewhat at a loss for words. "The village's defenses are still not sufficient. We did not detect your presence." "But," Anoki recalled the kid who, with an expressionless face, demanded they capture Hadate Kakashi and deliver him, sighing, "A kid from Konoha captured several ninjas from Rock Village, demanding we hand you over, who had infiltrated Rock Village, to him. That's how we knew Hadate Kakashi of Konoha had infiltrated." Hadate Kakashi found himself at a loss for words. Anoki sighed again, feeling that every family has its troubles. "Although I don't quite understand that kid's thinking, this also provided us with the opportunity to find you. I don't know if this counts as betraying your information." "That guy!" Kakashi adjusted his forehead protector, feeling that the person trying to rescue him was too rash. "At least try to find out if I had been captured first. Now, good. They can no longer hide their identities in the land of Earth. This is most likely the doing of Akihara Kagura, and there's also a chance it's not. Shouldn't that guy be focusing on the ones he cares about most, like Kabuto or Yakashi Nano?" The third Tsuchikage, Anoki, took the lead, speaking in a deep voice. "I hope that kid keeps his promise, allowing us to smoothly exchange hostages." Outside Rock Village, at the edge of the dense forest, Akihara Kagura sat under a tree, using the ninja in the shadows to monitor every move in Rock Village, waiting for Rock Village to deliver Hadate Kakashi. "Lord Kagura!" Karin stood by his side, observing the surroundings with mind's eye of the Kagura, and said, "Many people appeared a few kilometers away, but then quickly left." "They didn't leave." Akihara Kagura gently shook his head, continuing, "Perhaps they are afraid of provoking us, or perhaps they want to set up a larger encirclement to take the opportunity to capture us." Nearly all the ninjas of Rock Village were mobilized. The third Tsuchikage, Anoki, had already pondered this issue. If they could capture Akihara Kagura by leveraging their numerical advantage, that would be best. If not, they would still try. After all, this opportunity was rare for the Iwa ninjas. "What should we do?" Karin's face was full of worry. "Don't worry." Akihara Kagura turned his head to glance at the forest, where Deidara's voice still echoed. He whispered, "The most crucial thing is we need to silence Deidara first." Ah! Karin wondered if there was something wrong with Lord Kagura. At this point, what use would silencing Deidara have? Could silencing Deidara really prevent any incidents? "Would release, would clone." Akihara Kagura raised his fingers, forming a hand sign, and a wood clone slowly emerged from his body, as if splitting from him. "Wood release, wood transformation." Akihara Kagura raised his fingers again, and his body slowly transformed into Deidara's appearance. "Better block it more. Deidara has quite a few mouths on him, lest he causes any trouble." Karin quickly nodded. Although unsure what trouble Deidara could still cause, seeing Lord Kagura transform into Deidara's appearance felt like he was about to cause some serious trouble. After pondering for a while, Karin thought he had caught up with Akihara Kagura's logic. Does Lord Kagura plan to hide Deidara, then use him as leverage to clear the way after rescuing Captain Kakashi? Of course not. Akihara Kagura, seemingly still unaccustomed to Deidara's appearance, slowly twisted his shoulders and pinched his throat. Let's have the Tsuchikage send us off. The old man is getting on in years, so letting him exercise a bit will be good for his health.